This rookie is an absolute menace who treats a brutal territory capture tournament like a personal piggy bank. Because he is supposed to be just a newbie, nobody expects him to be a massive threat. Even so, the rookie has absurd strength and ruthlessness, instantly slicing through anyone who steps into his zone just to farm credits at 300 a pop. Even the tournament's 10-year veteran, Schneider, is practically begging for a real fight, demanding the rookie use his legendary Thunder or be cut down. The rookie's power is way too ridiculous for his rank. He materializes elemental lightning into a deadly thunder spear right before the veteran's eyes. And what his opponents fear the most is his fierce gaze and coldness as he lunges forward. As soon as their blades collide, it causes an overwhelming nuclear explosion. When the smoke finally clears, the 10-year veteran crashes to the ground, left with a massive hole like Toji from Jujutsu Kaisen. In the end, he claimed first place with 283 territories and walked away with the ultimate prize, farming a ridiculous amount of aura in front of the whole arena. But how could he do this? Our MC, Narukami Subaru, famously known as the Master of Lightning and the strongest player to ever climb the tower. Our guy is not just powerful, he's practically a myth thanks to the cool mask, which is his trademark. People across different worlds admire him, and his guild, the Blue Eyes, stands at the very top. During a high-stakes raid on the 8th floor of the tower against the Poison Dragon Hydra, Subaru is brutally betrayed by his trusted ally and former friend, Kyojo Itsuki. Subaru exhausts his remaining strength to make sure he saves his other guild members, but he is ultimately overwhelmed and killed. However, Subaru doesn't stay dead because he suddenly wakes up alive in a trash can, in the body of a young dude also named Subaru, leaving him totally confused. In the end, he realizes he has been reincarnated 20 years into the future, fully aware of his past life and death. Even though the world has changed, his name still exists, but now it's treated like a distant legend, almost like a story people admire but don't fully understand. Meanwhile, Itsuki, the man who betrayed him, has risen to the top, living under stolen glory. Seeing how things have turned out, Subaru immediately swears vengeance, promising to take Itsuki down no matter what it takes. Subaru is standing in the hall that was named after him when a young boy runs into him, causing him to fall to the ground. Subaru quickly helps him up, but to his surprise, the boy is putting on his trademark mask. Before he can even say anything, the boy's parents rush over to him and Subaru is completely overwhelmed when he realizes that they all have the same masks on their faces too. Subaru rubs his eyes to make sure he's seeing well, and he looks around to see that everyone in the hall is wearing the mask, leaving him totally confused. Just then, he remembers Itsuki's last words to him, telling him that even if he dies, he is still going to be a hero. Subaru then walks over to his memorial stand, where people are dropping flowers, since it is the anniversary of his death. Suddenly he spots a peculiar flower among the ones at the stand, and he pushes everyone out of his way to check it out. He kneels at the stand, grabs the frost flower, which he recognizes on the spot. He believes that one of his former teammates, Asagiri Shu, placed the flower there. It appears that he is right, because standing on the distant rooftop are two of his former teammates, Shu and Reina. Apparently Shu comes there every year to drop the flowers, hoping that Subaru is still alive, and he might find the flowers that he left. Reina asks Shu if he believes that Subaru is still alive, and Shu replies that he never saw Subaru's body. Reina tells Shu that with the way things are going, they are going to get caught by Itsuki even before they get the chance to find Subaru. Reina yells at Shu, reminding him that there is no way Subaru would have watched as Itsuki hunted them for 20 years if he were still alive. On the other hand, Subaru is still totally confused if Shu is truly alive or not, as he holds on to the flower he took from the memorial stand. Later that day, Subaru retires to the room of Hosoi Subaru, the body he reincarnated into. Apparently, the dude is broke like a church rat, and all he has in his room is a bed. Subaru searched the internet for any clue about his guild, Blue Eyes, but he found nothing. However, he is pretty sure that Shu is still alive, but in hiding. Subaru holds his head in frustration because he knows that his former teammates must have gone into hiding because of Itsuki, since there is no way he is going to let anyone who knows the truth walk free. Subaru is left wondering if only Shu survived or if the four of them that he managed to blast away also survived. However, he knows that one thing is sure, and this is the fact that if he tries to reach out to Shu at the moment, it is going to end in disaster. Since he has no power, he can't rush things either because it is just going to get worse. He figures out that the first thing he needs to do is to get his strength back, and according to Hosoi's memories, the player qualification tutorial will begin in 2 days. Subaru is convinced that he will meet Shu at some point if he is truly alive. At the tutorial trial grounds, Hyuga, the examiner, is not entirely impressed with the bulk of players who have shown up to take the trial. Once they manage to clear the first stage, which is killing 2 goblins, they just straight out dip out of there, since they have gained their qualifications already. Hyuga is not really satisfied with the idea of allowing weaklings to go past the first stage, but rules are rules. It turns out that only one person has been able to impress him so far, and this is a dude named Isaac, who is the son of a big shot Reinhardt. Apparently, Isaac was able to make it to step 2, but everyone else has been trash. Hyuga complains about how the tutorial has gotten too easy and the kids nowadays are just weaklings. Moments later, Subaru shows up to take the trial, and the moment he sees Subaru, Hyuga admits that he has a big name. However, he would like to see if Subaru actually has what it takes to pass the test. The first stage begins where he is required to kill 2 goblins, and before Hyuga can even tell him to defeat the goblins, he has passed them, cutting them down with a single strike. Hyuga watches in shock as he sees the goblins' heads fly past him. Subaru smiles because he knows what he is capable of, since he spent the last 2 days getting his new body to work nonstop. He is glad that the body he reincarnated into is actually a decent one. Apparently, Hosoi has talent, but he never used it properly. After clearing the first step, he is asked if he wants to challenge the next stage, while letting him know that the higher the steps, the more bonus he gets. Without hesitation, Subaru chooses to challenge the next stage, and in no time, Subaru has gone up several steps, leaving Hyuga in complete shock. Bodies of goblins lie everywhere, and he realizes that Subaru isn't swinging wildly. In fact, he is reading multiple moves ahead. He figures out that this is not just a basic skill, as it is something beyond swordsmanship. In fact, the level of combat strength he's seen Subaru display convinces him that he might be Narukami Subaru reborn. Minutes later, Subaru has cleared 49 steps, and he is asked if he would like to challenge the final boss. Even though he looks exhausted already, he decides to take on the final boss. Just then, a scary aura fills the space, and a giant hand starts to emerge from beneath the ground. Hyuga yells at Subaru not to take the challenge because he might actually die, since he is not Narukami Subaru. Hyuga screams at Subaru to stop at that instant if he doesn't want to die. But Subaru has no intention of backing down, and before he knows it, a scary orc appears in the arena. The orc is enraged after seeing the bodies of his comrades lying around, and Hyuga urges Subaru to give up because what he is doing is totally reckless. He tells Subaru that no matter how good he is, pure skill can't allow him to defeat the orc. Deep down, Subaru knows that with his current stats, he can't even leave a scratch on the orc, but this doesn't mean he has any intention of giving up. Just then, he drops his sword, and Hyuga loses his mind because he can't believe that Subaru just dropped the only form of weapon that he has to defend himself. The orc dashes toward him with rage, but he is suddenly hit with a dart that forces him to stop dead in his tracks. He looks at the tiny dart on his leg, and when he looks up, he sees Subaru holding a few poison darts in his hands, which he had picked off the baton of the goblins that he killed. Subaru teases the orc, suggesting that they make a bet. He wants to know if the orc will be the first to defeat him, or if he will be the one to turn him into a pincushion. The next pair of darts that Subaru unleashes hits the orc in the eyes, causing him to scream in agony. The orc holds his eyes in pain as he crashes to the ground, and Subaru dashes toward him without fear. In his past life, Reina was the one who taught Subaru how to throw items, telling him that everything can become a weapon as long as he grasped its center of gravity. The orc manages to get back on his feet, but before he knows it, his entire body has been covered in darts. Hyuga remembers that the goblin corpses and poison darts don't disappear until the trial ends, which means Subaru is basically using the system to his advantage. Hyuga cannot believe that Subaru is able to cut down goblins with a sword, while still possessing the ability to throw weapons efficiently. At this point, Hyuga believes that Subaru being called a genius is a serious understatement. Moments later, the orc finally loses mobility and he crashes to the ground. Subaru then picks up his sword, and before he finishes off the orc, he lets him know that he holds no grudge against him. Subaru then pushes his sword into the orc's neck, finishing him off, and Subaru is informed that he is the first to clear the tutorial step, 50. Subaru is glad that he finished the tutorial, but he can't believe that they added such a tough monster to a training stage. On the status screen, Subaru is informed that he has leveled up and has been granted a ton of achievement points. He has also unlocked the tutorial shop, which is only available during his current stage. His current points are just over 2,000 points, and he wonders what he can buy with them. Since it is his first time seeing the shop, he excitedly opens it and he realizes that there are a ton of items listed in the shop. The lowest item he can get is 5 points, while the highest is around 200 points. Just then, he notices that the Demon Blade is available for sale, and it costs 1,000 achievement points. This is a rare weapon that consumes the user's stamina and mental energy to boost cutting power and physical ability. Because it is a failed creation by the Demon Smith kindred, it remains unnamed. Subaru admits that it is tempting, but the ability to drain stamina and lightning is something huge. On the other hand, there is the Holy Sword, Miranda. It is also a rare weapon that lessens fatigue accumulation and extends combat endurance. It is a mithril sword that is blessed by the temple. Subaru believes that what he needs is the holy sword, not the demon sword. He is left wondering what he should choose between the sword that gives raw power and the holy sword that increases survivability. Subaru stands there thinking about it because the first purchase is the most important of all, and he has to choose carefully. Just then, he notices that there are still more items in the shop, and he just has to scroll further. He runs into a skill called the Wedge of Greed, and this skill costs 1,400 points. It is an F-rank skill, which is still stuck on level 1. The skill suppresses the side effects of skills or items used by the user. Apparently, the skill can be leveled up but requires 10,000 credits. Subaru is blown away when he sees this, since this is the first time he has seen a skill like this. He wonders if it will be able to suppress the debuff from the Demon Blade or Lightning. He proceeds to buy the Wedge of Greed skill, and he also buys the Demon Blade. He believes that it is going to be a perfect match as long as it works the way he wants it to. He figures out that it is better to commit from the beginning than sit on a skill that he will never use. After he is done with this, Hyuga commends him, telling him that he made a good call by buying the sword and the skill alongside it. However, he asks Subaru to tell him why he chose the skill because he doesn't actually get it. Hyuga says Subaru has no idea if it is going to be useful, and it also lacks efficiency. Subaru casually replies, asking if Hyuga really wants him to explain this to him. This pisses Hyuga off, and his aura shoots through the roof, forcing Subaru to quickly rephrase the question while using formalities. Hyuga then tells Subaru that he's going to let him off the hook that one time, since it appears that he is exhausted after the trial. It turns out that Subaru actually knows who Hyuga is from back then. Hyuga had once approached him asking for his autograph while revealing that he was a huge fan. Subaru told him that he doesn't have one, and Hyuga urged him to just sign with his name instead. Subaru smiles as he remembers the past and how much things have changed, including Hyuga's receding hairline. Subaru then tells Hyuga that he has no intention of explaining anything to him, but he urges him to keep the trial results confidential. Hyuga laughs, saying Subaru clearly lacks manners and he plans to drill them into him. He asks him if he wants to join the Knightly Way Guild, but Subaru's no is sharper than his blade. Hyuga tries to convince Subaru, telling him that it is actually rare to see an examiner personally scouting someone, but Subaru ignores him and just moves up to the second floor of the tower, leaving Hyuga hanging. Subaru emerges on the second floor, which is buzzing with other players, and since he is back on a familiar floor, Subaru promises himself that he is going to play his new life smarter. He has been given a second chance to correct his mistakes, and he doesn't plan on wasting it. He is prepared to do everything for his teammates who are waiting for him and for the revenge that they never got in their brutal final moments. At the solo private training grounds, one can personally train, test skills that they have just acquired, and also try out equipment durability. Subaru walks up to the old attendant who asks him which floor he came from. Subaru replies that he just moved from floor 1, and the man suggests that he use the first training room where there are straw dummies. However, Subaru tells him that he wants to use the 5th room, leaving the old attendant shocked as he wants to believe that he's gone deaf. The old attendant tells Subaru that he is basically going to waste his money, and he suggests that he take his advice and use the 1st room. Subaru lets him know that he actually appreciates his concern, but he would like to use the room for 30 minutes. As Subaru heads to the room, the old attendant lets him know that he is responsible for whatever happens to him inside, while reminding him that they don't do refunds even if he leaves the room early. Subaru spends 50 credits to get the room, and he has 10,000 credits left. Basically, the higher the room number, the more challenging it is, and it is normal for anyone to look at him like a fool because he is a newbie with no decent gear. But he decided to take on the 5th room. Upon stepping into the room, Subaru grabs his weapon, the Demon Blade, and the moment the blade verifies the user, he is informed that all stats have been temporarily enhanced. His stamina and MP are consumed, and this immediately puts a strain on him. The Wedge of Greed then comes in to resist the secondary effects of the Demon Blade to recover a portion of Subaru's stamina and MP. However, the Wedge of Greed fails to do its job because it is still a level 1 skill. The Demon Blade continues to drain Subaru, causing him great pain. Seeing how crazy it is, Subaru quickly spends 10,000 credits to level up the Wedge of Greed skill. The skill moves from F rank to E rank, and with this, it is finally able to resist the effects of the Demon Blade to some extent. Subaru could finally hold the sword straight, and once his stats are enhanced, he dashes into the training grounds for a test run. Minutes later, the old attendant is sleeping and drooling when Subaru walks past him. He catches a faint image of Subaru leaving the premises with his body totally battered. The old attendant finally rubs his eyes to wake himself properly to check if he is seeing right. He doesn't want to believe that Subaru is the dude who went into the 5th room because it is not even up to 10 minutes yet. The old attendant walks over to the 5th room to knock on the door, asking Subaru if he is still in there. When he doesn't get a response, the old attendant opens the door to check, and to his utmost shock, the room has been turned upside down with almost every piece of equipment in the room shattered and destroyed. He freaks out while asking himself what happened in the room. Later on, Subaru wakes up in his room and he figures out that he must have been out for quite some time. He stretches to try to move his stiffened body. He knows that he would have been screwed inside the training ground if he were using any other weapon, which is not the demon blade. Subaru then heads to a cafe to chill out, while the strain on his body gradually reduces. He checks out his stats and realizes that if not for the Wedge of Greed skill, he wouldn't be able to even hold the demon sword, let alone wield it. Subaru smiles because he believes that this will definitely work well with lightning. However, Subaru figures out that his next problem is how he is going to level up the Wedge of Greed skill because the next cost is 20,000 credits, and he is left with 5 credits. Subaru cannot believe just how broke he is, and he is thinking about his trash life when he sees a dude talking to his phone. The dude looks like a pop star, and he is chatting with people on his phone while they are sending money to him. Subaru watches in the distance as he sees the dude do a lot of weird stuff with joy on his face because he obviously doesn't know that his viewers are paying him to do the goofy stuff. Subaru then checks out his phone, and he searches for how to save points. He learns that they are in the player versus player era, and 1 in 3 players is a live streamer. This is the first time Subaru has heard about the idea of live streaming. Basically, it is a system that lets one stream videos in real time and receive donations. Subaru is checking this out when a dude suddenly appears out of nowhere, calling his name and teasing him that he has finally moved to the 2nd floor. Subaru is surprised when his body negatively reacts to the dude's presence, which shows that they are not on good terms. Subaru remains mute, and the dude, Isaac, scolds Subaru for ignoring him, even though a friend is talking to him. Subaru immediately recognizes the sensation that he is getting, and he realizes that it is not some mere level of discomfort, but pure fear. Subaru then replies, telling Isaac that he just got on the floor. Isaac teases him, saying it is a surprise that a nobody like him could clear the tutorial grounds because he was convinced that the goblins would beat him to death. As the dude continues saying his trash, Subaru finally accesses Hosoi's memories, and he gets to see what type of person Isaac is. In their last encounter, Isaac had beaten him up, and when Hosoi asked him why he was doing this, he simply told him that he hates his name. Isaac had mocked Hosoi for being an orphan and not being able to follow instructions. Hosoi tried to explain that the credits Isaac gave him weren't enough, but Isaac kicked him in the chest to shut him up. Hosoi crashes into the waste bin while Isaac mocks him, telling him that he is never going to be able to leave the trashy place. He even threatens to beat him up if he tries to climb the tower. After seeing this, Subaru realizes that the former owner of the body was a fool for allowing himself to get pushed around. It also dawns on him that this must have been why he woke up in a trash can. Isaac starts boasting to Subaru, telling him that he broke his father's record and made it till step 20, and Hyuga showered him with praise, saying it is expected of Reinhardt's son. Subaru sits there hearing the dude yap as he talks about how he got a reward for clearing the steps, and it was a B-rank skill. He tells Subaru that it is the highest tier skill one could get from the tutorial ground, and after he is done yapping, he says his throat is dry and would like a drink. Subaru gulps down his drink, and he tells Isaac to take things easy because he is about to leave. However, Isaac tells him that he should get him a cup of coffee before he leaves, and he is also free to add whatever snacks he believes suit him. Subaru puts on a confusing face when he hears this, and Isaac loses it, asking Subaru why he's been acting weird since he got there. Subaru simply answers him that he doesn't have any spare credits, and if he really wants coffee, he should buy it himself. Subaru stands up to leave, but Isaac coldly tells him to sit down. Subaru ignores him because he has no time for another revenge plan unless Isaac decides to get in the way of his main revenge. Just as he is about to leave, Isaac grabs his arm, asking Subaru if he wants to find out what he can do to him. But Subaru coldly urges him to let him go if he knows what is good for him. Isaac gets even angrier, telling Subaru not to get cocky, but just then he realizes that he can't cause a scene in the presence of this many people because it would only come back to bite him. Isaac then switches it up, laughing out loud, telling Subaru that he was only messing with him. Isaac mocks Subaru, telling him that he is weak and that he is pretty sure that he only managed to scrape past the tutorial. Isaac says he knows that Subaru is feeling himself, and he whispers in his ear, asking him if he truly wants to go up against him. Isaac tells Subaru that if he actually wants it, he can make him vanish without anyone knowing. He reminds Subaru that his father is a big shot, and as he leaves, he urges Subaru to be careful. Subaru just stands there in annoyance, watching him leave. Apparently, there are 2 main methods for players to get stronger, and the first is through trials. The player climbs the tower, passes its trials one by one, and earns rewards to grow stronger in a natural way. The first method is one that requires the player to pay credits to undergo trials, but in exchange, one can grow stronger inside a safe virtual space. Even if one dies there, all the player loses are the credits they paid and the progress. However, the second method is hunting, and the player grows by taking down monsters outside the safe zones or by clearing special dungeons on each floor. This helps level up way faster than the tower's trials, but hunting grounds exist in the real world, so if the player dies there, they actually die for good. Later on, Subaru heads to a dungeon called the Lair of the Waiting Orcs. Basically, most players avoid hunting, since no one wants to risk their life for no reason. However, the safer path only means that one grows slowly. However, the more dangerous it is, the faster one grows, and Subaru is all about the risk. As he sits down to rest after taking down a bunch of orcs, he scrolls through his phone and he sees a streamer, Narukami Subaru, with 80,000 viewers just because he is playing Subaru. Subaru is left wondering just how many Narukami Subaru wannabes are out there. Just then he sees a viewer offer to pay Subaru 20,000 credits to clear a mission, and this immediately interests him. As he sits there, he sees Subaru get a ton of missions for several credits. Subaru cannot believe how unfair it is because a wannabe is earning cool cash through streaming, while he, the real deal, is fighting monsters with his life on the line. After he is tired of watching, Subaru finally gets back on his feet to take on the boss of the dungeon, the orc general that just appeared. Even though he doesn't have poison like the last time, he believes that he has something even better this time around. Subaru grabs his weapon and all the effects come into action. Subaru cuts through the regular orcs without mercy, since his main target is the orc general. In no time, he reaches the orc general before the orc even realizes what is going on. He cuts down the orc and clears the dungeon. After this, Subaru acquires his trademark mask because he plans to start streaming, so he can also rake in credits while doing what he is good at. Subaru puts on the mask with the intention of going all out, since he is the real deal. He uses his normal name, and he starts a live stream as he enters a dungeon. Meanwhile, at Azure Sky Entertainment, one of their managers, Uika, is scrolling through live streams for talents, but all she is getting are trash. Even Uika's colleague, Kiyoharu, is having a tough time because of how many Subaru ripoffs are out there. There is even one fool who calls himself Subekchi, and he is nothing but a clown. Uika tells her colleague that since the original Narukami Subaru never shows up, whoever gets the most attention becomes the real one. Since everything is revolving around Subaru, she believes that live streaming might actually be dying out, but her colleague yells at her to stop saying such negative stuff, since they basically live off live streamers. Uika agrees with him, but she is pissed that the live streamers don't even know the basics, and it is basically disrespectful to the majority of players, who are risking their lives to climb the tower. Her colleague then asks her why she is still on the lower floors if this is her conviction. Uika sighs and replies that it is because it is boring, while reminding the dude that he also gave up. She yells at the dude, telling him to go and find rookies who are worth scouting instead of nagging her. Apparently, Uika started climbing the tower to see Narukami Subaru in person, but when she didn't, she just gave up. Just then, Uika finds a new streamer, Narukami Subaru, who is our guy. However, Uika's colleague yells at her for even tuning in, since she is the only viewer. In fact, Subaru is still on the second floor, but Uika replies that anytime he sees someone wear the mask, she gets some sense of hope. Subaru then commences the Floor 2 trial, which requires that he clear the Dungeon of Beginnings and reach the exit. He is informed that achievement points will be awarded based on monsters defeated. As he prepares to take on the trial, Subaru realizes that he actually has someone watching, which adds pressure. Just then, another viewer, Love Money, shows up on the stream, asking Subaru if it is his first try. Subaru says yes, and the dude asks him if it is proper for him to stream it, since he doesn't even know the route on his first try. While looking at his phone, a one-eyed bat dashes toward him, but Subaru casually grabs it without even looking, and he smacks it into the ground, defeating it to Aura Farm, while asking Love Money if there is any problem with him streaming on his first try. Another viewer soon joined, commending Subaru for his insane reflexes, while expressing his surprise that people have started streaming on the second floor. Love Money says some have done this before, but they always quit whenever their views don't grow. Love Money urges Subaru not to be greedy and just wait for a party, so that they can move together. Subaru thanks Love Money for the advice, but lets him know that he won't follow it because he likes doing things solo. Before he knows it, the stream has jumped to 6 viewers, but they still believe that he is a joke, who is just getting views thanks to the fact that he is using Narukami Subaru's name. Moments later, a mud mermaid runs toward him, but all it takes Subaru is 1 slash. It was so fast that even some of the viewers didn't notice this. As Subaru proceeds, he continues taking down monsters with ease, leaving the viewers stunned since Subaru kills monsters as if they don't pose a threat to him. In no time, the viewers move up to 10, and while taking down monsters, Subaru is awarded achievement points. Subaru tells his viewers that if they focus on the sound, they can actually tell where the monsters are coming from and how many of them are there. Most of the viewers reply that they actually know this, and Subaru tells them that they should be able to do it if they know it. However, they inform him that no normal person can do what he is doing, since talent decides everything in the game. Subaru figures out that he is just going to stack up plenty of achievement points before leaving the dungeon. Just then, one of the viewers warns Subaru that he should stop charging forward because he might actually die. Moments later, he runs into a pack of one-eyed bats, and the moment the viewers see this, they all assume that he is done for. Surprisingly, one of the viewers, My Deadstream, gives him a mission to kill all the bats for 100 credits. The other viewers laugh at this, saying there is no way Subaru is going to clear it. However, Subaru thanks Deadstream for the 100 credits. Meanwhile, Wika is glued to her screen, trying to see what Subaru is going to do, while her colleague is losing his mind. The dude moves over to check what Wika is watching, and Wika suddenly screams out in surprise. The dude believes that Wika is yelling at him for losing money on a gamble, and he tries to clear the air, but Wika tells him that he has it all wrong. She mentions Subaru's name, and her colleague cannot believe that she is still watching Subaru's stream. He decides to take a glance, and he is stunned when he sees Subaru cut down bats like paper. Subaru remembers when Shu lectured him on how to properly use his sword angle. It turns out that Subaru was just moving out of instinct back then until Shu mentioned it. Basically, when clearing one-eyed bats, one shouldn't aim for their eyes one by one because they always lunge head first. The more they are, the bigger the opening that they leave, and Subaru demonstrates this to his viewers by cutting down the bats at once. The viewers are left stunned, and those who believed in him from the start are calling out those who called Subaru a noob. One of the viewers says he can't believe that he is currently on the 4th floor, but a 2nd floor noob is tutoring him. Most of the viewers don't even get the explanation because Subaru is basically a bad teacher. Just then, Love Money tells him not to forget to claim his credits, but this is where Subaru ran into an issue. They notice that he is not moving, and they ask him if there is something wrong. Subaru finally speaks up, asking them how he is supposed to claim the credits, and his viewers laugh out of their heads when they hear this. They realize that Subaru is cracked when it comes to fighting, but he is basically a noob when it comes to streaming. Love Money then explains to him, telling him to tap the claim button at the top of the mission list in chat. Subaru thanks him and then proceeds to do so. At this point, his viewers have jumped to 20, and he decides to go for the last push. Back at Azure Sky, Uika is losing her mind because she can't believe what she just watched. Her colleague scolds her, telling her that she is basically insane, but she asks him if he has ever seen a stream like this before. The dude urges Uika to stop freaking out because it is just the 2nd floor, but this only makes Uika freak out more. Uika is totally sold as she stares at her screen, and she even starts cooking up assumptions that Subaru might be Narukami Subaru reincarnated. Kiyoharu cannot believe that it is easy for her to lose her mind anytime it is about Narukami Subaru. Just then, Uika talks about scouting Subaru, and Kiyoharu almost loses his mind. Kiyoharu says Subaru might have talent, but he is definitely a nobody with a dead stream. Uika says she knows this, but Kiyoharu doesn't really think she does because the department will only scold her again. Uika berates Kiyoharu, reminding him that he was just gambling, so there is no difference between them. Nonetheless, she has no intention of giving up on her ambition to scout Subaru. Soon afterward, Subaru makes it to the end of the dungeon, and he pushes the door open to reveal a wolf warrior, Greg. The moment he reaches this stage, the viewers start talking about their experiences with Greg, and one even says he needed 8 tries to get past Greg. The system tells Subaru to make Greg acknowledge him, and the moment he proceeds through the door, the trial has begun. Subaru knows that wolf warriors aren't monsters created to hunt. Their job is to judge whether a player who cleared the Dungeon of Beginnings is worthy to proceed, which simply makes them gatekeepers. Suddenly, a viewer offers him 3,000 credits to kill Greg, leaving him totally shocked. Most of the viewers believe that the dude who offered the 3,000 credits won't pay up. The moment Greg notices Subaru, he gets up and prepares to do his thing. Greg is surprised that only Subaru is there, and Subaru taunts Greg, asking him if he sees anyone else around. Greg admits that Subaru is funny, and he mentions that he can smell the scent of a great warrior on him. The viewers are surprised to hear this because most of them got insulted by Greg. Basically, wolf warriors can distinguish special scents because what they perceive is not body odor, but the person's real essence. Greg then tells Subaru that he already possesses the qualifications to pass through, so the trial ends there. Greg points to the door, telling him that he can leave, and the viewers are surprised by just how easy the trial is. However, Subaru is conflicted because he now has a mission that didn't even happen in his past life. Subaru then tells Greg that he is actually his main goal, and Greg asks him what he means by this. Subaru mentions that he has been given a mission to kill him, and Greg replies that he is not surprised by this since he has the soul of a great warrior. Meanwhile, Uika and Kiyoharu are in the office of the department's head, John Tail. John asks them how many viewers Subaru has, and Kiyoharu replies that he has about 20. However, Uika cuts in, saying Subaru now has over 30 viewers. Kiyoharu cannot believe that Uika is seriously pushing this as if there is a difference between 20 and 30. When John hears this, he asks the two if they are playing some kind of prank on him. He lets Kiyoharu know that he is aware of his gambling frenzy during work hours. John is pissed that he told them to find someone worthy, but they are coming to him with 20 viewers. Uika still reminds him that it is now 30, but he yells at her, telling her that this doesn't matter. John asks Uika why she doesn't start, since it appears that she has real talent, and it is pretty obvious that she is going to be famous. He's in the middle of this when Uika cuts in again, telling him that she just took a quick peek at Subaru's stream and he now has over 40 viewers. John almost loses his mind in anger when he hears this because he still doesn't see what the difference is, and Uika is left urging the chief to chill out. At the dungeon, Subaru prepares to engage Greg, and he takes a deep breath while reminding himself that he doesn't have to think about anything. The moment he grabs his weapon, the effects come into play just as usual. Even though this is his first time taking on Greg, Subaru believes that he just has to calm down and do what he's always done. Just then, Greg dashes toward him, lunging at him with his crazy giant claws. Subaru manages to block the strike with his weapon, but the force from Greg's attack pushes him back. Greg doesn't stop there as he continues charging at Subaru. Subaru admits that Greg is insanely strong, and at this point, it is impossible to take on Greg with strength alone. After a few strikes without landing a hit, Greg admits that Subaru is an impressive warrior. However, this doesn't stop him from continuing to swing crazily at him since he is pretty confident that Subaru is no match for him. Greg pushes Subaru backwards, forcing him on the defensive while he stands tall above him. The viewers are left in awe, and some have already written Subaru off, saying he can't take on Greg because it is basically impossible. One viewer believes that Subaru will get it done after 2 to 3 tries. One viewer even scolds whoever gave Subaru the mission because he could have moved past Greg without having to go through stress. On the other hand, Subaru is analyzing the situation, and he knows that there are methods more effective than using pure strength. Minutes later, Greg decides to finish Subaru off, since he is already tired of the fight. He lunges at Subaru with one crazy push, but he misses Subaru. This leaves his underbelly completely open, and this gives Subaru the clear path to land a powerful attack that cuts through Greg's belly. Greg screams in pain, and as he crashes to the ground, Subaru leaps onto him, finishing him off by cutting his throat. Greg crashes to the ground, and Subaru is informed that he has defeated the Wolf Warrior. The system tells Subaru that he has leveled up twice, and his strength has also increased by 2. His other stats also enjoy increases, and he is given 500 achievement points. The viewers are left in confusion because they can't believe that Subaru just took down Greg. Basically, this is the first time Greg has been taken down, which makes it all crazy. The viewers continue heaping praises on Subaru because he just did something that he never thought was possible. At this point in time, his current viewer count has gone up to 56, and the viewer who promised him the credits immediately deposits the credit. Subaru thanks him for the credits, assuring him that he is going to make good use of them. The door then opens, and the moment he walks through it, he is hit with 13 trials at once, shocking the viewers again. It turns out that the number of trials is proportional to the player's talent, and the system asks him if he would like to choose the Thunder trial. Without hesitation, the viewers urge him to pick the Thunder trial, since this is Narukami Subaru's trademark. Subaru then picks the Thunder trial, and he is transferred to the site of the trial. Meanwhile, Uika, John, and Kiyoharu are losing their minds because Subaru just did something they didn't expect. Uika then turns to John, asking him what he thinks about Subaru because she is pretty sure that there's been no streamer like him in the past. In addition, he was given 13 trials at once, which is insane because a normal player gets 2 to 3 missions. John admits that Subaru is impressive because he even defeated the Wolf Warrior that has never been defeated in the past. However, John is worried about scouting a streamer who is still on the second floor. Just then, Uika suggests that they make a bet. Uika tells John that if Subaru fails to master Thunder, she and Kiyoharu's salary will be fixed for the next 5 years. Kiyoharu degrades to his black and white version when he hears this, while asking Uika why she is dragging him into the wager. Uika lets her boss know that they have to sign a contract with Subaru if he does master it, but Kiyoharu is still freaking out about it, telling his boss not to mind Uika because he has no idea what she is talking about. John then reminds Uika that only the player has been able to master Thunder, and this is the original Narukami Subaru himself. Uika replies that they are never going to know unless they try, and John immediately takes the bet, while Kiyoharu is freaking out about it. On the other hand, Subaru has started the Thunder trial, and he suddenly finds himself in a strange area. He is still wondering where he is when he gets tackled to the ground by a dude with a scar on his face. It turns out that he just saved him from getting struck by a Titan. The dude yells at Subaru, telling him to stop spacing out unless he wants to get himself killed. Subaru then realizes that he has been given a mission to defeat the fragment of the Titan race. Subaru is left in shock because there is not supposed to be a Titan right there. Even the viewers are left in shock because Subaru shouldn't have come across a Titan yet. The Titan is supposed to be a boss-level monster that appears in the second half of the trial, and Subaru wonders if something changed in the system because he defeated Greg. The Titan swings at him really hard, forcing Subaru to leap out of the way to avoid getting crushed. Subaru is not entirely scared, since he knows that the Titan is inferior to Greg even though he has a bigger body. The dude who saved Subaru earlier yells at him, telling him to get to safety, but Subaru aims to finish off the Titan before another interference butts in. Subaru grabs his sword and the Titan swings at him. Subaru leaps out of the way, and the moment the Titan's weapon hits the ground, Subaru uses it as a stepping stone to leap toward the Titan. This helps him to get behind the Titan, and he lands on the Titan's neck. With surgical precision, he pushes his sword into the Titan's nape, killing him in one shot. The Titan crashes to the ground, and the system informs Subaru that he has defeated the fragment of the Titan race, which means he has cleared the 4th stage. The viewers are puzzled when Subaru is informed that he cleared the 4th stage. Additionally, he leveled up thrice, with his stats increasing too. Just from defeating the Titan, he is awarded 4,000 achievement points, and the system tells him that once he obtains the item called the Titan's Heart, he is going to obtain the Thunder. The viewers are left raving because Subaru just got 4,000 points, and he also gets rewards for stages 1 through 4. They believe that Subaru must have automatically cleared stages 1 through 3 because he defeated Greg. The dude who saved him, Falcon, witnesses Subaru take down the Titan in one hit, and instead of talking to Subaru rudely, he starts addressing him formally. Falcon asks Subaru why he is there, and Subaru replies that he is there to defeat the Titan. Later on, Subaru retreats to his room, and his viewers beg him to show his items. Subaru agrees to this, and he shows them the Titan's heart that he acquired. It is a ring made by removing the heart of a Titan that increases stamina and healing efficiency. Subaru is pleased with the item because it increases his stamina. He also gets protective gear named Thunder. This is an armor imbued with the power of thunder. It can use thunder once per day, and status ailments are negated. The viewers are blown away, and they believe that Subaru should be able to use this up to the 5th floor. Just then, a viewer, Narukami Subaru Love, gives him a mission to obtain Thunder for 5,000 credits. Before Subaru knows it, several other viewers troop in, telling Subaru that they are going to give him thousands of credits for the same mission. Subaru thanks them, promising that he is definitely going to show them Thunder. Subaru is left in awe because he didn't know that many people were actually rooting for him to acquire Thunder. This finally gives him a reality check that Narukami Subaru was more extraordinary than he even imagined. Just then, he hears a knock on the door and he asks whoever it is to come in. The door opens and Falcon comes in with another dude, whom he introduces as Peleus, the village's chief of knights. Peleus tells Subaru that Titan attacks have been rampant lately and the knights are on standby 24 hours a day while donning full armor. Falcon mentions how surprising it is to have met an outsider at a time when the villagers are not even advised to go out. Peleus expresses his gratitude to Subaru for protecting the village while he was away. Subaru replies that he only did the right thing. Subaru knows who Peleus is, and he is a brave knight who is not scared to take on Titans. Peleus reveals that they have been able to find out where the Titan leader is, and they plan to finish things once and for all. Falcon and Peleus then bow to Subaru, asking him to help save their village. On the live stream, the viewers are already dropping hints that Peleus is going to die. Apparently, Peleus actually dies in the next stage. Subaru then urges them to raise their heads while assuring them that he is going to help them. With this, the 5th stage, which is named Survival, begins. Not long after this, Peleus and his knights, accompanied by Subaru, head to where the Titan leader is. Subaru checks out and realizes that the comments are coming in every second thanks to the growth in his viewership, and he is worried that he might not be able to communicate properly with his viewers. Moments later, they find the Titan leader lying down in the distance. Peleus prepares to draw the Titan leader's attention so that they can attack from behind, but Subaru taps Peleus on the shoulder, telling him to wait. Peleus wonders why he is stopped, and he soon understands when he sees a ton of Titans emerge from their hiding places, revealing that the Titan leader is not alone. Before they know it, the Titans swarm them, grabbing some of the knights and tearing them apart. The knights scream for help as the Titans feast on them, and Peleus yells at the knights, telling them to retreat to the foot of the mountain. Some of the knights don't want to leave as they watch their loved ones get shredded by the Titans, but Peleus shouts an order at them, telling them to leave the battlefield. He tells them to think about the village and their families who are waiting for them at home because their fight isn't over yet. The knights start making a run for it, and Peleus urges Falcon to lead the way. He also turns to Subaru, telling him that he also has to leave, but Subaru ignores him and reaches for his weapon as the Titans approach. Peleus urges Subaru to retreat so that they can reorganize their troops and challenge them later. However, Subaru tells Peleus to leave instead, revealing that he won't be able to move freely if Peleus is around. He tells Peleus that he is free to stay if he would like to die. Peleus still wants to argue, but Subaru tells him that he won't like to repeat himself. Peleus finally retreats, promising that he will gather soldiers, so Subaru should hold on as best as he can. With Subaru left alone with the Titans, he charges toward them, and he makes sure to cripple their advance by cutting the heels of the Titans in front. By defeating 2 Titans in quick succession, Subaru gains the attention of the other Titans. Subaru mentions his plan not to leave any of them behind, even though it is just a trial. Meanwhile, Peleus is overwhelmed with guilt that he left Subaru to take on the Titans by himself. With Subaru standing firm in front of the dozens of Titans, the viewers are left wondering if he plans to take on all of them by himself. It turns out that Subaru sent the troops away because his score is going to depend on the number of remaining troops. However, one viewer believes that without the troop support, his chances of clearing the mission have reduced to 0. On the other hand, Subaru is convinced that he can actually save everyone, including Peleus, who was supposed to die at that stage. The Titans rush at him, but Subaru remains unfazed as he cuts down one of the Titans relatively easily. He continues cutting through them while earning achievement points in the process. Subaru knows that he has no issue taking down the Titans one by one, but the time he has left to borrow the Demon Blade's power is the real issue. Subaru figures out that what he needs is the Titan leader, and he takes the fight into the air. He leaps onto the Titans' heads, using them as footstones to leap forward. Subaru dashes past the Titans using this method, leaving the Titans eager to catch him, but they are having a hard time doing so. The viewers are blown away by Subaru's agility, but they know that one misstep from him and he is going to find himself in the belly of a Titan. One viewer even mentions that air combat is Narukami Subaru's specialty. Just then, the Wedge of Greed comes in, helping him restore some of his mana, and he realizes that having equipment makes a huge difference. However, Subaru knows that he has to take down the Titan leader before he reaches his limit. Moments later, he spots the Titan leader in the distance, smiling at him, teasing him to give it a try. Subaru doesn't hesitate, even though the Titan leader is more than capable of finishing him with one strike, thanks to the Titan leader's big baton. Nonetheless, Subaru knows that he has just one chance to take down the Titan leader, and he has to do it in one hit or else he is done for. He has a plan in hand, but he can only beg that it works, or else he is screwed. Just as he is about to reach the leader, Subaru snaps his finger and activates the Thunderclap. The Thunderclap hits the battlefield in the most brutal way. As it reverberates throughout the entire battlefield, the Titans are critically affected, and they grab their heads in agony, including the Titan's leader. He screams in pain while calling Subaru a vile human, but with the leader covering his ears with his hands, Subaru gets a free chance at his neck. While doing this, the Demon Blade is excessively consuming his mana. Without wasting too much time, Subaru puts all his energy into the attack, and he pushed his sword into the leader's neck. In one strike, Subaru takes out the leader by exploiting the only weakness he has. Before the other Titans can even recover, Subaru has taken down their leader, and the system informs him that he has cleared the 5th stage. The system admits that Subaru has accomplished an astounding feat, and because of this, he is leveled twice. His stats also get significant increases. The viewers are left in awe, and messages start flooding. They are totally blown away because they don't even defeat the Titans in this current stage. They don't even understand when the Titans became killable, and they admit that Subaru is an impressive person to have been able to defeat monsters that are not meant to be defeated. Even some of the viewers hate that they are so weak that they can't do what Subaru is doing. Just then, the Titans start recovering from the thunderclap that hit them. At the same time, Subaru is informed that the Wedge of Greed can no longer resist the secondary effects of the Demon Blade. This is when it dawns on Subaru that even though he has cleared the stage, the monsters will only keep respawning until he finishes the actual trial. Subaru can't believe that he is about to be bitten in the back by the same mechanism that he exploited. Subaru finds it hard to stand straight as he loses his strength with every second that passes. Just as he is about to be overwhelmed by the Titans, thunder hits from above, running through Subaru's body in an overwhelming amount. Meanwhile, in a distant, remote area, Reina is on her phone when Shu steps out of the cabin, asking her what she is doing. Reina talks about how nice the weather is, while sadly revealing that this is the only thing that they can indulge in now. Shu tells Reina that it is about time for them to put an end to things. Shu then notices that Reina is focused on her phone, and he decides to take a glance. Reina explains that she is watching the stream of a player named Narukami Subaru, and Shu freaks out when he hears this. However, Reina urges him to chill out because she is pretty sure that he is not the one they know. Reina believes that this Subaru is just calling himself that, since he is a streamer who has just started taking his second-floor trials. Reina then tells Shu that it is pretty obvious that if Subaru were still alive, Itsuki would have been long gone from the tower. Shu asks her what she is trying to say, and she yells at Shu, saying that what she is trying to tell him is that Subaru is dead. She wants Shu to face reality, but Shu suggests that they change the topic. Reina is not about to hold back, and he asks Shu how long he plans to continue living in Subaru's shadow. Shu retaliates, asking her why she is also watching the stream of someone using Subaru's name. He grabs the device from her, and Reina claims that she is only trying to pass the time. Suddenly, they see something insane on the stream that leaves them totally speechless. Back on the battlefield, it turns out that the thunder that struck was a sign that Subaru has acquired the skill, Thunder. In addition to this, he has been awarded 2,000 points, and he is asked if he wants to continue the trial or if he would like to move to the next floor. The viewers go wild when this happens, and it finally dawns on them that this is how to obtain thunder. A viewer says it is pretty easy to get the thunder, since it only requires the player to kill the Titan leader. One replies that they finally understand why Narukami Subaru didn't tell anyone, but another lets them know that even if Subaru had revealed this, there is no way any of them is pulling it off. It turns out that the Thunder skill is an A-rank skill that drains stamina and magic to use the power of thunder. Since it is still at level 1, it can be leveled up using additional thunder shards. Nonetheless, Subaru is glad that he survived the stamina drain because the trial ended at the right time. Because he cleared the mission, his credits started rolling in from people who gave him the mission to do so. Subaru thanks them, and at this point, he has 20,000 credits. Subaru then decides to put on a thank you show for the support, and he resumes the trial. He wastes no time spending 20,000 credits to level up the Wedge of Greed so that it can finally hold back the Demon Blade's debuff. Even though he would like to cover his entire body with thunder at that moment, he knows that he can't, and he limits the use to his hand in the meantime. As the Titans rush toward him, he envelops the Demon Blade with thunder, and he unleashes a powerful strike that slices through the Titans with just one strike. With just a single strike, he wipes out the Titans, but it is only after he is done that he realizes that he has expended all of his strength. He planned to save some strength so he would be able to go back, but he is completely out. Subaru loses his balance, but rests on his sword to try and hold on. Meanwhile, Peleus and his men are returning to the battlefield, and Peleus is shocked when he sees the bodies on the ground. He rushes towards Subaru, who is barely holding on. The moment Subaru sees Peleus, he finally gives in, and he passes out. Later on, Kiyoharu and John are seen watching Uika freak out over how she is supposed to approach Subaru now that they are finally ready to sign a contract with him. She already sent him a business proposal, but she is still feeling like Subaru might count it as a love confession. Kiyoharu cannot believe just how far she has gone when it comes to loving up, and he lets her know that she has nothing to worry about because it's nothing but business. John cannot believe that Uika was begging to be a manager for a streamer, but she is panicking when it is time for her to do the job. Uika tells John that this is different, and this is because she was a devoted fan even before she became a manager. She is also raving about Subaru getting the thunder, but Kiyoharu is just relieved that they are keeping their pay. John admits that thunder is not something a random person can learn, which shows that Subaru is worth keeping an eye on. Just then, Kiyoharu informs them that Subaru has read their mail. Uika hears this and almost dies from happiness, but she freezes up in shock when she learns that Subaru left the mail on read. It gets progressively worse as she degrades into her soulless art form, leaving her colleagues ultimately speechless. Meanwhile, there is a streamer out there, Hawkeyes, who specializes in analyzing player combat capability. He has established himself firmly by using insight and streaming expertise to beat his competitors. Hawkeyes has reviewed a ton of footage from various players, and he has provided an accurate analysis of them. He recently covered Kurokawa Amon, who joined the Blue Zone Guild recently. He talks about how he is a dark horse who is climbing the tower at an insane speed, which is why people even call Amon the second coming of Subaru. Hawkeyes also provides insight on Itsuki, asking if Itsuki can become the strongest. Basically, Itsuki is now the world's greatest player, and there is a lot of pressure on him. After taking a deep dive into Itsuki's skills, he still digresses to Narukami Subaru, talking about how he is the best man, and that thunder belongs to him. Hawkeyes then takes a dive at the hottest player of the moment, which is Narukami Subaru. Hawkeye's viewers are left in shock when they hear about this. He plays Subaru's footage for everyone to watch, and they are all left in shock. Even Hawkeyes is stunned when he sees the things that Subaru is pulling off. Hawkeyes mentions that Subaru has an insane level of concentration for him to be able to use a skill he has only just learned in such an impressive manner. Hawkeyes continues leaving his comments on Subaru's performance, glazing him in the process. Deep down, Hawkeyes is even more blown away than what he is showing on his stream because Subaru has the concentration and technique needed for fine control of his skills, while also making the right calls throughout the battle. Hawkeyes cannot believe that Subaru didn't actually make a single mistake in battle. He realizes that half of those who are watching don't even understand what is currently happening. Hawkeyes then tells his viewers that Subaru is definitely going to be a big player, and he is worth keeping an eye on. Hawkeyes is totally overwhelmed that he almost ends his stream without giving his viewers a closing remark, which is totally unlike him. His viewers are forced to remind him, and he leaves them with a big fact. He tells them that in terms of control alone, Subaru might even be better than Narukami Subaru at his peak. Soon afterward, Subaru wakes up in his room after he passed out on the battlefield. The system informs him that the stage is currently pending, and his fatigue has fully recovered. He is asked if he wants to suspend the trial, and there are two conditions that must be met for a trial to be suspended. The first one is that the previous stage must have been completed without the next stage having started, and the second is that the player's fatigue level must be 0. Subaru figures out that his fatigue has recovered, but his mental exhaustion is still there. He decides that he is just going to take some time off, and he thanks his viewers for watching. The viewers are disappointed that the stream is about to go off, and one even asks for an end-of-stream performance. Subaru is left in shock when he realizes that his viewers have gone over 700 people. Subaru apologizes, telling them that the next stream is going to be on the following day after his day off. Without further ado, Subaru ends the stream, and while he is at the stage waiting area, he sees the mail sent to him from Azure Sky Entertainment. The message is composed by Uika, and she lets Subaru know that the company offers streamers full support and the highest revenue share in the industry. He wonders if it is spam mail, which is why he left it unreplied to. Later on, Subaru decides to do a quick research on Azure Sky Entertainment. He learns that they are a leading multi-channel network company that focuses primarily on managing live streamers. It is also one of the rapidly growing companies in the field. Subaru is surprised that there is a company like this, and this just shows him how much time has changed. While checking out related items to the company, he realizes that Hawkeyes is affiliated with Azure Sky. Subaru knows Hawkeyes as the streamer who is known for his bluntness, and he blushes when he realizes that Hawkeyes was praising him on his stream. Meanwhile, Isaac is also watching Hawkeye's stream, and he is pissed when he hears Hawkeyes praising Subaru. Isaac spits on the floor in disgust before making his way into the cafe. As if his morning is not ruined already, he runs into Subaru, who is just minding his business. Isaac then walks over to Subaru's table and he kicks it to spill his drink while claiming that it was an accident. Subaru gets off in shock, and he is surprised to see that it is Isaac again. Isaac acts like he has nothing against Subaru, talking about how they are running into each other recently. Subaru just ignores him and stares at the filth that Isaac made. Just then, Isaac asks Subaru if he should pay for his coffee, but he hasn't even finished saying this when Subaru walks past him. Isaac immediately loses it, and he calls out to Subaru, reminding him that he warned him the last time. Isaac grabs Subaru's shirt, asking him if he has a screw loose in his head. Subaru stays silent as Isaac starts yapping in anger, telling Subaru that he would gladly beat him up just like the old days. Subaru simply grabs his and he takes his hands off his shirt, telling Isaac that he doesn't have time for him. Isaac is shocked as his hand is easily slapped off, leaving him wondering if Subaru has always been this strong. Subaru walks off, telling Isaac that he is just going to pretend that he has already compensated for his coffee. Isaac yells at Subaru to stop, but Subaru ignores him and he steps out of the cafe. This leaves Isaac raging, and he concludes that all the Subarus are mocking him. After stepping out of the cafe, Subaru finally figures out that he has to reply to Uika's email. He sends a text to her, suggesting that they meet in person, and Uika is having her bath when the message comes in. Later on, Subaru takes on a dungeon, and in no time he reaches the boss room. Subaru heads to the boss room of the Lizard Man's hideout after wiping out the underlings. At the same time, he realizes that he is already getting used to it, and just then, the boss, a fire salamander, appears on the scene. Subaru figures out that he has to know exactly how much power he can release with thunder to avoid the same situation that happened in his past battle. Once he gathers thunder in his legs, Subaru leaps toward the salamander, and as he approaches the salamander, it is just like old times to him. Before he reaches the salamander, he pours thunder into the demon blade, unleashing an overwhelming amount of power. The Wedge of Greed tries to block the debuff, but the power is too much for the skill to contend with. Subaru unleashes his strike, taking the salamander's head off with one strike. The system then informs him that he has cleared the dungeon and has also leveled up. After leaving the dungeon, he realizes that the stamina-reducing effect worked way better than he expected because he still has plenty of fatigue to spare. He figures out that this would be enough for him to push his output even further. As for the Wedge of Greed, he now needs 40,000 credits to upgrade to C rank, which implies that the cost doubles every level. He wishes that someone would show up out of nowhere and offer him a good bounty for once. Suddenly, he hears someone's voice from the woods, asking him if he is hunting. Subaru comes to a halt and this strange person comes out. It turns out to be the annoying Isaac, and he tells Subaru that they might have known each other for a long time, but it doesn't take away the fact that Subaru is hitting him with surprises every day. Subaru is tired of seeing Isaac's face, and he can't believe just how persistent he is. Isaac mentions that his anger has piled up and he has finally lost it. He walks up to Subaru, suggesting that they end the beef once and for all. Subaru stands there, wondering why Isaac is so annoying. At the same time, John is meeting with Hawkeyes. It's been a long time since the two last saw each other, and John asks him how his streams have been faring. Hawkeyes replies that his viewer count hasn't changed in a while, and John tells him that it is actually healthier that way. John tells him that things that are built up little by little don't crumble easily. Hawkeyes quickly moves past the boring talk, and he asks John why he dragged him out for tea out of nowhere. John then mentions that it is about Subaru, whom he reviewed the day before. John wants to know if Hawkeyes is serious about what he said. Hawkeyes then tells John that he means it, but the question remains if Subaru will be able to make it far or not. Hawkeyes asks John why he wants to know his take on it, and John replies that he is thinking of scouting Subaru for their agency. Hawkeyes is surprised to hear this, and he reminds John that Subaru's viewership is way too low, which means he is a nobody. John agrees with him, but he lets Hawkeyes know that after he's heard what he has to say about Subaru, he's convinced. John then suggests that Hawkeyes do a collaboration with Subaru. John says the agency will handle boosting his numbers and getting his name out to the public for people to know. Back in the woods, Isaac tells Subaru that it is just the two of them out there, and Subaru confirms this for him. Isaac tells Subaru that this is something that happens when he gets cocky and wanders into a dungeon. He teases Subaru, asking if he backed out early since he has no scars on him. Isaac tells Subaru that this is exactly why he told him to stay put, and he asks Subaru if he is pushing himself hard because he believes that he is the next Narukami Subaru. Isaac asks Subaru if he thinks he can learn thunder just because Hawkeyes said it. Isaac grabs Subaru's shoulder, telling him that Narukami is dead and he should just rot in his grave. Isaac talks about how everyone is getting on his nerves. Deep down, Subaru is frustrated because he himself didn't expect to find himself in an era overflowing with Narukami Subaru wannabes. Subaru then decides to ask Isaac something important. He asks him why he hates him so much, and Isaac replies that it is because his name is Subaru. Subaru then asks him why he hates the name so much, because everyone else seems to like it. Isaac yells at Subaru angrily, saying he knows who his father is and he is still saying such nonsense. Subaru asks Isaac what his father has to do with anything because he is a grown man, but he is still blaming everything on him. Isaac loses it and says his father is Reinhardt, a ranker on floor 9. The moment Subaru hears this, it finally dawns on him that Isaac is Reinhardt's son, and Reinhardt is known as the One-Swordsman. In the past, Reinhardt had challenged Subaru to a duel because he was a newcomer, but all it took Subaru to defeat him was a single slash. The whole fight didn't even last 30 seconds, and Subaru defeated him in such a humiliating manner. Isaac yells at Subaru, telling him not to mention his father's name so casually. Subaru finally understands that the reason Isaac hates him is because of his father, the One-Swordsman. Subaru asks him if he knows just how much Hosoi suffered because of him, but Isaac tells Subaru to shut his mouth. Isaac unleashes his firepower, enveloping his hands in flames, telling Subaru that it is time for him to die because he is tired of hearing him talk. Isaac talks about how Subaru didn't do a damn thing, but he was worshipped all around like he was a big deal. In addition, he believes that his guild, Blue Eyes, got cocky because they were riding on Subaru's influence as a grandmaster, but in the end, they got sunk. Isaac talks about how he enjoyed their deaths, and these statements are already fueling Subaru's rage. Isaac hurls a fireball at Subaru, telling him that ending up with the same name as the original Subaru is tough luck. The fireball is so massive that Isaac believes he has gotten the better of Subaru. He even talks about how he plans to go kill the masked streamer, and Subaru's voice cuts through the smoke, calling him out on this. Isaac is shocked, and to add to his surprise, Subaru puts on the mask to show him that he is the masked streamer that he is talking about. Isaac starts freaking out, talking about how the blast should have killed Subaru because it was really powerful. Seeing that Isaac won't shut his mouth, Subaru dashes toward him and punches him in the chest while calling him a man-child. The punch hits him so hard that he crashes to his knees in pain. Isaac coughs up blood, and Subaru lets him know that he has no right to even talk about his past teammates. Isaac cannot believe his eyes, and as he tries to catch his breath, he starts asking stupid questions. Subaru decides to give him a pop quiz. He takes off the mask, and he asks him who he thinks is standing before him at that very moment. He wants to know if he thinks he is the Hosoi Subaru that he used to bully, the masked streamer, Narukami Subaru, or the Blue Eyes Narukami Subaru himself. Isaac scoffs at this, saying it is not possible for the person standing before him to be the real Subaru. He talks on Subaru, saying his thunder isn't even impressive. Instead of staying down, he decides to attack again, but before his hand can even touch Subaru, Subaru cuts it off. Isaac watches in shock as Subaru tells him that he's gotten it all wrong. Subaru then asks him if he knows just how much Hosoi suffered because of him, and this is when sweat starts to run down his face because he realizes that he's done for. At that moment, he figures out that Subaru is the real deal, but before he can say anything else, Subaru cuts him down with anger. Blood gushes out of his body as he crashes to the ground, and Subaru tells him to consider this a payment for borrowing his friend's body. Later on, Subaru is at the resting area, thinking about his plan. He wants to stick to the plan where the streamer Narukami Subaru never shows his face. While he is waiting there, some girls in the room can't believe that someone is seriously playing Subaru in there, and they talk about how embarrassing he looks. Subaru doesn't really care because he knows that keeping his identity hidden is a huge advantage when the other side has no idea who they are dealing with. Moments later, Wika shows up, and just from greeting Subaru alone, her face has turned red. Wika introduces herself and reveals that she is the manager who contacted Subaru. Subaru shakes her hand, introducing himself, and Wika almost dies from excessive blushing while telling Subaru that it is good to meet him. Deep down, Wika is blown away because it appears that the real Subaru is standing in front of her. Subaru notices how Wika is staring at him, and he asks her if there is any problem, but she nervously says no. Before coming to meet Subaru, John had told Wika that she had to get everything right, since it was her first time meeting a client. However, seeing how she has just messed up her intro, she can't believe that her boss's words went to waste. Subaru notices how she is acting all nervous, and he asks her if she is a fan of the late Narukami Subaru, and she says yes. In fact, she lets him know that she is a die-hard supporter. Subaru then urges her to relax because he is not the real one, and he is pretty sure that he is younger than her too. Uika argues that she is also a fan of the streamer Subaru. She starts talking about the first time she watched Subaru's stream when he went into the dungeon to defeat the one-eyed bats, and all. This is when Subaru starts to wonder if Uika is his first viewer because she basically remembers everything in detail even more than him. Subaru commends her, saying he was sloppy back then, but it now feels dreamlike to hear Wika talk about how she watched everything. Wika boasts about this, and mentions that this is exactly why she told the company to assign her to be his manager. It then dawns on Uika that it is finally time for her to act professionally so she can win Subaru over. Uika mentions that they have already drafted the contract, and since it is bulky, she will try to summarize. She places the contract book on the table, revealing that their company will handle everything from commercials, event highlights, merchandising, and anything that they can build using the brand, Narukami Subaru. Subaru asks her what he needs to do in return, and Uika says all he has to do is keep streaming as he has always done. Subaru then asks Uika if being a streamer is this convenient, and Uika replies with a smile that Subaru is the first streamer to have learned Thunder. In addition, she mentions that John thinks highly of Subaru. Uika is about to push for the final part when Subaru cuts her short, asking her if this is how all the managers in Azure Sky act. Uika replies truthfully, saying everybody else is way cooler and even more reliable than her. However, Subaru tells her that this is not what he means. Deep down, Subaru can see that the aura she gives off is not like a typical player, which leaves him wondering if the average level has gone up so much that someone like her is only working as a manager. Uika is already freaking out because she believes that she's messed the whole thing up. Unknown to her, Subaru is just thinking about how decent she is, which means he has to get stronger because it appears that the people he will be facing from there on won't be regular guys. Uika is about to burst out in naivety when Subaru stretches his hand to her to shake her, telling her that she looks like someone that he can trust, which is why he is going to accept the contract. Subaru lets her know that he looks forward to working with her. And with her whole face red already, Uika takes his hand, replying that she feels the same. Later on, Subaru restarts his stream, and to his surprise, there are over 700 viewers already. It dawns on him that the announcement from Uika must have worked, and without wasting time, Subaru suggests that they get down to business for the day. Subaru then continues with Stage 6, which was already pending, and this is named Legend. While holding out in the military camp, Peleus asks his men if their savior Subaru has woken up yet, and Falcon says no. One of the knights expresses his doubts, revealing that he doesn't even think that they can trust someone who is not a knight. Another knight agrees with him, saying Subaru is a random outsider who showed up out of nowhere just to kill the Titan boss himself. They find this really hard to believe, and they ask Peleus if he knows what he saw because he might have been tricked. Peleus yells at them in anger, asking them how they are able to say things like this. Just then, Peleus is informed that Subaru is awake, and Subaru makes his way into the tent. Peleus welcomes him with all excitement, asking him how he feels, and Subaru thanks him, telling him that he is pretty good. The knights start mumbling when they see Subaru because they can't believe that he is the one who took down the boss, since he doesn't even look that strong. Subaru then asks if they really don't believe that he did it, or if they just don't want to believe it. Before he started streaming, Uika had explained a mic function to him to help him get past situations that might bore out his viewers. Just then, one of the older knights, Dale, stretches his hand forward to shake Subaru and to thank him. Subaru mentions that it is their first meeting, and Dale confirms this, revealing that he was protecting a village, but everyone got crushed. Subaru asks him what he means by this, and Dale mentions that it was a terrifying Titan who did it. Subaru is surprised to hear this, and he asks Dale if there is someone even more dangerous than the boss he killed, and Dale says yes. He mentions that long ago, the true Titans waged war against the gods, but these Titans have been sealed away. Apparently the ones around now are mostly remnants of the original. However, the Titan that came after the one that Subaru killed was different because it was closer to the legendary Titans. Dale holds his head in fear, revealing that he didn't think any of them still existed. Even the viewers are blown away, and they start asking themselves how Subaru plans to kill such a terrifying monster. Subaru simply tells Dale that all they have to do is kill the Titan, and Dale is blown away by Subaru's confidence. Dale tells Subaru that it is a pretty dangerous mission, which might even lead to his death. Just then, Peleus mentions that there is an ancient legend that was passed down. He reveals that on the Millennium Mountain's peak, there is a thunder shard that he believes only Subaru can find. While they are talking, the scary Titan, which is 3 times bigger than the regular Titans, is already wreaking havoc on villages. It turns out that the boss that Subaru killed is his son, and he promises that he is going to avenge him. He grabs humans like nuts and crushes them just to use their blood to wash his hands. Later on, Subaru rides toward the front line and he spots the scary Titan leader in the distance. The viewers are left in shock when they see this, and even Subaru can see how desperate the Titan is to kill him. His viewers tell him that the mission seems impossible because what they are staring at is no ordinary Titan. According to the information and the distance, Peleus tells Subaru that it is going to take the Titans around 3 days to reach where they are. Peleus tells him that he has to run away by that time if he can't find the shard, because this is the only way he is going to survive. Subaru then rushes over to the Millennium Mountain on horseback because he has to get his hands on the Thunder Shard no matter what. The viewers urge him to quit and retry later, telling him that he should be able to clear it in 2 tries at best. However, Subaru disagrees with them, telling them that there is no trial that cannot be cleared. He has just finished saying this when it dawns on him that he just accidentally slipped out his old catchphrase. One of the viewers recognizes this catchphrase but can't pinpoint where exactly. Just then, viewers start to drop credits for him to beat the mission. Subaru is only glad that they didn't catch on to what he just said. Moments later, he arrives at the peak of the mountain where the shard is said to be. He remembers Peleus telling him that the Thunder Shard only appears in legends and no one even knows if it is a unique power item or even a person. Subaru had asked Peleus if he knew how to obtain it, but Peleus told him that the only thing they knew was the location. However, he lets Subaru know that someone who once wielded the thunder wiped out the Titans entirely. Meanwhile, when Wika told her boss that it was a success, they celebrated this as if they had just won the jackpot. John teases Wika, telling her that she's finally becoming someone reliable. John then reveals that he met with Hawkeyes, and before he can even finish his statement, Wika ends the call on him because she is done with work for the day. She figures out that it is time to watch Subaru's stream, and this is when she hears Subaru casually let out his catchphrase. This catches Wika's attention immediately because this is something she hasn't heard in 20 years. Back on the mountain, Subaru is punching the rock really hard while the viewers believe that he's gone mad. Subaru reinforces his fists with thunder, and he delivers a powerful punch that shatters the rock, revealing what was hidden behind it. It turns out that there is a door behind the rock, and Subaru can sense an overwhelming energy of thunder calling out to his own thunder from behind the door. Because of how big the door is, the viewers believe that it was made by the Titans, and since there is no key, they are left asking how Subaru plans to open it. One even says he might just punch his way through it. Subaru touches the door, and it gives off a lightning reaction, which is the perfect hint that Subaru wants. Subaru immediately casts thunder, and he conjures a lightning ball in his hand because he can sense that the real trial is behind the door. Once the thunder strike is charged enough, Subaru unleashes it onto the door, and as it courses through the door, it gives off a massive sensation, causing the door to open by itself. The viewers are eager to see what is behind the door, and they start urging him to go inside. The moment he steps through the door, the system informs him that he has entered the pathway of thunder. The door shuts behind him, telling him that he cannot leave the area until he has cleared the stage. Meanwhile, Peleus and the others are holding out at the camp, and Dale asks Peleus if he truly believes that Subaru can get the shard. Peleus replies that he is sure of it, and Dale asks him why he trusts Subaru so much, even though he is an outsider. Peleus replies that Subaru has already demonstrated his skill, so there is no reason for him to doubt him. Suddenly one of the knights starts freaking out, telling the adults that there is no way out for them. The dude says even the shard won't save them because the Titans are pretty strong. He says he has witnessed what the Titans can do at the village, but Peleus tells him that this doesn't mean that they have to give up. Peleus suggests that they have a bit of faith in the hero who has done so much for them without asking anything in return. However, the young knight tells Peleus that this is so easy for him to say since he hasn't witnessed what the Titans can do. He is so scared down to his bones that he has bitten his fingers till blood is coming out of them. Suddenly, a scout rushes into the tent to tell them that the Titans are upon them, and this immediately sends shivers down their spines. Meanwhile, Subaru is still walking through the tunnels, wondering what he is supposed to do. Even the viewers are confused since they can't see anything so far, and one of them mentions that maybe thunder is just too fast to see. Subaru hears this and realizes that the dude is actually making a lot of sense, since thunder is nothing more than a dispersed electric charge in the air before it discharges. This is basically why someone cannot see it, which means the trial isn't something that can be seen with the naked eye. He remembers that the trial is called the Pathway of Thunder, and there is also an overwhelming energy of thunder calling him from deep inside. Subaru bends down to pick up a small rock to confirm his suspicion that there is invisible lightning dispersed in the air. He throws the rock, and he can see lightning action on it, which means that the deeper he goes in the cave, the stronger it reacts. Subaru realizes that it is basically a trial where he has no choice but to continue to go deeper, and he tells his viewers that it is a test of endurance. With the look of things, Subaru believes that he is going to die if he fails the trial. The viewers start to donate credits for him to cheer him on, telling him not to be scared. Subaru thanks them for the credits, and he continues pushing forward against the immense lightning force. Meanwhile, Shu is watching Subaru's stream when Reina enters the room and he panics. He quickly hides the device and Reina can sense that something is up. She asks him why he is hiding the device, assuming that he is watching adult videos. Shu argues that he is not hiding it, and Reina is just seeing things. Reina sits beside him to tease him, telling him that people who are secretly pervy grow hair faster, but Shu tells her to stop saying trash, while reminding her that it is not what she thinks. Reina then says she has stopped watching Subaru's stream since Shu told her to, and now she is bored out of her mind. Shu sympathizes with her and then asks her why she is there with him. Reina turns around to look at him, asking him what sort of dumb question he is asking. She wants to know if she can no longer chill on the sofa, and Shu nervously replies that this is not what he means. Just then, Subaru's voice comes from the device, talking about how he has no choice but to endure for as long as he can. Shu tries to cover this up by asking Reina in a loud voice why she is twisting his words. Reina holds her ear, demanding to know why Shu is suddenly raising his voice. Shu continues shouting loudly, telling Reina that she is free to sit on the couch for as long as she wants, and in the process, Shu has managed to mute the phone. Reina calls him a weirdo and finally gets up to leave. Shu sarcastically asks her where she is going, while telling her that she can stay a little longer to have some bread or even laze around if she wants. Reina ignores him and walks into her room, and Shu heaves a sigh of relief because he almost got caught. Without wasting time, Shu brings out his device, and he continues with the stream. He knows that Reina must not know that he is watching the stream because she is definitely going to yell at him for it. In fact, he can't imagine what would happen. Deep down, Shu knows that Subaru would never have forgotten about them if the case were reversed. Shu is surprised that the way the streamer Subaru speaks and even his personality resemble that of the original Subaru. Shu focuses fully on the stream, and when he hears Subaru thanking the viewers for the credits, he realizes that this is what makes him different from the original Subaru because the original is never eager to earn credits. Shu smiles while asking himself what exactly is going on. Reina's hand pats him on the shoulder, replying to this question that nothing much is going on. Shu freaks out the moment he hears this, and he turns around in fear. He is right to be scared because Reina looks absolutely menacing as she stares down on him, asking him if he seriously thinks she wouldn't notice. She lets him know that it is 100 years too early for him to hide things from her. Back in the tunnels, Subaru is still at 2% completion, and he can already feel the immense sensation on his body. His body is slowly getting burned, and he realizes that there is still a long way for him to go from there. Nonetheless, he is happy that the system lets him know where the finish line is. The viewers believe that Subaru should be rushing toward the finish line already, but little do they know what is at stake. As the mission gets more serious, Subaru tells them that he won't be able to read the chat from that moment forward. This is when it dawns on the viewers that the mission might be more serious than they think, since Subaru can't even spare the time to read chats. Even though the goal is his target, Subaru plans to go higher than that if he can. Subaru continues pushing forward with the lightning coursing through his body. Meanwhile, Hawkeyes is watching the stream, and he remembers what John told him about doing a collaboration with Subaru. Hawkeyes is surprised by this because John doesn't really involve himself in creating content, which basically means this is a great deal. During their meeting, John had told him that when it comes to making a stream blow up, the only thing he can do is half the work, and Hawkeyes lets him know that he is aware of this. He mentions that popularity depends on who gets boosted and what kind of players are around at the moment. John confirms this, saying Subaru's stream feels less like chatting with fans and more like a seasoned player's vlog. He says Subaru might be a rookie streamer, but he wants Hawkeyes to just do his regular spectator-style broadcast with him. John lets Hawkeyes know that this might actually be his chance. He urges Hawkeyes to ride the comet's momentum and become a star that rises with it. These words hit so deep into Hawkeye's skin, and while watching the stream, he admits to himself that he turned to streaming because he wasn't confident that he could climb the tower. In fact, he wanted to be a star more than anyone, and he looked into the sky, wondering if he could really become someone like the top dogs. Suddenly, he returns to his senses that he is in the middle of work, and he is not supposed to be slacking off. He returns to watch the stream, and to his surprise, the trial is already getting even more dangerous, but Subaru keeps pushing. His body is badly burned by lightning, but Subaru has no intentions of stopping whatsoever. He crosses his arms to get a proper brace to push through the overwhelming force. The stronger the thunder is, the deeper it can strike his body. He can even feel the lightning coursing through his body, starting with the Ren and Dumeridians. At this point, he is still at 20% completion, and he is informed that thunder is now taking root inside his body. Subaru aims to make it his by all means. Basically, the Ren and Dumeridians are the two main energy paths that run straight through the center of the body. The thin pulses are the tiny pathways that connect everything throughout a person's system. Penetrating these thin pulses now represents the energy reaching every last endpoint. To put it simply, at this point, internal energy had fully spread through every corner of his body. Subaru wonders if he is clearing out impurities by unclogging his thin pulses, and if this is the case, it basically means he is currently taking a shortcut. Suddenly, the system informs him that he is getting electrocuted, and even though this is something that he would have used mana for, he is using thunder to make it easier, but the pain is overwhelming. Subaru continues pushing through the lonely tunnel, leaving immense prints on the ground. To show how damaged his body is, he starts coughing up blood. However, he has no intention of stopping, and Uika immediately figures out that Subaru is using this opportunity to penetrate his thin pulses while moving at the same time. Uika is not a baby, and she knows that by using external force instead of his own mana to do this, he must be going through a crazy level of pain. In this type of situation, most people won't even be able to sit upright, and 80 to 90% of people would have passed out instantly. Apparently, the experience in trials doesn't cause real damage, but the pain is just like reality. This leaves Uika wondering why Subaru would go that far. While doing this, Subaru's mana is also increasing, and he has managed to reach a 50% completion rate. Guilt starts to take over his mind as he remembers his dead friends. He blames himself for what happened because he was always assuring his teammates that there is no trial that cannot be cleared. He hates himself for saying something so reckless because it was his arrogance that pushed his teammates so hard, causing their deaths. He remembers Itsuki's words, telling him that everything that is happening is because he got cocky. Riddled by this guilt, Subaru continues pushing himself through the thunder pathway while bleeding along the way. He even crashes to the ground at some point, but this doesn't stop him from continuing. His mind suddenly takes him back into the past where he sees his comrades having fun under a tree. Seeing all of them alive, Subaru raises his voice in joy, and he dashes toward them because he believes that everything that has happened so far is nothing but a bad dream. He rushes over to them, telling them that he just had a bad dream, and he tells them to ask him what the dream was all about. Suddenly, everything changes as one of them turns around to stare him in the eyes, asking him why he dragged them into their deaths. Their voices start to echo in his head as they tell him that they never wanted to die. They start criticizing him, telling him that he always talks so big, and the calm, serene memory suddenly erupts into total madness. Their voices overwhelm him as they keep screaming at him, saying they never wanted to be swallowed by the darkness. In the end, the voices vanish and he screams at his friends not to leave him, but no one could hear him anymore. He crashes to the ground in pain, crying out his heart before waking back in the tunnel. Subaru realizes that he just suffered a hallucination, which is something that happens during thin pulse penetration, and this almost sent him into psychosis. Subaru continues moving, and before he knows it, he has reached a 97% completion rate. Subaru is no longer as energetic as before, and he thanks whoever came up with the trial for reminding him why he is still alive. Itsuki's face flashes before him to show that his revenge course is the only way forward. On the outside, the Titans have descended on the villagers. They see a bald-headed Titan appear behind the wall, smiling down on them, and the knights freak out. The Titan is so scary that they believe that he is the boss, and one of the knights talks down on Subaru, saying he ran away when the fight came to meet them. However, Peleus defends Subaru, saying he is pretty sure that he is going to make a triumphant return. Peleus cannot believe that they are already putting all their burdens on an outsider, but they are still doubting him on top of it. The knights try to change their words, but Peleus scolds them, asking them if they have no shame whatsoever, even though they call themselves knights. Dale taps Peleus on the shoulder, telling him that he is absolutely right because it is their job to protect the village before pointing fingers. Dale grabs his sword to motivate the knights, telling them that it is their job to protect, not to ask for protection. Dale then leads the charge, while the others follow. Soon afterward, Subaru reaches a 99% completion rate, and just then, he sees a lightning sphere in front of him. He immediately figures out that this is the target, but to make it worse, his fatigue has reached 97%. However, Subaru is not about to give up when all he needs is just one more step. He continues pushing forward while the system yells at him that the fatigue levels have increased exponentially and further activity might be dangerous. Subaru ignores the warnings, and he continues moving. On the outside, Dale uses his speed to his advantage as he is able to cut the Titan's heel, causing him to scream out in pain. The Titan crashes to his knees and he throws a huge punch at his attackers, but Dale and the others dodge the attack. Peleus then makes the final charge, telling them to leave the rest to him. He lunges toward the Titan as he kneels down defenseless, and Peleus delivers powerful strikes to shatter the Titan's head, ultimately defeating him. The Titan crashes to the ground, and the knights start to celebrate because they have finally gotten it done. The knights stomp on the Titan's body, calling him a gross freak, while hailing Dale for leading the charge. Peleus smiles, saying that they can finally rest, since the most dangerous Titan is already dead. However, Dale clears the air, saying this isn't the Titan that he is talking about. The knights misheard him and believed that he said that they had defeated the target already, so they started celebrating Dale and Peleus's bravery. One of them is talking big until he suddenly gets smashed by a giant leg, and before they know it, a huge shadow covers them. They look up, and what they see sends horror into their bodies. The knights yell out in fear, admitting that the Titan they are looking at is on another level. Meanwhile, Subaru has finally gotten his hands on the lightning ball that he has been walking towards since he entered through the giant door. The moment he gets his hands on the shard, he promises to kill Itsuki and send him to hell. A huge wave of lightning is discharged, and before he knows it, an overwhelming energy courses through his body, shocking every atom in his body. The system informs him that the thin pulse penetration is complete, and his mana has been amplified by 20%. In addition, all skill activation speeds have received a 20% boost, while his stats have increased by 2. Subaru crashes to the ground thanks to the last shock that was delivered to his body out of surprise. As he hits the ground, the system tells him that he has cleared the 6th stage, Legend. John is also watching the stream, and he is surprised at just how reckless Subaru is. He concludes that Subaru is not fit to be a streamer, and just then, he gets a call from Hawkeyes. He picks up and mentions that he was watching Subaru's stream, and Hawkeyes is glad to hear this because this means that he saw what happened. John doesn't truly understand what he is talking about, and he suggests that he explain in a way that he can understand. Hawkeyes lets John know that Subaru is going to be a star, and he means it in both ways, which means that as a player and a streamer, he is going to be big. John is surprised to hear this because he believed that streaming would be challenging for Subaru since he looks more like a player than a streamer. Hawkeyes mentions that this is the point of it all. He says the core concept the viewers seek in this broadcast is a Narukami Subaru that closely resembles the real one. Basically, the real Narukami Subaru was a player, not a streamer. To put it simply, they can broadcast the birth of Narukami Subaru, the player, in real time. Sometime later, Subaru gets back on his feet, and the viewers are surprised that he got up a little faster this time around. Subaru's head is totally fuzzy, and he checks out his fatigue level to see that it is pretty high, as it sits at 81 points. Nonetheless, he is glad that it went down a bit in response to his stats going up. He basically didn't expect the last lightning strike, but he can still consider the whole thing a win. Since he has completed the mission, those who promised him credits start donating to him. In the end, Subaru has racked up 20,000 credits. However, this is not even enough to upgrade the Wedge of Greed, which needs 40,000 credits. He wonders if defeating the Titan boss will help him acquire the right skill set. Basically, defeating the Titan boss depends on the Thunder Spear skill that he just acquired. This is a skill that cannot be sold or bought, and it is a legendary ranked weapon. It is an ancient spear forged from thunder itself, and it unleashes a single mighty strike, but has just one use. Since the item is spherical in shape, the viewers are confused about how it is going to turn into a spear. Subaru is surprised that such a legendary item showed up on such a low level, since it is something that normally appears on the 8th floor. Subaru stashes it in his inventory, and he tells his viewers that, depending on the conditions, a high-ranking item can change shape. The viewers are surprised to hear this, and they ask him how he knows this. Subaru doesn't answer this, and continues his way back out so that he can take down the Titan boss. At the village, the knights are still frozen in fear from the sheer size of the Titan King, Grog. and how menacing he looks. Suddenly, the young knight from the tent rushes over to the Titan King and Peleus yells at him, asking him what he is doing. He turns around, telling Peleus and the others that he warned them. The dude then crashes in front of Grog, begging him to spare him because he is different from the foolish humans who didn't believe he existed. He even addresses Grog as a god, and the moment Grog hears this, he loses it because he can't believe that the dude is lumping him with the despicable gods. Dale suddenly appears beside the dude, asking him what exactly he thinks he is doing. Dale screams at Peleus to take the villagers to safety because he knows that there is no escape for him and the young knight. He hasn't even finished saying this when Grog crushes Dale and the scared knight to death. It dawns on Peleus that they can't win in a situation like this because their exit has been blocked by regular titans. Even the villagers are rushing back to the middle, since there is no way forward for them again, and Peleus comes up with a plan right on the spot. He screams out, telling Grog that he knows who killed his son. Grog demands to know who it is, and Peleus whips out his blade, pointing to his right. He mentions that the person who killed his son went in that direction, and he is accumulating power to kill him. Deep down, Peleus is begging that Grog take the bait and go where he is pointing. However, Grog refuses to take the bait, and he immediately figures out that Peleus is lying. Grog's expression changes immediately, and he asks Peleus if he only pointed to a random direction, while telling him that he is going to kill him if he doesn't answer the question quickly. Suddenly, a bright ball of lightning appears on the left at the top of a mountain. The lightning ball is so big and overwhelming that even Peleus is left in complete shock. With Subaru's appearance in the distance, he has finally activated the 7th stage, which is lightning. The viewers spot Grog in the distance, and they are left in shock because it appears that he has gotten bigger again, which shows that he is still in his growing stage. Subaru agrees with them because Grog is so enormous that Subaru concludes that if someone stronger than him shows up, then it cannot be counted as a Floor 2 trial anymore. The viewers start suggesting that he run away because running might even be the whole point of the trial. Subaru then tells his viewers not to worry because he only has to hit Grog once. He reaches into his inventory, and he grabs Thunderspear because he knows that at the moment Grog is no match for him. Subaru figures out that the plan is to take Grog out even before he attacks. Subaru then activates Thunderspear and it shoots a strand of lightning into the sky as it starts to charge. However, the moment he starts charging the skill, his fatigue begins to climb too. Nonetheless, he continues charging it, and in no time it reaches a 33% charge rate, and the Wedge of Greed tries to help him resist the effects of Thunderspear, but the Wedge of Greed fails, since it is currently no match for the overwhelming power of Thunderspear. Subaru is not surprised because he already suspected that the skill is way too low to contend with a legendary item. In no time, the charge rate reaches 50%, and Subaru figures out that he just has to endure the effects with his already exhausted body. The viewers can see how he is struggling, and they talk about how he has been suffering since he acquired Thunder. Moments later, Grog turns his attention towards Subaru, and Subaru is surprised that he finally notices him. The viewers let him know that there is no way anyone wouldn't notice him with the amount of energy he is pulling. Subaru agrees with them, saying there is no way he won't actually notice him. At this point, the Thunderspear has charged up to 70%, and Grog is already coming toward him. Peleus tries to distract Grog, but he is already fixated on the one who killed his son. In no time, Grog picks up the pace, and he starts dashing towards Subaru's position with the intention of causing him so much pain just as he did to his son. Grog closes the distance in no time, but the spear is still at 88% charge rate, and as Grog climbs the rock toward him, Subaru realizes that there is only a 50-50% chance. The viewers are freaking out that he might not be able to land the hit because Grog is pretty fast. However, Subaru doesn't even move from where he is as he keeps his eyes fixated on Grog. During one of his training sessions in the past, one of his former teammates, Sako, had told him never to take his eyes off the target. In fact, Sako lets him know that he is not allowed to even look away for a second. Sako tells him that he must forget about trying to make a clean throw or an arc throw. Sako had told him that he didn't even need predictions because he is not like the regular spearmen. Grog has closed down the distance already, and the charge rate is still at 95%, leaving Subaru wondering what he is supposed to do in situations like this. He remembers Sako telling him not to throw the spear but to blast it, since he is obviously not throwing a normal spear. The viewers are already panicking and they yell at Subaru to throw the spear because he is going to die if he doesn't. However, Subaru refuses to throw the spear and he leaves Grog to continue charging at him. Grog finally climbs the rock and he dashes towards Subaru at a crazy speed. As he reaches a jumping distance, he lunges towards Subaru and Subaru takes aim, ready to throw the spear at any time. Fortunately, the charge rate reaches 100%, but Subaru still doesn't rush in throwing the spear because he knows that he only has one chance. He lets Grog dive toward, and once he realizes that he is in a position that he can't dodge his attack, Subaru throws the spear at him. The spear travels at a blinding speed, carrying overwhelming energy along with it as it pierces Grog's forehead. Grog is thrown off the rock with the immense force of the attack, and he is sent down the ledge. He hits the ground, resulting in a large explosion. The lightning starts eating him up, and Grog realizes that he is already dying. He could only call his son's name one last time as he was torn into shreds. The viewers are blown away when they see this, and they start hyping Subaru, talking about how overpowered he is. The system informs him that he has killed Grog, and by this, he has cleared the 7th stage. As usual, he levels up, and his stats also go up, while he is awarded 5,000 achievement points. Just then, he is informed that he has obtained the Thunder's heart, and a heart-shaped thunder appears on his hand. Subaru is confused because this is the first time he has seen something like this. The bright light from the heart-shaped lightning flashes into his eyes, and Subaru suddenly finds himself in a strange space. He looks around to see giant figures staring down on him, and before he knows it, he is knocked to his knees by an invisible, overwhelming force. He can't even speak, let alone move his body. The system informs him that several strange entities are staring at him, but their names are restricted, and Subaru wonders if these entities are trying to tell him something. The heart-shaped lightning shines bright again, and Subaru returns to reality. The system tells him he can investigate the village for clues using Thunder's heart. The viewers notice that he is not moving, and they start asking him what is wrong. Subaru is overwhelmed by what just happened because he initially believed that it was a cutscene, but with the look of things, it seems real. Subaru then apologizes to his viewers, telling them that he only blacked out for a second. Some of the viewers tease him, asking him how many times he plans to pass out during the trial, but some do not blame him since it is a legendary trial. Subaru then clicks on the claim section to claim his credits, and by the time he is done, he has racked up to 40,000 credits. The viewers urge him to show them the Thunder Heart, but he lets them know that he is exhausted, so he might show them another time. Subaru then ends the livestream at that moment, and later on he meets with Uika, who commends him for his good work. Subaru is surprised that he is getting praised, and he asks if the stream was okay, the way he went off. Uika lets him know that it is perfectly fine because he actually peaked over 3,000 viewers, and he must not have noticed this. Subaru is surprised to hear this because he was so focused on the trial that he didn't even check the viewership. Just then, Subaru detaches the lower part of his mask to take his drink. And Uika is surprised, since this is the first time she's seen him do that. Uika lets him know that it is an incredible feat for a rookie to peak at 3,000 viewers. In addition, the timing of his stream ending was perfect, and it was his fatigue that worked in his favor. Subaru asks Uika if this is the moment people care about, like a situation where they want to see the next episode drama. Uika is surprised, and he asks Subaru if he did it on purpose. Subaru mentions that he planned to check the rewards with the viewers next stream, and this way his reaction is genuine, not fake. Uika is blown away by this because she didn't expect Subaru to figure out streaming that easily. She realizes that John was just worried for nothing, and Uika tells Subaru that she has a present for him. Subaru asks her what it is about, and she assures him that it is something he won't be able to resist. Uika then tells him to look up a Hawkeyes, and Subaru immediately whips out his phone to do this. Hawkeyes is talking about him when he tuned into his stream, and it appears that Hawkeyes has something to explain to his viewers. Hawkeyes mentions that during the pain endurance trial, Subaru was also taking on another challenge. Basically, Subaru was facing the main trial while putting himself through another trial. Hawkeyes decides to sum it up in one sentence, and he mentions that the streamer Subaru might be Narukami Subaru himself. Subaru is surprised when he hears this, and he wonders if Uika thinks the same thing. Uika then asks Subaru if she can ask him something weird, and he tells her to go ahead. Uika says what she is about to ask is rude, but she is going to ask anyway. Uika asks Subaru why he streams, as she wants to know if it is for money. Subaru takes a minute before answering, and he replies that it is for money. Subaru says there is no other reason why he does it, and Uika almost turns into a tomato thanks to how red she is. Uika apologizes for asking something so weird, saying money is pretty important, and Subaru lets her know that he is not taking any offense. Uika mentions that Hawkeyes is part of Azure Sky, and he has been contracted for 6 years, so he is pretty reliable for his commentary-style content with a loyal fanbase. Uika then mentions something important, and this is the fact that all of Hawkeye's stream revenue will be split with Subaru. Basically, Hawkeye's current content is based on Subaru, which includes ads, donations, archives, and everything. Subaru is surprised to hear this, and he mentions that since he joined the agency, he has been hearing nothing but good news. Uika blushes just as she always does, and she asks Subaru if this is how he really feels. Subaru says yes, while mentioning that what she just told him is basically a surprise bonus. Ueka then asks him if he would like to do a collaboration with Hawkeyes as a small gesture. When Subaru returned to his room, he started wondering if he didn't need to wear the mask when he met Ueka. In addition, he believes that he shouldn't have pushed the "I'm only here for money" line. He takes off his mask and he stands in front of the door thinking about the whole thing. He figures out that the more new connections he makes, the less he knows what he is supposed to hide. Nonetheless, he now has 40,000 credits, so he can upgrade the Wedge of Greed skill. Without hesitation, he upgrades the skill to C rank, but for his next upgrade, he will need 80,000 credits, and he currently has just 120 points. Seeing this, Subaru concludes that he actually needs money. However, he is convinced that he is going to make some money from the collaboration stream that will happen in a couple of days. He reaches into the inventory and brings out the ice flower that Shu left at the memorial stand to stare at it. Meanwhile, Ueka is in her room fantasizing about Subaru. She is basically twisting everything Subaru to fit into her own delusional thinking. After satisfying herself with enough delusion, she concludes that Narukami is a man with a secret nobody knows. Meanwhile, on the 7th floor, Amon of the Blue Zone Guild is training while also training, and he hears Hawkeyes conclude that Subaru might be the original. This pisses Amon off, but this also gets him curious about who Hawkeyes is. His assistant informs him that he is a streamer called Hawkeyes, and he averages 8,000 viewers. Amon replies that he once tried his hand at streaming too. His assistant then tells him to forget about Hawkeyes and focus on Narukami Subaru, whom Hawkeyes mentioned in his stream. Amon believes that Subaru is just a fake who managed to learn Thunder. He then watches a clip of Subaru using Thunder, and he has no choice but to admit that it is impressive. Amon mentions that Sako, one of Subaru's former teammates, once mentioned that keeping one's eyes on the target is everything in spear throwing. Amon's assistant is surprised that Amon remembers lines like this, and Amon mentions that he tried his best to copy everything that revolves around Blue Eyes Guild since it was filled with players who stood at the very top. In addition, he believes that everyone intentionally avoids the fact that every single member of Blue Eyes was at the pinnacle, not just Narukami Subaru. Amon mentions that the way they even died didn't make sense. Amon is pissed that Hawkeyes just kept mentioning Subaru's name like they are buddies or something. His attendants let him know that this is the problem streamers have. As long as it makes good content, streamers will basically toss their pride and conviction right out the window. Amon angrily turns off the screen, asking his assistant why he would show him something as annoying as that. The dude then replies that it wasn't his intention but Itsuki's decision. Amon is surprised to hear this, and the dude mentions that lightning was Blue Eyes' symbol, and the same Blue Eyes as Blue Zone's predecessor. The assistant says that they have received intel that Subaru is obsessed with money. A background character wheels in a cart, and the assistant takes off the cloth covering the cart to reveal what is stored there. Amon is completely blown when he sees what was just brought in. The entire consists of a stack of gold, and the assistant mentions that Itsuki has ordered that they bring Subaru in no matter what. Amon can't believe his eyes, and he concludes that Itsuki is a moneymonger. Later on, Subaru continues the trial, and he shows up when Peleus and the knights are putting everything in order. The moment Peleus sees him, his face lights up in joy, and he rushes over to ask him how he is feeling because he collapsed right in front of the village, so they were all worried. Subaru lets him know that he is still a bit dizzy, and Peleus understands this, since it's just been a day. Subaru then suggests they talk at the inn later because there are things he would like to ask him. Peleus assures him that he is up to answering whatever question he has. Peleus then rushes off, telling Subaru that he is going to see him later. Subaru admits that Peleus is such an honest person, and his viewers tease him, telling him to get a bromance going. Subaru then heads to his room so that they can check the reward together. He whips out the Thunder's heart, and the system lets him know that it can never be traded or sold. As for its rank, it's classified as a unique item. Its other stats also look insane, and it even has fire resistance. Subaru reads everything, and his expression causes him to say, "No way." The viewers ask him what this means, as they don't know if he is impressed or disappointed with the expression he just gave off. Deep down, Subaru realizes that the Thunder Heart has perfect stats for Thunder users, which is insane. He smiles under his mask, and he makes a fist bump because he has just stumbled on gold. Just then, he hears a knock on the door, and he tells the person to come in. Peleus enters the room bearing fruits, while asking Subaru if he slept well. The viewers see this and start teasing him, saying his lover has come to visit him and even brought a fruit basket. Subaru and Peleus then sit to talk, and Subaru lets him know that the legend was true. Peleus agrees with him, saying he was also blown away when he saw the light. Subaru then whips out the Thunder's heart, and Peleus's face is covered in shock. Subaru asks him if he knows what it is, but Peleus lies that he doesn't. However, his expression basically contradicts what he is saying. Peleus finally comes clean, revealing that he's only ever heard of it in legends, In fact, he doesn't know if it is real or even if it happened at all. Subaru then tells him to tell him anything he knows, and Peleus says he only knows two legends. The first is that thunder was used to wipe out the Titans, just like Subaru took down Grog with thunder. And the second is the legend about the gods and Titans fighting over thunder. Subaru is surprised to hear this, and Peleus says it is basically a legend among legends. Apparently the gods and Titans waged war over thunder, and the Titans lost. This basically means the thunder's heart was most likely crafted by someone. But Subaru can't wrap his head around who would make something like this. However, this part doesn't appear in the legends, but the purpose is for humans to be able to wield thunder. The reason humans needed thunder is because of the gods and Titans, since they are beings so powerful that humans cannot compare to them. Thunder's heart was made so that humans could fight and defeat these powerful beings, and after Peleus mentions this, the system informs Subaru that he has viewed all chapters of The Forgotten Human. With this, he has also cleared Thunder Trial, and he is informed that he has earned 17,000 achievement points in total. His Thunder also receives a level up, and just then he is transferred to the 3rd floor, while Peleus is left screaming after him. Moments later, Subaru arrives at the 3rd floor, Ortonarl, and the moment he shows up on the transfer stand, other players are already talking shit about him because of the Subaru mask he is wearing. One of the viewers donates to him asking him how he feels now that he has arrived on the 3rd floor. This question eats deep into him, and he remembers the first time he arrived on the 3rd floor in his past life. This was when he met Reina, who approached him, telling him that she had gotten separated from her party. She tries to describe who she is looking for, and Subaru points her in the direction she is supposed to go. Reina rushes off with excitement, revealing that she was always a happy girl. However, she couldn't even get the direction that Subaru pointed her to, and Subaru is forced to lead the way since he is also heading in this direction. Subaru showed her the way that day, and it was the day they got to know each other. This leaves Subaru wondering if Reina and the others would still be alive if he had only shown her the way and nothing more that day. After thinking about this beautiful but sad memory, Subaru answers the question he was asked. He replies that he feels as if he has lost something important, and this leaves his viewers asking themselves what he meant by this. Subaru then tells his viewers that for his next stream, he will be doing a collaboration with Hawkeyes, and after passing along the information, he ends the stream. Later on, Subaru meets with John in the cafe, and he lets him know that Wika is going to join them very soon. He explains that moving between floors takes time, unlike when a player just clears a trial and they are automatically transferred. John introduces himself, and Subaru is surprised that he is the nagging boss that Wika talked about. John asks him what he means by this, but Subaru quickly changes the topic, telling John that Wika has told him a lot about him. John also mentions that this is something he would have passed on to Wika, but he wanted to meet Subaru in person, which is why he showed up himself. John mentions that Wika has only ever praised 2 players so much, which is why he got curious. John reveals that the first player Wika loves so much is Blue Eyes' Narukami Subaru. Subaru is shocked to hear this, and John lets him know that he is also shocked. John didn't expect that the harsh Wika would take interest in someone with the same name as Narukami Subaru. John then asks Subaru if he is interested in the Blue Eyes Guild. This question stuns Subaru, and John immediately figures out that he is not different from those who love Blue Eyes. Subaru then asks him why he is bringing this up, and John mentions that this is actually one of the reasons he wanted to meet him. John brings out his device to show him some important information on it. John explains that what he is currently showing him is the championship prize for the tournament happening on the 3rd floor, which will be held 5 days from that day. Subaru is completely enraged when he sees what is being offered as the prize. At Reina and Shu's hideout, Shu catches some intruders who were able to find their hideout. He freezes them up with his power, and he is left with the decision of whether to kill them or not. Reina tells him to just kill them already because they know who definitely sent them. However, Shu is hesitant because they are not sure. He says if they really came under Itsuki's orders, he wouldn't have sent small fries after them. However, he is also conflicted on letting them go because they might lead people back to their hideout. Since Shu is holding off on doing what he is supposed to do, Reina decides to do it for him. She unleashes hundreds of blades and hurls them at the frozen dudes, killing all of them on the spot. Shu tries to stop her, but Reina ruthlessly kills them, leaving them in pieces. Shu yells at her, asking her what she thinks she is doing, and Reina replies that it doesn't really matter if they were sent by Itsuki or not, because if they let them walk out alive, everyone will know that they are still alive. Reina scolds Shu, telling him that he has to harden his heart, or his wishy-washy method is going to get them killed. Shu apologizes and then brings out his phone to show Reina something important. Just like Subaru, Reina is overtaken with rage when she sees what Shu is showing her. It turns out that the prize for the tournament Blue Zone is holding is Toshiya's shoes belonging to one of their former teammates. Shu tells Reina that it is basically bait to lure them out because Itsuki must have realized that they are alive somewhere. However, this doesn't mean that they are going to ignore it because they need to take back what belongs to them. Basically, he is telling her that she needs to get it, since it is her area of expertise. Reina tells him that he doesn't even have to say it, because even if he doesn't, she is going to go get it. Xiu grabs her, urging her not to charge in blindly. He suggests that they steal it the moment that they announce the winner, which is the safest way. Back in the cafe, John asks Subaru if he is interested in the shoes, and he wastes no time before saying yes. John is happy to hear this, since he didn't even expect Subaru to immediately accept. John mentions that the whole project depends on his willingness. Subaru asks him what project he is talking about, and John mentions that they have figured out a storyline about hunting Blue Eye's relics, because this would blow up. Subaru is completely overwhelmed by rage as he can't believe that they are using Toshiya's relic as a circus prop. John notices that he is not saying anything, and he asks him if there is anything wrong with him. Subaru simply replies that he is going to do what they want, and John expresses his happiness again. However, Subaru gets up to leave the moment he expresses his interest in the relic. As he leaves, Subaru's inner self is burning with rage as he plans to collect the shoe and make sure no one else gets it. In fact, he is willing to die if that is what it takes to get back Toshiya's shoes. While lying in his bed, Subaru is left wondering what sort of events will be featured in the tournament, and he hopes that these events are individual events. Nonetheless, he is not about to get picky at all. He is in the middle of this thought process when he hears a knock on the door, and it turns out to be Uika. Subaru thinks of wearing his mask or not, but in the end, he still chooses to wear the mask. He opens the door, and Uika is surprised to see him still in a mask, and she concludes that he wears the mask even when he is in his room. Subaru invites her into the room, and Uika almost loses her mind. Subaru then tells her that it is fine by him if she wants them to stay outside to talk, but Uika quickly enters. After settling in, Uika looks around and realizes that it is just a plain room, and at the same time, Subaru has been monitoring Uika. He is not surprised when he realizes that she has an overwhelming amount of mana, and he wants to believe that there is no way someone like her is a regular manager. Uika notices that he is staring at her, and she teases him, asking if she has something on her face. Subaru replies that he is staring since Uika is also not saying anything about the tournament information she said she would give him. Uika apologizes and then brings out a paper containing everything he needs to know. It is a simple format where the player fights for a single prize. It is basically a solo match, since there is only one prize. Uika adds that it is a simulated stage and the player must be a Floor 3 player to participate. In addition, the entry fee is 3,000 credits, but there is no player cap. Uika promises to send the past data from other battle royales to his device, so he can get the idea of the whole thing. When Subaru checks the data, he is surprised to see that everything is all about him. Subaru then thanks Uika for her stress, assuring her that everything is going to be helpful. Uika replies that she is only doing her job, and she asks him if John told him something. Subaru asks her what she means by this, and she replies that they got a message from Blue Zone. The moment Subaru hears this, anger takes over him again, since he knows that the message is definitely from Itsuki. Apparently, they wanted to meet Subaru in person, but since they have no way to contact him personally, they emailed Azure Sky instead. Uika says they might be planning a meeting to negotiate. She mentions that they are going to offer higher compensation than the company and even better benefits. Uika is still explaining this when Subaru cuts in, telling her to ignore them. Uika is surprised to hear this, and Subaru reiterates the fact that he is ignoring them. In fact, he lets Uika know that he has no intention of affiliating with any other guild. Uika hears this and jumps up in celebration without any shame in the world. She mentions how relieved she is because she was contemplating whether to tell Subaru or not. Uika leaves with a smile on her face, telling Subaru to take his time until the collaboration starts. Subaru is surprised to see her celebrating as if it were her win. He is impressed with the fact that she is invested in her job, but he is pretty sure that she is not just an ordinary person. Later on, John and Hawkeyes are seen meeting at the site planned for the streaming collaboration. Apparently, the project for the day will be a comparison test between the original Subaru and the new Subaru. John commends Hawkeyes for bringing in such an idea, but he lets him know that he is also going to take a huge blow if he ends up losing. Hawkeyes assures him that he is ready for this, since results are results, and he is going to accept whatever happens. However, he doesn't think he has ever lost a battle, and John urges him to stop being cocky because everything still depends on Narukami Subaru. Moments later, Uika and Subaru arrive at the scene, and Hawkeye stares intently at Subaru because he is his chance to become a star shining in the sky. Subaru is also impressed by the stage and how big it is, leaving him to wonder if they rent the whole place. Hawkeyes offers a handshake while introducing himself, and Subaru does the same. Hawkeyes talks about how blown away he is, but Subaru urges him to chill out because he is just a newbie streamer and he is nothing compared to Hawkeyes. John urges Hawkeyes to save the bonding for when they are on live, reminding the two to get friendly like that on the stream. Without wasting further minutes, Hawkeyes starts the live stream, and in under a minute, the viewership jumps to over 12,000. Hawkeyes himself is blown away because he never expected this amount of pull, even though the announcement blew up. Hawkeyes greets his viewers before letting them know that he brought Subaru with him. He shows Subaru's face to everyone, and the comments start rolling in. One of the viewers asks Hawkeyes if he's seen Subaru's face, but he lets them know that he hasn't. He adds that even Uika, his manager, hasn't seen his face. Hawkeyes teases Subaru, asking him if he is hiding something, but Subaru replies that it is nothing like that, while assuring them that he is also a good-looking dude. Viewers start donating credits just to see Subaru's face, leaving Hawkeyes totally blown because his streams are never this hyped, which basically confirms the fact that Subaru is a walking bomb. Subaru teases the viewers, telling them that he is never going to lose when it comes to looks, and Hawkeyes is impressed with the fact that he knows how to vibe with the crowd. Subaru reveals that he has no friends and no girlfriend too. Uika hears this and turns red, and John can't believe just how shameless she is. Hawkeyes then suggests that they stop teasing Subaru so that they can move to the main topic of the day. Hawkeyes starts the trial, and he decides to explain the reason why he picked this particular trial. Hawkeyes says this is a trial that is perfect for measuring control, and secondly, he gets to prove his claim that Subaru is goated. On the trial leaderboard, it turns out that the original Subaru is the one topping the chart. A viewer donates credits to ask Subaru if he thinks he can beat the trial, and Subaru replies that he wouldn't have accepted if he didn't think he could. Just then, the trial bots descend on him. As they surround him, the viewers are conflicted on whether Subaru has what it takes to be able to clear the trial. A viewer then offers 10,000 credits for Subaru to get 43 or more kills in one run, and if he fails to do so, he is going to show his face to the camera. Subaru quickly raises his hand to reject the mission because he knows it is way too early for him to risk taking off his mask. However, several viewers start pouring in credits just to follow up on the same request. Subaru finally agrees, promising the viewers that he is going to show his face if he fails. Suddenly, one of the viewers mentions that only Subaru is eating the penalty, but he is still going to split the mission reward. Hawkeyes agrees that this is a fair point, and he decides that for the mission, all credits will go to Subaru. Once they are all in agreement, Hawkeyes starts the timer, which is 3 minutes. The bots start charging at him, and Subaru activates Thunder as he dashes toward them head-on. He grabs the first bot and smashes its head into the ground, one-shotting it. The viewers are blown away when they see Subaru one-shot a bot without his sword. Even Hawkeyes is hyped because he never thought he would see Thunder live in action. To take things seriously, Subaru unleashes his demon blade and he cuts down 4 bots at the same time. Before they know it, 20 seconds have gone by already, but the viewers are still impressed with how fast Subaru is. With the way he is moving, one of them believes that he can even get 70 kills. However, another viewer lets them know that it is only going to get harder from there on. In no time, the bots start to swarm him, and Subaru decides to use one of them as a springboard to lunge himself into the air. This leaves the viewers raving again, since aerial combat was the specialty of the OG Subaru. After gaining enough momentum in the air, Subaru dives down, hitting the ground with his sword and unleashing a massive wave of force that wipes out a bunch of bots. With 1 minute and 26 seconds to go, Subaru is still on 26 kills, but he is not slowing down. Even John and the other two, who are watching it live, are left in awe. One of the viewers believes that at the pace that Subaru is going, he might actually take second on the leaderboard. However, others believe that he is going to make it, and they start teasing those who gave him the mission to start preparing their credits. Even Hawkeyes is fully concentrated on the trial as he watches Subaru's every move. With 13 seconds to go, Subaru is on 41 kills, and Subaru slows down at the last second. Once the timer is about to run down, Subaru makes a last push for his last kill, killing 43 bots, thus tying with the original Subaru. The record is updated, and the two Subarus follow each other on the record list. At this point, there are over 38,000 viewers on the stream, and they are all blown away by what they just witnessed. Hawkeyes rushes over to Subaru, screaming out of his lungs, talking about the 43 kills and how he tied with the original Subaru. The viewers start giving their opinion, and one mentions that he believes that Subaru struggled to get second place while others praise him. Viewers also donate to Hawkeyes to get hyped on the stream. Hawkeyes then reminds the viewers who are asking that it is not Subaru's stream. Suddenly, a viewer, Reinhardt, gives Subaru 10,000 credits, and Hawkeyes is stunned when he sees the name. Even the viewers start to freak out, asking if it is the real Reinhardt. They want to believe that it is a fake because they don't see why the 1/swordsman is watching the stream. Hawkeyes thanks Reinhardt, mentioning his disbelief that a high ranker is watching the stream. Even Subaru is surprised when he hears this. Reinhardt then donates another 1,000 credits, revealing that he always watches Hawkeye's stream, and Subaru's run inspired him. Hawkeyes is blown away, and he lets Reinhardt know that he is highly honored to hear this. Meanwhile, Subaru is left wondering why Reinhardt is watching the stream. He keeps asking himself if Reinhardt has found out about what he did to Isaac. Reinhardt then donates another 1,000 credits to ask Subaru if he is going to do a collaboration with him. The viewers are blown away when they see this, since they know what it means. Even Uika and John are already jumping for joy, but Subaru shocks everyone, revealing that he is going to decline because he has to focus on trials in the meantime. The trio on the scene almost dies from shock, and even the viewers start spamming the chat with question marks, as they cannot believe what just happened. Subaru then takes a bow, saying he has to leave because he used up too much energy. Hawkeyes tries to call him back, but he refuses, and he just continues walking. John is forced to ask Subaru why he turned Reinhardt down because he is basically a chance to boost his streaming career. Subaru asks John if the whole thing is really a big deal, and John lets him know that doing a collaboration with rankers, especially a high ranker, rarely happens. Subaru then tells John that if being a ranker matters that much, he is just going to become one himself. After ending the stream, Hawkeyes walks up to Subaru to commend him for the amazing performance, while promising to send his own share of the stream once it comes in. However, Hawkeyes lets him know that there is something he is curious about. Hawkeyes mentions that he noticed that Subaru felt different when he was fighting earlier. It was as if he wasn't in top condition, and Hawkeyes asks him if he is hurt. Subaru is surprised that Hawkeyes noticed this because he actually did his best to hide it well, but this shows why the dude is called Hawkeyes. Subaru replies that whether he won or lost, he would have been screwed either way. Hawkeyes asks him to explain, and Subaru mentions that the highlight of the stream is to see whether he can surpass the original Subaru, which is where growth lies. Subaru says if he had won, he definitely would have gotten a temporary boost, but the hype around the rivalry would eventually take a nosedive. If he had lost, people would just say that he is no match for the real Narukami Subaru. This basically meant that in the test, he needed a result where both characters are on equal grounds, which is why he picked the draw, since it was the only optimal outcome. Hawkeyes then mentions that this means Subaru could have overtaken the original if he wanted, but Subaru doesn't give a definite answer to this, saying it is over and they can't change the results again. He makes sure to aura farm as he walks away, letting them know that it all depends on how people interpret it. Meanwhile, Reinhardt is going crazy in his office after his proposal was turned down. He smashes his table while calling Subaru an insolent brat. His assistant rushes into the office to check if everything is fine, and Reinhardt tells the dude that he is pissed because of Subaru. He lets his secretary know that Subaru actually turned down his offer. It turns out that Reinhardt was planning to crush Subaru in front of everyone and shut down the annoying rumors that are already circulating, but his efforts have already gone down the drain. Reinhardt says he doesn't care about the credits that he wasted, but the fact that a rookie dared to scratch his pride is what pisses him off. The assistant then picked up the device that he had smashed to the ground and handed it over to him. Reinhardt asks the dude if there is any progress on the matter. He asked him. The dude replies that they are still searching, but haven't found anything about Isaac. The dude then continues yapping, talking about how it is not a big deal for Isaac to have disappeared for a few days, since he is not a kid. He hasn't finished saying this when Reinhardt grabs him hard by the neck using his power. He starts choking him out, asking the dude if he is also trying to mock him. With his life flashing before his eyes, the dude apologizes, and Reinhardt slams him into the wall. Reinhardt asks him when he started nitpicking his orders. The dude quickly goes on his knees, begging for forgiveness, while assuring Reinhardt that he is going to resume the search immediately. Later on, Uika is having a good day until she receives a call from her boss. Just from the way she speaks, John can see that she is frustrated, and he yells at her, asking her if his call is that unbearable to her. John tells Uika to at least talk to him the way she talks to Subaru, but this only makes it worse. Before John continues yapping, Uika cuts him off, asking him if what he called about is the Reinhardt proposal. John says yes, revealing that they cannot afford to blow such a big opportunity. Uika replies that their hands are tied, but John reminds her that Subaru is a streamer, and since it is a huge chance for him also, he urges Uika to convince him as his manager. Uika explains to John that Subaru cares more about climbing the tower than doing collabs, and this is basically the right mindset for a player. John scolds her, saying she only has energy when she wants to argue with him, but before he can say anything else, Uika hangs up. Deep down, Uika knows that it is a big opportunity for Subaru, and she decides that she might just give it a try. Uika knocks on Subaru's door, and Subaru opens it, but he still wears his mask. Uika is forced to ask him if he always wears his mask, and Subaru replies that, in the meantime, he has to. Subaru goes hard at her, asking her if she is also curious about his real face. Uika stutters when she hears this, but it is pretty obvious that she is interested. She starts yapping about how Subaru will one day show his real face, and Subaru asks her why everyone is obsessed with Narukami Subaru. Uika replies that she can already think of a couple of reasons, like how he is a low-level Earthborn with bad stats. In addition, Subaru is just cool, just from existing alone. The most important part of all is that Subaru was their hope. Subaru asks her what she means by this, and Wika mentions that there is something that Subaru doesn't know. She mentions that when she first came to the tower, there was literally nothing. There were monsters everywhere and nothing to eat, no means to make money, and stability was a fantasy. There was only one way to survive, and this was to keep climbing because if a player climbs, they earn credits, and with credits, they can settle down. Little by little, people started believing the world could actually become theirs. The greatest players back then left the regular players like her with hope. And this is the hope that the tower can be conquered. It was a hope that the tower was a world where they could win, and the player who stood above them all was Narukami Subaru. Wika mentions that Subaru's achievements weren't just about clearing floors, but he was the first person to prove that it was possible. After hearing this, Subaru asks Wika if this is what she also thinks. Wika replies that this is her secret, just like what is behind his mask, and she might tell him one day. Subaru then apologizes for bombarding her with questions because he knows she must have come there for something. He suggests that they talk inside, but Uika nervously replies that it is not a big deal, while telling Subaru that she is just going to head out. Subaru watches as she walks away, and to Uika, she no longer sees any reason to persuade Subaru after blabbing like that in front of him. She also wonders why he is always trying to invite her in. Sometime later, Subaru restarts his stream as he prepares to go on another mission. From the get-go, 2,000 viewers have already joined the stream, and donations are also pouring in. Subaru realizes that the collaboration was a big help in achieving this. Subaru realizes that he just has to give people what they want, and they are going to pay him for it. Subaru then starts the third floor trial, and he is asked to pick his faction. There are two factions, and it is the Ottoman Kingdom and the Conrad Kingdom. Most viewers are rooting for the Ottoman Kingdom because it is the most popular among players. Apparently, this floor's trial solely depends on the player's faction. There are two factions that despise each other, so the quests change depending on which one the player joins. Surprisingly, Subaru picks the Conrad Kingdom, which is something only about 3% of players choose, and there is a reason for this. Subaru soon arrives at the Conrad Kingdom's mercenary rest area, and the moment he steps in, a weird dude spots him. The dude looks like a troublemaker, and he quickly makes his move. He walks past Subaru and intentionally brushes his shoulder. The dude is surprised when he loses his balance, showing that Subaru is actually strong. Instead of stopping, Subaru continues walking, and the dude yells at him to watch where he's going. Subaru turns around and the dude asks him what his problem is. Subaru simply answers that he is the one with the problem because he bumped into him on purpose. The dude angrily grabs Subaru's shirt, saying he is pretty sure that Subaru is an E-rank mercenary, so he is not supposed to talk to him, who is a B-rank mercenary. The whole room is already hyped as they see the two arguing with each other. It turns out that this is a regular thing for the dude, who likes to pick on newbies. Since the dude, Vulture, claims that he is B-rank, Subaru decides to test something. He gathers lightning around his legs, and before Vulture even knows what is happening, Subaru kicks him under the shin, sending him flying into the distance. Vulture hits the ground hard and passes out right on the spot. The other mercenaries are stunned when they see this, and they start wondering what just happened right in front of them. The other mercenaries lose it when they realize that Subaru is an E-rank, but he is showing off. They rush toward him to attack him, but in no time, Subaru has beaten all of them to a pulp, leaving them in embarrassing positions. Just then, a strange man approaches him, admitting that he has talent, and he introduces himself as Raymond, an A-rank examiner. Raymond mentions that this is the first time he's seen Subaru around, and he asks him what jobs he's cleared so far. Subaru replies that he hasn't cleared a lot since E-rank mercenaries can only take limited jobs. The viewers immediately figure out that Subaru must have caused a scene just to speedrun jobs. Apparently, the third floor's trial is to take on various mercenary jobs and earn 10,000 achievement points. The completion reward for E-rank mercenaries is not more than 50 points, so players usually get stuck at the floor for over a year on average, which is why Subaru decided to take a shortcut. Subaru knows that he doesn't even have the time to waste. Raymond then asks him if he is an Otherworlder, revealing that it's been a long time since they have seen people like him. Raymond reveals that even though he appears to be impressive, he can't give him special treatment, since everything has its proper order. Subaru tells him that there must be a way to shorten the order, and Raymond asks him if he thinks that there is any point in giving special benefits to an Otherworlder who will eventually leave. Basically, the people refer to the players as Otherworlders. Subaru then tells Raymond that he is going to make his dream come true. It turns out that there is a way to clear all the floor trials at once, but this is something he didn't even try in his past life. Raymond asks him what he means, and Subaru replies that he is talking about the Cave of Thunder. Subaru assures Raymond that he is going to make sure that the cave gets into Conrad's hands. Raymond is shocked when he hears this, since only A-rank mercenaries can take the job. Subaru lets him know that he is aware of this, since it is a battle of pride between Ottoman and Conrad over an impregnable dungeon. Apparently, the Cave of Thunder has never been cleared in history. Between the Conrad and Ottoman kingdoms, there is an enormous impassable mountain range that the two nations have fought over for decades. This is the Cave of Thunder, which allows easy passage straight through the mountains, and it has long been their ambition to block invasions to gain military superiority. Subaru assures Raymond that if he issues him proof of A-rank status, he is definitely going to clear it, while assuring Raymond that he is not going to abuse it. Raymond takes a moment to think about it, and Subaru becomes worried, since he knows that if he gets turned down, he will have no choice but to take Raymond down. After thinking about it for a minute, Raymond tells Subaru that he is going to write him a letter of recommendation so he can join the raid. Raymond mentions that raid parties always need manpower, and he reveals that the raid party departs in 5 days, so he is going to bring the recommendation letter over. He urges Subaru to wait for him, and after his departure, a viewer offers Subaru 20,000 credits to clear the Cave of Thunder solo. Before Subaru knows it, huge credits start rolling in for him to clear the Cave of Thunder. Subaru remembers that 5 days later is exactly when the Floor 3 tournament ends, and he wonders if Blue Zone planned the tournament schedule with this in mind. Raymond soon returns with the recommendation in his hand, expressing his disbelief that Subaru plans to clear the Cave of Thunder. Raymond mentions that he also challenged the cave when he was younger, and he lost half of his party members that very day. Subaru collects the recommendation letter, assuring Raymond that something like that won't happen this time around. Raymond then asks him why he asked for the recommendation letter, and Subaru replies that he plans to go in alone. The viewers are surprised when they hear this, because it basically means Subaru has agreed to accept their mission. Raymond yells at Subaru, asking him if he is out of his mind because the Cave of Thunder is meant for a 20-man raid, and Subaru is basically saying he is going to go alone. Subaru replies that he heard that Conrad is short on manpower compared to Ottoman, and he doesn't really think that Conrad can even gather 20 people. Raymond admits that it is going to be tough, but he assumed that Subaru already had companions. Subaru lets him know that he doesn't at the moment. Meanwhile, Reina is already on her way to the 3rd floor, and she is surprised when she hears Subaru talking about clearing the dungeon alone. Reina realizes that he is just like the original Subaru, and just then, Subaru mentions something important on the stream. He lets them know that he won't be taking on any trials, and he will also be taking a break from streaming. The viewers are shocked, and before they even get the chance to convince him otherwise, he ends the stream. Reina laughs out loud, admitting that Subaru really resembles the OG Subaru. Since Subaru is also entering the tournament, she believes that it might be a good time to stick around to chat with him, but she hopes that he doesn't win. After the stream, Subaru meets with Wika and she commends him, telling him that he handled the stream just the same way Narukami Subaru would have handled it. Subaru lets her know that the viewers were booing him like crazy, and Wika tells him that his stream won't feel special if he had gone ahead to take regular jobs. Subaru thanks her for the compliment, and Wika asks him what he plans to do next. Subaru mentions that he is going to hunt until the tournament. Since he doesn't know what kind of rivals might show up, he has to level up in preparation. It turns out that he also wants to get a handle on how much thunder he can use with his current stats. In addition, he is looking to test the performance of the Thunder's Heart too. However, one thing is for certain, and this is the fact that he is never going to let anyone get their hands on Toshiya's keepsake. Elsewhere, a Blue Zone player, Ginzaki Naoto, is seen ranting about why he is sent to meet with Subaru after he declined the guild's request. He is surprised that Subaru has the guts to actually decline Blue Zone's request, and he angrily walks into the cafe where he is supposed to meet with Subaru's representative. The rep meeting him turns out to be John, and the two sit down for a drink. John welcomes him, telling him to go ahead with what he wants to say because he heard that there is something he wants to discuss with one of his streamers. Ginzaki confirms this, but asks John where Subaru himself is. John replies that he is not there because he is out on other business. Ginzaki calls Subaru an arrogant rookie for attending to something else when he knows that he has to meet with Blue Zone. John lets him know that the business Subaru is attending to is private, so they can't respond to it. In addition, he reminds Ginzaki that they have already conveyed his wishes to them, and this is exactly why Subaru is no longer meeting them. Ginzaki mentions that they plan to speak directly with Subaru regarding the matter, and John lets Ginzaki know that it is going to be difficult for them to meet Subaru. Ginzaki loses his cool, staring down at John, saying he is the one who is shielding Subaru away from them. Deep down, Ginzaki knows that he is going to be in trouble if he returns without seeing Subaru. Ginzaki continues yelling at John, saying he knows that he is just trying to keep his golden goose. He stands up and moves closer to John, telling him that Subaru would be better off joining a major guild instead of streaming. John smiles, telling Ginzaki no one knows, since famous streamers earn just as much as top-ranked players. John continues talking casually, revealing that they usually run into players who are biased against streaming as a profession. Ginzaki then warns John, telling him that the way he is speaking makes it seem like he is trying to make Blue Zone his enemy. John then urges Ginzaki to listen carefully to what he is about to say. He lets him know that they prioritize their streamer's own wishes above anything else. Since Subaru has made his decision, John says that the company is going to back him fully. Ginzaki mocks John, telling him that he is out of touch with the world even though he is a grown man. Ginzaki asks John if he thinks Blue Zone will stay quiet about the whole thing. Just then, the atmosphere changes, and John's voice becomes colder as he tells Ginzaki that he is the one who doesn't get it because there are people in this world who can't be swayed by force or threats. John looks really scary as he tells Ginzaki to get lost if he knows that he is done talking. Fear grips Ginzaki as he tries to understand what just crippled him, but he manages to get back on his feet, while pointing fingers at John, asking him who he thinks he is for him to just command him to get lost. John didn't even utter another word as he pointed to the door, and as Ginzaki left, he threatened John, telling him that he was going to regret what had just happened. John taunts him, smiling at him, while sarcastically telling him that his threats are so scary. 3 days later, Subaru is seen at the Sky Serpent's nest, taking on the scary giant snake. With a single strike imbued with thunder, Subaru badly injures the snake, forcing it to scream out in pain. After this, Subaru concludes that he's trained enough already, and he decides to wrap up the fight. He lunges at the giant serpent, and he delivers a powerful strike to finish the fight. After defeating the serpent, he is informed that he has leveled up, and just as usual, his stats also receive increments. Subaru obtains a red item, which is the Sky Serpent's Fang. Subaru figures out that this will sell for around 10,000 credits, which was the rate 20 years ago. Subaru checks his stats, and he is surprised that he is already at level 35. He basically went up 9 levels in 3 days, and Subaru believes that this is already good enough, so he doesn't have to be greedy. Later that day, he meets with Wika, and judging by the smile on Wika's face, Subaru asks her if something good happened. Wika asks him if he sees it, but Subaru has no idea what she is even talking about. Uika is surprised that he hasn't seen the collab video, and Subaru lets her know that he was busy grinding. Uika lets him know that this is fine because this is what makes him Narukami Subaru. However, Uika lets him know that there is something that differentiates him from the original Subaru. Uika presents to Subaru the revenue statement from his recent collab stream with Hawkeyes. Subaru is completely blown away when he realizes that it is 49,000 credits, which is way more than expected. Uika tells him that there is another reason she came to see him. Uika mentions that she has a friend, Kiyoharu, who is a gambling addict, and thanks to him she learned something important. Subaru asks her what it is, and she reveals that there is a certain kind of gambling where one bets on who will win and collects the payout. The higher the player's chance of winning, the lower the payout rate. This basically means that it has smaller returns, but it is much more reliable. She mentions that at the moment, Subaru's payout rate is 6.1x, but there is a player with a rate of just 1.2x. Basically, this person is the favorite to win the tournament. Subaru asks her who the person is, and she replies that it is Omar Schneider. Uika explains that he is a Blue Zone player who has stayed on the 3rd floor for 10 straight years, and he is driven purely by an obsession with clearing the Cave of Thunder. Uika mentions that because of his insane fixation, he is famous even though he is not a streamer, nor is he a ranker. Uika believes that Schneider is probably scheming right at that moment to meet with him because, to him, the solo Cave of Thunder challenge that Subaru declared on his stream is an insult to his 10-year grind. Before Uika knows it, she is almost kissing Subaru until Subaru reminds her that she is too close already. She quickly retreats with her face totally red. She finds it hard to even face Subaru, and she tells Subaru to be careful because there is a high chance that he is going to run into Schneider thanks to the number of events that are coming up. Meanwhile, Schneider and his men are seen discussing inside a carriage. Schneider's men believe that Subaru is talking trash because he doesn't know what type of place the Cave of Thunder is. Schneider lets his men know that whatever Subaru does doesn't bother him because he has the reputation to brag. Schneider mentions that Subaru might be a rookie, but he is the new Master of Thunder, which is something they have wanted for so long. The bald-headed man in the group agrees with Schneider, but mentions that Subaru is already getting way too full of himself. As the boys continue raging and spitting on Subaru, Schneider cautions them, telling them that it is not the time for them to be envious or jealous. He adds that trashing Subaru's achievements is also out of line. The baldhead asks Schneider if he would prefer that they respect him instead. Schneider replies that if necessary, they are free to do this. In fact, Schneider says he doesn't mind respecting Subaru. The two are completely shocked when they hear this, and they know that the captain might be talking big, but they are pretty sure that his pride is currently shredded. The two are worried about Subaru as they don't understand how he plans to go up against a monster like Schneider. Later on, Subaru reads up about Schneider in his room, and he is completely overwhelmed. He realizes that Schneider only started to stand out about 5 years ago, which is around the same time he joined Blue Zone. Subaru finally realizes why Itsuki is so confident in organizing such a tournament, and this is because there is an internal favorite to win. However, Subaru is pretty confident that Schneider has nothing on him, and he is eager to see if things will go Itsuki's way or not. The next day, Subaru heads to the market to sell the Serpent's Fang that he obtained. Unfortunately for him, he picked the worst trader in the market, and this is a trader who is known to defraud players. The trader is completely blown away when he sees the Fang, and Subaru asks him how much he is willing to pay for it. The trader assesses the item, and he realizes that there is no damage whatsoever. In addition, it is an S-grade item, which makes it all good. However, since he picked the wrong trader to negotiate with, he figures out that he is just going to rip him off, whether he is pro or not. The trader finally speaks up, admitting that the item is in good condition, but it is a B to A rank item. He also commends the hunter who obtained the Fang, saying he could have called it S rank if not for the tiny scratch on it. He continues yapping about how the rate for a Serpent's Fang is currently dropping, which is quite unfortunate. However, he assures Subaru that he is in a good mood, so he is going to offer him 8,000 for it. Subaru doesn't suspect a thing, since it's been 20 years already, and he doesn't know the rate. He is considering accepting the offer when a voice appears from behind, saying the Fang is easily worth 15,000 credits. The person mentions that Sky Serpent's fangs are hard to come by, so they are basically items that name your price. Subaru turns around to see who the person is, and he is surprised to see that it is Schneider. The atmosphere immediately becomes tense as the two stare down at each other. The two then find a cafe to talk, and Subaru suggests that they get down to the whole point of why he called him, because they are basically not buddies who can just chill out on dates. Subaru is also surprised by the fact that Schneider chose Parfait for himself, which is pretty weird. Schneider then starts talking, and he tells Subaru that he said he would clear the Cave of Thunder. Since Schneider is doubting what he said, Subaru reiterates it in his presence. Schneider says he initially thought that Subaru was a cocky person, and Subaru asks him if he has changed his stance. Schneider reveals that it is 50-50, but tells Subaru that he is going to give him half his respect. Schneider admits that Subaru is overflowing with talent, but he still can't believe that he can be compared to Narukami Subaru. Subaru initially thought Schneider was a weirdo, but with the way he speaks, he can see that he is pretty serious. Subaru then asks Schneider if he dragged him out there to get a sticker and a pat on the head. Schneider replies that he has a proposal, and he tells Subaru that he wants him to take back what he said. He wants Subaru to take back his claim that he can solo the Cave of Thunder because it is nothing more than a statement born out of ignorance. Schneider tells Subaru to start a stream and apologize from the heart, but Subaru replies that this doesn't really sound much like a proposal. Schneider says he is not telling him to do it right at that moment. He tells Subaru that if he beats him in the coming tournament, he is going to admit his immaturity publicly. Subaru agrees to this, but also has his own condition. Subaru tells him that he is going to hand over everything he knows about the Cave of Thunder if he wins the tournament. Schneider agrees to this with a smile because he is pretty sure that there is no way he is going to lose, and he walks away after saying this. After his departure, Subaru admits that with what he's seen, Schneider didn't waste the 10 years for nothing. At Azure Sky, Kiyoharu is busy monitoring everything happening concerning the tournament, and he knows that he definitely would have joined if he were still on the third floor. He is still conflicted on who to bet on between Schneider and Subaru. He believes that Schneider is guaranteed to win, even though the payout is a bit low, unlike Subaru, who has a higher payout. But the risks are high. Since he is a pro gambler, he concludes that he is going to bet on trust, not probability. He is about to make his bet when Uika's call comes in and he freaks out. He even throws away his device while accusing Uika of spying on him. Uika immediately figures out that Kiyoharu was busy gambling. Kiyoharu yells at her, asking her where she planted the bug, but Uika denies all of this. She lets him know that she called him because of something else, which is totally about gambling. Kiyoharu is surprised when he hears this, and Uika tells him that she is thinking of betting on Subaru, and Kiyoharu yells at her, saying that credits are hard to get. Uika immediately understands that Kiyoharu believes that Subaru is going to lose. Kiyoharu replies that he is not underestimating Subaru, but with the analysis he's done, Schneider is going to come out on top, since he is not even a player who belongs on the third floor. Since Kiyoharu is hell-bent on betting on Schneider, Uika suggests that they make a bet between them using their next month's entire paycheck. Kiyoharu wastes no time accepting the bet, and just then, Reina walks past Uika. Even though she is wearing a hood, Uika can feel an overwhelming presence from her. She immediately hangs up to try to verify what she saw, leaving Kiyoharu to start wondering if something happened. Elsewhere, the baldhead asks Schneider what he thinks of Subaru, and Schneider admits that he is not a player to be joked with. However, he is pretty sure that he is not going to lose to him. Meanwhile, Reina is watching from a rooftop, and she can clearly see that Schneider's mana is overwhelming, which means he is insanely strong. With this, Reina believes that she can relax knowing that there won't be an upset. It is finally tournament day, and the Coliseum is already filled with people. The moment Subaru enters the arena, everyone starts hyping him up. However, it is not a secret that he is still second on the ratings, and the first is none other than Schneider. Schneider steps into the arena and the noise triples with everyone shouting his name. Moments later, the lady host shows up in the sky, welcoming everyone to the arena. She introduces herself as Mizuha, and she is also from Blue Zone, the organizing guild. She mentions that the tournament will be divided into qualifiers and the main event, and she shows everyone the prize to be won, the shoes, Talaria, which belongs to Toshiya. The moment Subaru spots the shoes, he makes a silent vow that he is definitely going to get Toshiya's shoes back. Meanwhile, Wika is watching from the stands and she is waiting for Subaru to restart his stream. Just then, she hears someone spitting out curse words beside her, and when she turns around, she realizes that it is the same lady who walked past her in the street before. This time around, she is wearing a Subaru mask to conceal her face. Before the tournament begins, Subaru starts the live stream, and the viewers go crazy again, since they are all waiting to see how the tournament is going to end. Subaru apologizes for disappearing, but they assure him that they are there for him. Subaru is surprised to see how hyped up they are, and with the number of messages coming in, he can hardly keep up. A viewer then gives him a mission to win the tournament to get 30,000 credits, which blows Subaru's mind, and he thanks the viewer. Some viewers don't believe that Subaru can win, and they are just there to make sure they witness him lose. Once everything has been spelled out, the tournament begins. The host casts a large greenish umbrella over the arena, which blows everyone away. Once the entire arena is covered, the players are thrown into the preliminaries, and they are informed that once they die, they are out. They are informed that the round is going to end when the number of survivors drops to 1,000. At the start of the preliminaries, there are over 10,000 players in the arena. Subaru takes a moment to think about his strategy. Since no one will be targeting him in the prelims, he plans to save his strength, but just then, someone gives him a mission, telling him that he is going to pay 100 credits for every kill. Others join in, and one of them uploads a mission for him to kill Donchao for 1,000, while Schneider is going for 10,000. Suddenly, Subaru spots a player trying to run from him, but since he has eyes on him, there is no escape. At the same time, Schneider has been surrounded by some other players, but he doesn't even want to fight them since his entire focus is on Subaru. An arrow flies past his head, and before Schneider knows it, he realizes that the players who have ganged up on him are even more than he thought. The players don't believe Schneider can do anything to them, since he is just a dumb player who has rotted on the third floor for 10 years. Schneider assures them that they have a good plan, but they only picked the wrong opponent. The players still do not believe that he is a threat, and they assume he is talking big. Suddenly, one of the players loses his head before anyone even understands what is happening. The fear immediately kicks in, since they couldn't even see Schneider's attack until the dude's head flew off. Schneider figures out that it is time to Aura Farm, and he starts spinning his spear so fast that it can even hypnotize whoever is staring at it. Without further hesitation, Schneider makes his move and heads start disappearing, while lecturing them too. He lets them know that shortcuts don't work on the tower because the only thing that can help a player is their own strength. Schneider's cold expression covers the entire screen, and the spectators are blown away. On the battlefield, some of the players who were talking big before start running away in fear for their lives. Those who are brave try to convince the runners that they should stay and fight, since it is just an exam and nothing big. Meanwhile, Reina is focused on Schneider, and she can clearly see that he is on another level compared to the other players. Reina is pretty sure that once Schneider climbs higher, he is going to break into the top ranks. However, she can't even fully concentrate on the match because Wika is busy screaming and hyping Subaru while watching his stream. Reina immediately becomes interested when she realizes that she is watching Subaru's stream. She makes a comment, and Wika asks her if she knows Subaru. Wika then assumes that Reina is a fan, since she is even putting on a Subaru mask. Wika lets Reina know that she is also a fan, and she's been a fan for 20 years. Back in the arena, Subaru has been able to gather 90+ kills, and the survivor count has dropped drastically. There are just 1,300 survivors left, and Subaru knows the prelims are about to come to an end. Even though he is getting 200 credits per kill, he believes that the number of kills he's gotten so far is a bit underwhelming. Suddenly, he gets the bright idea to announce his presence to draw players in. The viewers immediately figure out that he is up to something the moment he pulls out his sword. The bright ones realize that he is trying to farm aggro to get the players to charge at him. Subaru then cuts down the large tree in front of him in one single strike, but he makes sure to pack lightning into the strike to make it cool and let anyone who is around know that he is there. The treetop crashes to the ground loudly, but standing at the other side of the tree is Schneider, and not any random player. Schneider has just finished wiping out the players who made the mistake of ganging up on him, and the universe has also dropped Subaru at his doorstep. Schneider declares with a cold voice that he's found Subaru, but Subaru replies that he found him first. The viewers immediately remind Subaru that there are 10,000 credits on the line, so he knows what to do. Schneider is also hyped, and he suggests that they end their beef right there. Subaru Aura farms in front of the viewers, saying he is going to be taking the 10,000 credits away sooner than he expected. Suddenly, Schneider's spear flew past Subaru's head and he barely dodged it, preventing him from losing his head. The hit from the spear evaporates the tree standing behind Subaru in an instant, and Schneider teases him that he has time to breathe, since there are 202 players left. Subaru senses that what almost hit him wasn't a skill but a pure technique, and he is dead if he loses track of the tip of Schneider's spear. Basically, the spear is able to casually reach distances that it shouldn't even reach. Schneider swings at Subaru again, and Subaru quickly grabs his weapon to use his sword's power. He blocks the overwhelming strength of Schneider's attack, and he replies with a counterstrike. Schneider immediately closes the distance on him, trying to tear his head off with the spear. Subaru manages to dodge the strike and he leaps sideways. Subaru swings at his opponent, but he also blocks it. Subaru manages to create a distance between them by unleashing a powerful strike that sends Schneider flying backwards. Schneider then calms down, asking Subaru why he is not using thunder, and Subaru replies that it would be a waste. Subaru then says the whole thing is about to end, so it doesn't even make any sense. Schneider loses his cool when he realizes that Subaru is basically telling him that it is going to be a waste to use thunder on him. He then realizes that Subaru was only stalling for time since there are just 7 players left before the survivor count drops to 1,000. Schneider angrily dashes towards Subaru, aiming to finish the fight at once. Subaru teases him, telling him that he can also say the same thing for him, that he is not going all out. Before Schneider gets the chance to finish the match, the number of survivors drops to 1,000, and the preliminaries end. As they are transported to the waiting area, Schneider tells Subaru to prepare himself for the next time that they are going to meet. Subaru also boasts, saying he is just going to have to wait till later to collect the 10,000 credits. Upon arriving at the waiting room, the players are informed that they have 30 minutes to rest. Subaru stares at his hand and can see that it is shaking. He admits that he almost got pushed back right at the very end, and if it had dragged on even a little longer, he might have been killed. Surprisingly, Subaru's viewers have climbed up to 11,000. He remembers Uika's words that there is a streamer's wall, which has 10,000 viewers. However, once a streamer breaks the 10,000 view count, they can survive in the industry. He realizes that the stream with Schneider ended up being a positive net for him. Nonetheless, he is left worried that someone as strong as Schneider couldn't even clear the Cave of Thunder. Meanwhile, Shu is also watching the stream, and with what he's seen so far, he realizes Schneider has the upper hand. This leaves him asking why Schneider is still stuck on the 3rd floor. However, there is one thing that Subaru has over Schneider, and this is thunder. Even though Shu is hoping for an upset, he doesn't think it is going to happen with what he has seen so far. While waiting for the match to resume, Subaru starts claiming the credits that he already has. Even the viewers are surprised that Subaru is claiming credits out of nowhere. Unknown to them, he has plans for the credits, and this is to upgrade the Wedge of Greed. After using 80,000 credits to upgrade the skill, he has just 16,000 points left. However, to upgrade the skill again, he is going to need 160,000 credits to go to A rank. With the current level, which is B rank, Subaru believes that he finally has a chance. Subaru goes quiet, thinking about his plan, and the viewers ask him what he is thinking about. Meanwhile, Mizuha has been informed that there is going to be a possible attempt to steal the shoes. Mizuha doesn't want to believe that Reina would be coming for the shoes, and just then she learns that reinforcements from the Guild HQ have arrived at the venue. Mizuha asks her assistant who is leading the team, and just then Amon emerges, answering the question himself. Mizuha is shocked and she immediately starts asking Amon why he would climb down to the 3rd floor. Amon replies that Itsuki is in a bad mood, and Mizuha asks if it is about Subaru. Amon replies that it is about Subaru and Schneider, but there is also another issue, and this concerns the shoe's safety. Meanwhile, Uika is still wondering why someone with so much mana is in the arena, watching the tournament. Just then, Reina takes off her mask, and her face looks totally different from her usual self. She introduces herself as Tamai and urges Uika to stop calling her a miss. Uika nervously replies that she is calling her miss since she is giving off a totally not normal aura. Uika lets Reina know that she can clearly see that she has trained for a very long time. In addition, she can clearly see that she is using a disguise technique. Reina is impressed by Uika's insight because she was only testing how much she could see through before. Reina doesn't want to believe that Uika is an assassin sent by Itsuki since she won't be blabbing that much. Uika then tells Reina that she is pretty sure that she has her reasons because the stronger someone is, the more they have to hide who they are. Just then, she asks Reina if she is there to mess with the tournament, and Reina asks her what she is going to do if that is the case. Uika unleashes her overwhelming aura and tells Reina that she is going to stop her, no matter what it takes if she is there to mess with the tournament. Once the 30 minutes are up, the finals commence, and the players are informed that the finals will be held in territory capture format. Basically, they are expected to capture each other's territory, and Mizuha decides to explain to them. She mentions that once the match starts, each player is assigned a territory, and only up to 2 people can enter a single territory. They are expected to defend, steal, and hold on while taking over other players' territories. Once a player defeats another player, they automatically take their territory. Basically, up to 2 people can stay in one territory, and if they beat the opponent, the territory becomes theirs. The player controlling the most territory when the time runs out wins. This leaves Mizuha asking who is going to become the new owner of Talaria, and this is a question that they are going to find out in 2 hours. After Mizuha is done with the explanation, the players are sent to their respective territories. Subaru figures out that the whole thing is going to be slow at first, but it is going to get bloody as time goes on. Subaru knows that waiting around is the standard procedure, but at the moment he is getting paid 300 credits per person, so he can't afford to be idle. Without hesitation, he starts cutting through his opponents without mercy. At the same time, Schneider is trashing his opponents, trying to look for Subaru. The other opponents are just little flies to be taken out of the way for the two to get to each other. The whole scene soon becomes really bloodied, and when Schneider finally spots Subaru, he is surprised to see him turning the other way. Schneider screams out Subaru's name, telling him to fight him. Even the viewers are pissed with Schneider's rants, and they urge Subaru to just fight him so that they can finally rest. However, Subaru replies that he can't do that yet, since he still has to farm credits. The viewers are not even surprised when they hear this, since they already know how greedy he is. Minutes later, Subaru has wiped out a bulk load of players, and he is surprised that the players on the 3rd floor are all weak compared to Schneider. Not long after this, Schneider's bald-headed sidekick, Don Chow, enters Subaru's territory. The viewers are hyped when they see this because they know things are about to become more interesting. Subaru learns from his viewers that Don Chow is Schneider's subordinate, and he is also from Blue Zone. Don Chow dashes towards Subaru, aiming to kill him before his captain even gets the chance to fight him. He swings his spear at Subaru, but Subaru dodges before slicing Don Chow's weapon in half. Don Chow freaks out when he is suddenly knocked to the ground before he even gets a chance to land a hit. With Don Chow lying helplessly on the ground, Subaru finishes him off. The viewers start mocking Don Chow, saying he is pure trash because he couldn't even stand up to Subaru. Just after taking out Don Chow, Schneider enters Subaru's territory, and Subaru's viewers tease him that everyone wants his head. Without even wasting a second, Schneider dashes towards Subaru with the intention of cutting him down. Subaru stands firm this time around, blocking Schneider's attack. Schneider increases the pace of his attack while yelling at Subaru to use Thunder. Schneider tells him that if he doesn't use Thunder, he is definitely going to cut him down with his next attack. Subaru gets pushed backward, and Subaru sheathes his sword. Schneider teases him, asking him if he plans to run away again, just like he always does. However, Subaru tells him that he is going to give him exactly what he's been asking for. Subaru then starts to cast Thunder, and he increases the charge with every second. Thanks to how powerful Thunder is, he starts suffering the effects, but the Wedge of Greed comes into action to block the effects. A Thunder Spear soon forms in Subaru's hands, and he lets Schneider know that running is for the weak. At this point, Schneider realizes that things have gotten serious because Subaru is basically materializing elemental attributes into a weapon. As the atmosphere gets even darker, Subaru asks Schneider if he thinks he is still running. Schneider says no, and Subaru asks him if he plans to run away after seeing Thunder. Schneider freezes up where he is, but he believes that he has a chance if he can break through Subaru's Thunder. With a brave heart, Schneider replies that he has no intention of running. Before coming to the tournament, Don Chow had asked Schneider why he was so obsessed with Thunder, because with his current level of skill, he could easily make it to the 6th or 7th floor. Schneider doesn't give a definite answer, saying guys like him who are fixated on one thing usually forget the reason. He says in the best case, it is called conviction, and in the worst case, it is obsession. However, Schneider says if he can overcome this trial, it will change his entire life, which is why he can't give up. Back on the battlefield, Schneider pulls all his strength together to take on Subaru with the realization that Subaru is about to become his second obsession. Schneider dashes towards Subaru with insane killing intent. At the same time, Subaru doesn't plan to hold back because he is looking to honor Schneider's 10-year grind. The two lunge at each other with their spears, and the moment it hits, it gives birth to a large explosion that leaves a huge nuclear reaction. Back in the Coliseum, Ueka tells Reina that she is willing to risk everything to stop her because she is Subaru's manager, and if the tournament gets wrecked, it will definitely affect his streaming career, so she is not about to let it slide. Reina wears an expression of shock and disbelief when she learns that Ueka is Subaru's manager, and Ueka soon forgets about the threat she just made. She switches personality, talking about how hard it was for her to have landed the role. She mentions how she pushed past the idiots who didn't believe in him, and when talking about the idiots, she is referring to Kiyoharu and John. Reina maintains her fangirl reaction, revealing that she used to watch Subaru's stream since the Wolf Warrior fight. The two are in the middle of their conversation when the explosion hits, immediately catching their attention and everyone else present in the arena. When the smoke finally clears, Wika cannot believe her eyes because the unexpected basically happened. It turns out that Subaru's thunder was able to overwhelm Schneider's attack, creating a huge hole in Schneider's upper body. Schneider crashes to the ground and dies, but Subaru doesn't trash talk him, as he hopes that they meet again pretty soon. In the end, Subaru was able to capture 283 territories, making him the winner of the tournament. Fireworks hit the arena to celebrate his win, and the spectators almost lost their minds. However, Wika notices that Reina has suddenly gone cold, and this is because she didn't expect Subaru to have defeated Schneider. Mizuha returns to the arena, and as the host, she officially declares Subaru as the winner of the tournament. As promised, Subaru is presented with the prize, and at that moment, Reina leaves her seat. As the shoes sit in his hand, Subaru is hit with a nostalgic feeling, since it's been 20 years already. In a flashback scene, Toshiya is seen running around the apartment asking them who wore his shoes. He is about to take out his anger on an innocent dude when the culprit shows himself. To make it worse, Sako, who is one of the biggest, is the one who wore the shoes. Toshiya almost faints when he sees this, and he rushes at Sako, kicking him in the chest for wearing his shoes after he warned him. While the two are busy going at it, the rest of the team is laughing their hearts out since Toshiya is the smallest, but he causes the most trouble. Back in the arena, the viewers assume that Subaru is going to sell the shoes, which is why he made sure he got them. However, Subaru responds immediately that he has no intention of selling the shoes. Mizuha is confused when she hears this, and Subaru clears the air, saying he is replying to his viewers because they were saying the shoes will sell for a high price. Mizuha confirms this, saying the shoes can go as high as 1,000,000 credits, but Subaru quickly cuts her off, saying no matter how much the shoe is worth, he has no intention of selling it. Even the viewers are already losing it, as they are all willing to pay a high price for the shoe. Bids start flowing in from the arena, but Subaru replies with so much coldness in his voice, telling them to screw off. Lightning brews in the air as he makes himself clear to everyone that he is never going to sell the shoe, even for 10,000,000 credits. The aura from Subaru is so overwhelming that even Mizuha is shaken by it. After making his decision clear to them, he walks away. After the event, Amon is surprised to see that Subaru actually won the tournament. He admits that it is way above his expectations. Amon's colleague, Hanamaki Hiyori, talks about how amazing Subaru is because he was able to defeat Schneider of all people. Hiyori asks Amon if he thinks Subaru will go ahead to become like the real Subaru. Hiyori says people have been going around talking about things like if the original Subaru can do it, the new Subaru should be able to as well. Amon asks her what this means, and Hiyori mentions that this is basically what people are calling the two. The Blue Eyes Subaru is the original, and the streamer is the new one. Amon is not really comfortable with this, and he says it should be the other way around. Hiyori replies that it is still the same thing, but Amon argues that it is not, and Hiyori frustratingly whispers that the Blue Eyes fanboys like Amon are the worst. Amon lets her know that he is aware that she is mumbling under her breath, but she yells at him, asking him if he is not interested in what will happen from that moment forward. Amon replies that no matter what happens, they still have a job that they need to sort out, and this is their task to catch the shoe thief. It turns out that Amon and Hiyori have an entire squad backing them up just in case. On the other hand, Subaru is glad that he was able to get the shoes because this is his own way of getting into contact with Toshiya again. Subaru thanks his viewers for the missions, telling them that because of them, he was able to scrape through. Talking about Toshiya's shoe, Talaria, it is a unique item that grants a 25% increase in movement speed and a 15% increase in jump power. It also grants the Cloud Stride skill, which can be used twice a day and it resets daily. Most of the viewers are not impressed, and they believe that the shoe is underwhelming for something that is regarded as a unique item. Those who know the worth lecture the ignorant ones that movement speed gear is very rare, and rankers would go to hell and back to get it. Just then, Subaru gets a text from Uika, telling him that she saw a suspicious lady, and she has a bad feeling about her. This leaves Subaru wondering what might be going on because Uika is specifically warning him that the suspicious lady might be after the prize. Unknown to him, Reina is standing on a rooftop watching him, but she is hesitant to go after Subaru even though she can see the shoe with him. After giving it a whole lot of thought, Reina tries to ditch her hesitation with the aim of slicing Subaru's ankles to get the shoes from him. Meanwhile, Subaru heads to a bar to meet up with Uika, who is hyped about the whole tournament thing. Uika congratulates him on winning, and she tells Subaru that she has already ordered a drink for him. Subaru moves to the main topic of the day, asking her about the message she sent. Uika tells Subaru that she met someone weird while watching the tournament. Subaru asks her to explain better, and Uika lets him know that it was a female player who was hiding her face by wearing the same mask as him. Uika initially thought she was only shady, but after they warmed up to each other, she realized that she was also a fan. So they just continue talking. However, the moment Subaru won, Uika explained that she suddenly made a strange face. Uika demonstrates the expression, saying it was as if she got dumped, and she believes that if Reina were truly her fan, she wouldn't have made a face like that after seeing Subaru win. Uika tells Subaru that after this she just vanished, and she tried chasing her, but she was pretty good at hiding her presence. Uika tells Subaru that she is pretty sure Reina is not a random person. After hearing this, Subaru takes a minute to think about who could hide her presence well, while being his fan at the same time. Uika then mentions something important, telling Subaru that when she asked Reina if she was a fan of Blue Eyes Subaru, she showed a nostalgic expression, like she was reminiscing about something. The moment Subaru hears this, everything clicks in his head, and he dashes out of the building in a rush. Uika calls after him, but he ignores her and makes his way into the streets. Meanwhile, Reina has figured out that Itsuki has sent people after her, but she is not impressed, since both Amon and Hiyori can't even stand against her if she wants to take them on. Suddenly, she spots Subaru running off in the distance, leaving her to wonder where he is running to. Reina takes a look at the situation around her, and she figures that just 5 seconds is all she needs to steal the shoe from him. She even remembers promising Shu that she was going to get the shoes back. However, she has totally lost the urge to steal the shoe from Subaru. Basically, everything Subaru does reminds her of the original Subaru. Reina finally gives up on taking the shoe, but she makes it known that she is never going to forgive Subaru if he joins Blue Zone. She walks off with a promise that she is going to kill Subaru if he attempts to join Blue Zone. Nonetheless, she really wishes she could talk to Subaru even if it is just once. She wonders if it would be like she's met the real Subaru again, if she meets Subaru face to face. Back on the street, Subaru finally comes to a halt after running around for a while. He hates the fact that he didn't even think of the fact that Itsuki could be using Talaria as bait to lure Blue Eyes out. Subaru figures out that Reina was the one who came after the shoe, which is why her presence was well hidden. In addition, he senses Shu's mana from the ice flowers, and just that, someone who could be Reina was at the tournament. With this, Subaru receives a great deal of hope that all 4 of them might still be alive. At the same time, he doesn't want to assume things too early, because Reina would have had a hard time chilling out while Toshiya's shoes were right in front of her. He is busy thinking about all of these right on the streets when Uika shows up behind him, asking him why he suddenly bolted out of the bar. Subaru replies that he ran out because he thought the person she was describing was someone he knew. Uika is surprised to hear this, and Subaru replies that he must have been mistaken. This then pushes a hard question out of Uika, asking Subaru if he has friends. She looks completely embarrassed while asking the question, and Subaru stays mute, forcing her to clarify that she is talking about female friends. Subaru ignores her question and suggests that they go home. He walks off hastily, leaving Uika to run after him, asking him if she had upset him. Later on, Amon and Hiyori are still staking out the shoe thief when Amon gets a text telling them to back off. Hiyori is surprised to hear this, and Amon mentions that the order is directly from Itsuki. Hiyori is pissed off when she hears this because they have been waiting forever, only to get pulled off. Amon says if the shoe thief had come, there is no way they would have allowed someone else to walk off with the prize. Amon believes that Itsuki was only overthinking things, and in addition, he says Itsuki is under the belief that the guys from Blue Eyes would have shown up anyway, even if they knew it was a trap. Hiyori is surprised to hear this because she initially thought everything was just a baseless rumor. Amon also tells Hiyori that he seriously wants to believe that it is just a rumor. But with the way Itsuki is moving, it might actually be real. It turns out that the popular belief is that Narukami Subaru died because Blue Eyes betrayed him. At the same time, Subaru is standing on a rooftop reading an article about his death, and he finds out about the rumor that he died at the hands of his comrades. He finally understands why his comrades are in hiding. Since it's been 20 years already, Subaru is convinced that Itsuki is probably in a place where he can't even reach him. Subaru knows that to catch up to Itsuki as the rookie he currently is, he would need something even more special. Something special, like the spear he showed in the tournament. Basically, he managed to recreate the one-time legendary item that he used on the second floor to defeat Grog. Subaru thought he knew everything that was there to know about Thunder, but it appears that there is a long way for him to master it. Thunder is basically a tremendous power that both the Titans and the gods wanted, but humanity seized it in order to fight back against them. This leaves Subaru wondering if he has even been using Thunder properly all this time. In addition, Subaru is pretty sure that he is going to learn something if he clears the Cave of Thunder. Later on, Kiyoharu is seen bowing to Uika on a video call since she won the bet and has stripped him of all his money. Uika makes sure he tramples his head on the ground while mocking him, telling him that she can't hear him properly. Even though Kiyoharu is begging with all of his might, Uika just continues trashing him because he is now a broke loser. Kiyoharu tells Uika that he is so broke after paying Uika everything he owes her that he can't even pay his electricity bill. He tries to sweet-talk Uika to help him, but Uika doesn't get moved by this. He starts acting all goofy to just get Wika's attention, but Wika chases him off, telling him how disgusting it is. Since Kiyoharu is pretty desperate, Wika decides to ask a favor of him. Elsewhere, Subaru heads to a bar to meet Schneider, who is already waiting for him. Subaru orders the same thing as him, and he is not impressed when he realizes that Schneider is taking cheap beer. Schneider lets him know that it has always been like this because when his squad had too many members, his wallet used to dry up instantly whenever he bought drinks for everyone. Schneider says he is so used to this taste now that other booze doesn't do anything for him anymore. Subaru is surprised that he always pays for everyone, and Schneider mentions that if he doesn't, he wouldn't be able to face them. Schneider reveals how they all went along with his selfish push to clear the Cave of Thunder. Schneider narrates that he was poor back then, just like everyone else was, and they couldn't imagine getting support from a guild like they are currently getting. In addition, hunting was not easy, since they were not skilled enough. Basically, a player needed credits just to take the exam, but if a player dies midway, they would lose what they had and come out even worse. However, they had no choice but to hunt, since this was the only option they had left. It was one fateful day that they went out hunting just as usual, just so that they could scrape together exam fees or raise their levels a little. On that fateful day, they ran into a sky serpent, and at the moment, they didn't even have the experience or chance to stand against it. Just like what anyone would expect, 4 people died, and these were not just random guys. These were his best friends, and Subaru asked him if they hated him for it. Schneider mentions it intently that they hated him to his bones because he heard their screams so much that his ears bled. All he was always hearing was how they yelled at him, asking him what was so important about the Cave of Thunder that they had to die. Schneider narrates with pain the sad things he heard from them, and Subaru imagines that this is the same thing his former teammates will be yelling in his ears. He quickly tells Schneider to stop narrating, saying he's heard enough. Schneider asks him if he's pitying him, and Subaru mentions that anyone else would have given up after something like that happened. Schneider tells Subaru that there is no way he is going to give up. His friends died because he invited them. He asks Subaru what he thinks would happen to the dead ones if he gave up. He reminds Subaru that it would basically mean that their sacrifice was in vain. Schneider mentions that this is the reason he has been obsessed with the Cave of Thunder all this time, and he doesn't actually expect Subaru to understand. However, it is thanks to Subaru that he finally sees hope. Subaru is confused when he hears that he is now the embodiment of hope, but Schneider lets him know that it is finally time to tell him what kind of place the Cave of Thunder really is. Back at the hideout, Shu is freaking out because he hasn't heard from Reina. He is worried that Itsuki has caught on to them and something bad has happened to Reina. Shu unleashes an overwhelming amount of mana that freezes the entire space just from the slight thought of Reina dying, and he promises Itsuki that he is going to kill him in a merciless manner. Shu is still raging and making threats when he gets a text from Reina apologizing for not getting back the shoes. Shu reads this and screams at the top of his lungs in shock because Reina had already promised that she would get the shoes back. Sometime later, Subaru restarts the stream, and the viewers are surprised when they see him in an unfamiliar building. They ask him if he is challenging the Cave of Thunder that day, and he replies that he has the intention of doing so, which is why he went live, to make it happen. He is having a chat with his viewers when a player suddenly shows up asking Subaru if he is the streamer. Subaru confirms this, and the player nervously replies that they also got a request to clear the Cave of Thunder. Subaru looks behind the dude to see a whole party lined up. The dude casually asks Subaru if he would be willing to team up with them, since he is also on the same quest. At the same time, Subaru gets a private DM from Uika, telling him that the players he is looking at are a party that was put together in haste just to ride on his clout. Subaru then turns to them, asking them what they mean. The player replies that they are also going to the Cave of Thunder, so they are pretty sure that they are going to be useful to Subaru during the course of the challenge. One of them even claims that they are not trying to ride on his clout or anything like that. Subaru takes a deep breath before replying, telling the players that he hopes that everyone does their absolute best. Subaru lets them know that he is accepting because if people say he took the request and bailed, he would have no excuse. The leader of the party tells him that this is how the system works, and Subaru turns around, telling the party that he basically can't kill everyone just because he is not feeling it. The leader of the party is shocked to hear this, and he asks Subaru to repeat what he just said. Subaru then informs the party that there is one thing that they have to make clear, and this is the fact that they are not comrades. He lets them know that they are only traveling together. Later on, they meet at the Conrad Kingdom gathering point on the outskirts of the kingdom. They meet with the S-rank mercenary in charge, Demon. He is surprised when he sees the loads of people coming with Subaru, and he complains that there are a lot. He even trash-talks Subaru, calling him an E-rank mercenary. Demon intensifies the trash talk when he realizes that Subaru is an otherworlder, and he mocks him, saying people like him love to throw their lives away. Subaru is pissed, and he asks his viewers if he should turn Demon into a vulture bait. The viewers are surprised to learn that Subaru actually knows what vultures are. Subaru can sense the bloodlust in Demon, and it is the fact that it is human blood, not monster blood. At the same time, at the Ottoman Kingdom gathering point on the outskirts, Schneider is preparing for the quest with his men. Out of nowhere, a Blue Zone player, Polyman, shows up, telling Schneider that he and his squad have been sent by the headquarters to join the raid. In fact, Schneider will have to drop half of his men. Schneider is surprised that such an order was passed from above, and Polyman teases Schneider, telling him that this is happening because he messed up. Polyman says Schneider lost to Subaru, which made the guild lose valuable assets. Schneider asks Polyman if he thinks he would have done better, and Polyman replies that it is pretty obvious that he wouldn't have lost to a rookie who just got to the 3rd floor. In addition, Polyman doesn't think he would even have to waste 10 years on the 3rd floor. Don Chow almost unsheathes his weapon when he hears this, but Schneider stops him. Polyman boastfully tells Schneider that he should be grateful that he showed up because they might finally have the chance to clear the Cave of Thunder now. Don Chow yells in anger, eager to shut Polyman up, but Schneider tells him to leave the dude, and since the raid team is full of rookies, swapping people out won't matter. Schneider lets Don Chow know that Polyman actually said one thing right, and Don Chow asks what it is. Schneider replies that it is the fact that he said they would definitely clear the Cave of Thunder this time around. On the other hand, as Subaru and his opportunist teammates head to the Cave of Thunder, the viewers are pretty sure that Subaru is pissed that they have just come to ruin his vibe. Demon mentions that the whole area feels really off because doors opening on a fixed cycle feel way too man-made. Subaru doesn't really understand what he is saying, but just then, they arrive at the Cave of Thunder. There is a giant door at the entrance, and Demon mentions that insane lightning keeps striking the entrance repeatedly, which is why one can't get in at specific times. The leader of the opportunist party rushes over, asking Demon how many times he's challenged the Cave of Thunder. Demon replies that this is his 3rd time, and fewer than 10 mercenaries have ever gone in and made it out alive, which means he is one of them. The dude gets closer to Demon, asking him if he kept challenging the Cave of Thunder afterward, but Demon replies that he is not dumb like the other worlders. The dude asks Demon why he is now coming with them, and he replies that there is only one thing he is after, and this is the Traces of Thunder itself. Demon mentions that if he can get this, he will be able to quit his job for good because he is done with a job that wants his life every minute. The party leader is surprised that Demon is not planning to go all the way, and he replies that he has no intention of doing this. He tells the dude that they are acting all jovial the way they are because they have not witnessed the Cave of Thunder firsthand. Demon still makes sure to turn around to trash-talk Subaru, telling him to die quickly if he wants to. Upon arriving at the entrance, the party comes to a halt, and Demon tells them that in about an hour the thunder will stop and the entrance will open. One unlucky rat runs past at that moment, and Demon slaps it toward the door. The rat gets electrocuted to death, and Demon basically uses this to show them what will happen if they try to approach the door when the lightning is still active. He urges them to stay put until then, and the viewers urge Subaru to tell them a story while they wait. However, Subaru shocks everyone as he walks toward the door, ignoring Demon's warning. Deep down, Subaru could see that it looked like the test back on the 2nd floor when he went to the Millennium Mountain. The party members start calling on Subaru, asking him if he is trying to get himself killed. Upon arriving at the gate, Subaru places his hand on it and the Heart of Thunder starts to resist the gate. His body composition also prevents him from getting electrocuted, and after this, the gate verifies the qualifications. This unleashes a massive thunder strike that shocks the party members, who keep asking themselves how Subaru is still able to stand. After the verifications are done, the Thunder Gate disappears, thus revealing the Traces of Thunder. Traces of Thunder drops on the floor, and Demon freaks out when he sees this because it is what he is after. He immediately grabs his weapon, asking Subaru to explain how he was able to call out the Traces of Thunder. Subaru stays quiet, wondering if the item was waiting until someone qualified actually showed up. Even the viewers are surprised that Subaru got his hands on the item right at the entrance of the cave. Just then, Demon swings his big axe at Subaru and he barely dodges it, but the axe cuts him on the shoulder. The system immediately detects that he is being attacked by his own party members, and because of this, no counterattack penalty will be applied. Demon believes that Subaru must have gotten lucky, and he demands that he hands over the item to him. Subaru asks him why he has to do his bidding, and Demon mentions that items gotten from the cave should belong to the locals, like him, instead of people like Subaru who are outsiders. Demon tells Subaru that he is pretty sure that he is scared of dying, even though he is not from that world. Subaru agrees with him because even if dying in the trial doesn't mean that the player would die, the pain still feels 100% real. Dying in the trial leads to extreme fear and mental breakdowns, or even PTSD. Demon lets Subaru know that everyone fears when there is death staring them right in the face. On the other hand, Demon lets everyone know that the locals are used to killing each other. The party starts freaking out, regretting that they came because the rumors about Conrad's mercenaries killing players were real. The party starts to urge Subaru to have a rethink about what is happening. They are still begging him to be rational when one of the mercs loses his head. Subaru confidently declares his intention to wipe out those who want him dead. Even Demon is shocked because Subaru is supposed to be E rank, but the way he is moving is not even explainable. Subaru then lunges at him and he swings at him, but Demon manages to dodge the attack. Subaru teases him, asking him if not letting him kill him in one shot is his pride as an S rank. Demon starts yelling at Subaru, asking him what sort of person he is because he basically tricked him. Demon tries to attack Subaru, but he loses his attacking arm in a flash. Demon grabs his arm as he bleeds profusely, and he berates Subaru for being a Demon Blade user while calling him a coward who relies on weapons. Subaru walks up to him, telling him not to assume that he is trash like him. Subaru taunts him, telling him to save up some money and buy a Demon Blade for himself if he is mad. However, at this point in time, it is already too late. Before Demon can even blink, Subaru cuts him down, ultimately defeating him. The opportunist party members see this and they freak out. Subaru turns to them, asking them if they also would like a chance to take the traces of thunder away from him. The leader of the party nervously replies that he has no intention of doing this while addressing Subaru as a lord. The viewers almost die of laughter when they hear this because Subaru has basically been promoted to God tier. After cutting Demon down, the gate opens, and Subaru suggests that they continue moving. Upon entering the cave, the whole ceiling is crawling with a lightning effect. One of the team members moves closer to their leader, asking him if it is okay for them to still follow Subaru. The dude asks her what she means by this, and she points out the fact that Subaru is clearly not a normal dude, but the dude assures her that they are going to be fine as long as they don't pull any dumb shit like the mercenaries. He is pretty sure that Subaru won't do anything reckless as long as they don't mess with him first. The dude mentions that streaming is a business that deals with popularity, so Subaru has to suck up to regular users like them. In their group chat, the opportunists are busy talking about how they plan to ride on Subaru's wave till the very end. The dude is confident that as long as their chats don't leak, they have nothing to fear. Suddenly, they notice that they have been surrounded by beasts that they don't even know what they are yet. The only thing they can see is their eyes, and they start freaking out because there was nothing when they stepped into the cave. Subaru is not surprised because Schneider had told him that the first thing he is going to encounter when he enters the cave is the Thunderwolves. Just then, the Thunderwolves emerge from their hiding places. Just as Schneider said, there are a ton of them, and he lets Subaru know that if he tries to fight them one by one, he is going to run out of stamina before the end. A fierce battle soon ensues, and Subaru ignores the first wave of Thunderwolves, leaving the party members to ask him if he is ignoring them. It turns out that Schneider had told him that there is one way to shorten the time. In typical cases, the boss of the pack is always the biggest, but when it comes to the Thunderwolves, the smallest among them is actually the boss. Standing behind the pack is the Thunderwolf boss, and this is the monster Subaru is going after. Without holding back, he slices the monster in front of him in half. He then activates Cloud Strike to leap into the air, dodging the hundreds of Thunderwolves that are blocking him from getting to the boss. While moving in the air, Subaru finally sees how Toshiya always felt whenever he was using his shoes. Moments later, Subaru spots the leader of the pack, safely tucked in between the bodyguards. Subaru makes a powerful landing that generates a shockwave to clear out the surroundings. The leader of the pack then rushes toward him, but Subaru charges his thunder fast enough before the wolf can reach him, and he delivers a powerful strike that cuts the leader of the pack in half, ultimately defeating it. The moment he does this, the system informs him that the Thunderwolf's frenzy has decreased. By defeating the pack leader, he has also leveled up. Apparently, by defeating the boss, the player has already won, according to Schneider. The wolves are running wild when Subaru suddenly screams out an order, telling them to sit, and surprisingly, they all obey him. This is basically because after defeating the wolf leader, he has automatically become their boss. The system tells Subaru that subduing the Thunderwolves has now given him access to command the Thunderwolves within the Cave of Thunder. The party members are completely blown away when they see this, and they start asking Subaru what just happened, but Subaru ignores the question, telling them that it is time for them to go in deeper. Subaru orders the Thunderwolves to follow him, and the wolves heed his command, leaving the party members completely speechless. Subaru walks in front like a general while the wolves follow him obediently like his soldiers. Moments later, they reach a hollow part of the cave, and Subaru orders the wolves to howl, which they immediately do. They start howling like crazy while the party members freak out, asking Subaru what he is trying to do. In no time, monsters start emerging from every corner of the cave, surrounding the team. The party freaks out, urging Subaru to calm down because he is going to draw all the monsters here if the wolves continue howling. They ask Subaru what he is thinking, and he replies that he wants a surrounded hunt, which is how he does his things. Subaru tells the team that they don't have to worry about him because he has the Thunderwolves, so he is definitely going to manage. However, the team leader reminds him that they are vulnerable, Subaru then reminds the team leader that he already told them from the start that they are all just tagging along, so at this point in time they have to survive on their own. After saying this, Subaru ignores them and starts cutting down the monsters on his own. Meanwhile, John and his assistant are watching the stream and they are surprised to see what Subaru is pulling off. The lady freaks out, asking John if Subaru is allowed to do this, and John casually replies that Subaru has already made his call, so it is left for him to do whatever he wants. However, with the team members getting trashed by the monsters, it is pretty obvious that he is going to get flamed. John then shows the girl a piece of info on his phone, telling her that it is a totally different case this time. It turns out that John has been able to get his hands on the group chat, detailing how the party quickly put themselves together just to tag along for Subaru's Cave of Thunder tour. John says this is solid proof that they are on a hitchhiking tour, so there is no reason for suspicion. Basically, they aren't even strong enough to clear the Cave of Thunder on their own, so they didn't hesitate when they saw an opportunity to hop on a free ride. The lady asks John if he thinks the viewers will see it this way, and John says if it is just for this one time. John explains that if Subaru had allowed them to take a ride with him, it would have continued to happen. Basically, at this point, Subaru is making an example of them so that no one would think of leeching off him. Back in the cave, after wiping out the bulk load of monsters that were attacking, Subaru turns around to see that the team has been wiped out already. Subaru is pleased with this because he just got back his solo run gig. The viewers are blown away when they see this because Subaru has just found a way to wipe them out. While some fully support what Subaru did, there are some who believe that it was overkill. Some of them even log out of the stream because of what happened. Without any care for what might happen, Subaru lets his viewers know that this is what will happen to anyone who tries to leech off him. John laughs out loud when he hears this, and he realizes that Subaru is not shallow enough to ignore how his words hit his viewers. This basically shows that every move he made and every line he spoke was calculated. John is forced to admit that Subaru is top tier when it comes to being a streamer and a player. John then puts a call through to Uika, and before she starts answering him coldly, he lets her know that he is calling because of Subaru. He wants to know if she told Subaru about the tag-along recruitment post, and Uika says yes. John then asks Uika if the whole thing was her plan from the start. Uika just hangs up on him, saying she is not ready to start chatting nonsense with him. After the call, John asks his assistant if she saved a copy of the group chat, and she assures him that everything is well prepared. John is glad to hear this, and he mentions that it is their turn to make the players understand that Narukami Subaru has a powerhouse agency backing him. Meanwhile, Schneider and Puliman are also taking on the Cave of Thunder. However, Schneider and his squad are not even making a move as they leave Puliman and his people to fight the Thunderwolves till they are breathless. Puliman yells at Schneider, asking him if he is not joining the fight because he is pissed that he joined the raid squad. However, Schneider ignores all his chat until he finally spots the leader of the pack. Schneider basically used Puliman and his squad to wear down the number of the Thunderwolves. Schneider then hurls a dagger at the leader of the pack. The dagger tears through the wolf's head, killing it on the spot. Puliman is not impressed as he believes that Schneider only managed to kill the runt of the pack. However, Schneider ignores him and calls out an order. Puliman assumes that Schneider is talking to him, and he is about to start a fight when his men tell him that the wolves have suddenly stopped attacking. Surprisingly, they have all sat down after heeding Schneider's order. Schneider yells at him, asking him what he just did. Schneider lets him know that he knows nothing about the Cave of Thunder, and this includes the higher-ups in Blue Zone too. Schneider suggests that Puliman turn back at that point if he doesn't want to embarrass himself in front of his subordinates. With this, Schneider and his squad confidently lead the way while Puliman is left screaming in the back, trying his best not to lose his mind. Soon afterward, Subaru finds himself facing another monster boss, the Thundermaw. It is an ugly monster that looks like a sandworm, but Subaru dashes toward it and defeats it with a single punch imbued with thunder to tear its head apart. This location, where Subaru took Schneider 3 years to get to, but it was after this that he realized something. It turns out that this is the point where the Cave of Thunder actually starts. Subaru finds himself standing in front of a giant door, and he finally understands what Schneider was talking about. He has just stepped into the true Cave of Thunder. As he steps through the door, the system tells him that he is now entering the first gate of Thunder, thus beginning the Thunder Trial. Subaru is not entirely surprised because up until that point, the Cave of Thunder was just like every other dungeon. However, everything is just about to change and he is about to witness the real Cave of Thunder. Covering the wall is an enormous painting of a dragon, leaving the viewers to ask what exactly it is. According to Schneider, it took him 5 years to get through the first gate of Thunder, so he wonders just how long it is going to take Subaru. Suddenly, one of the viewers notices that the painting on the wall might have just moved. At the same time, the system informs Subaru that his Thunderclap qualifications are being assessed. Talking about the Thunderclap, it is the earth-shaking roar when lightning strikes. However, the roar is still part of thunder, so basically it is all the same power. Subaru can only admit that he doesn't even know if the reward from the Cave of Thunder will match his own thunder. After a dramatic transformation, the painting on the wall fully transforms into a giant scary dragon, which is the judge of Thunderclap, and its name is Ragnall. Schneider had warned Subaru not to even think of taking down the dragon because he had heard that he had defeated Greg. Now that Subaru is facing Ragnall, he knows for sure that he stands no chance against the overwhelming presence of the dragon. In addition, he only fought Greg because he was part of the mission. Apparently, Ragnall's trials are always different. Sometimes he might make the player endure tens of millions of lightning strikes, and sometimes he seals off all 5 senses to trap the player in pitch-black darkness. He can even summon a massive monster and force the player to fight it. Once Ragnall is fully transformed, he asks Subaru if he is the one who will challenge the Trial of Thunder, and Subaru casually says yeah. The viewers are not surprised by his answer because they know how cocky he is. Ragnall commends Subaru, telling him that he has already proven countless qualifications. He then tells him to take out what he has in his pocket, which is the Trace of Thunder item. Subaru is surprised to hear this since Schneider never mentioned anything about this. After bringing out the item, Ragnall mentions that he could clearly see that Subaru opened the gate and walked in. Subaru asks him if there hasn't been anyone aside from him who has had the Trace of Thunder. He uses Schneider as an example, and Ragnall mentions that Schneider didn't enter by opening the gate. Ragnall says Schneider just happened to pick up a stone formed from the dungeon's condensed energy. It finally dawns on Subaru that he is the only one with thunder, so it basically makes perfect sense. Ragnall then tells him that it is time to impose a trial on him. Ragnall tells Subaru to swallow the Trace of Thunder because this is his trial. Subaru quickly mentions how valuable the item is, and his viewers start raving because they know Subaru is already having second thoughts about losing such an expensive item. Subaru asks his viewers if he should go through with the trial, and they egg him on, telling him to go ahead. Subaru is completely confused because he knows that just completing the trial doesn't mean he is going to get a reward that is much better than what he is currently holding. Even though it feels like a waste at this point, he has no choice, and he also remembers that he has been saving up for the next trial, just in case. In addition, backing out at that point is going to be a big slap in the face. In fact, it won't be an embarrassment only to him, but to the entirety of Blue Eyes. Without thinking about it further, Subaru swallows the Trace of Thunder, and the system informs him that the gate's trial will now begin within his body. Subaru's eyes shine brightly in pain as the Trace of Thunder starts to implant itself in him. Meanwhile, Uika is also watching, and she is pissed at the fact that Subaru had to swallow the Trace of Thunder because she knows just how much it is worth. In fact, Subaru is obsessed with money, which means the item would have been good for him. She is in the middle of the stream when she receives a call from Kiyoharu. Kiyoharu tells her that he is about to arrive, and she is surprised to hear this. Surprisingly, Uika talks to Kiyoharu calmly while apologizing to him. Kiyoharu tells her not to apologize, but to make sure that she keeps her promise. Kiyoharu lets her know just how broke he currently is, and before going, he wishes her good luck on the job. It turns out that Kiyoharu just made his way to the 5th floor, Burin Godforging. As he walks over to the castle, he reminisces about his past and mentions that he never thought he would have to come back to the castle ever again. Back in the Cave of Thunder, Subaru is going through severe pain, while the item is taking root in his body, increasing his mana in the process. At the same time, his fatigue is accumulating by the second. He soon realizes that what is currently happening to him is not the same as the last time. Unlike the last time, it is as if something is blocking the flow of magic in his body. In fact, he can't even move the way he wants, and he figures out that he is screwed if it continues this way. Just then, he gets a notification telling him that the Thunder's heart is resisting the Trace of Thunder. Subaru is surprised when he sees this because he believes that the Thunder's heart is supposed to be an equipable item. Subaru crashes to the ground with the realization that the items might look similar, but it is completely different from the Trace of Thunder. He wonders if this was a hint from Ragnall to tell him to swallow the Thunder's heart. Subaru then whips out the Thunder's heart, and he immediately swallows it. The reaction in his body changes at that moment, and lightning starts to course through his body. Ragnall is impressed that Subaru finally noticed what he is supposed to do. The Thunder's heart finally takes root in his system, replacing his traditional heart. Ragnall berates him, telling him that he didn't even know how to use it, which is a total waste of treasure. However, he is also impressed that he was able to realize it on his own. After everything settles down, Subaru scolds the dragon, telling him that he almost died thanks to him. Ragnall then commends him, telling him that the last wielder of thunder couldn't even handle what just happened to him. Because of this, he now has high hopes for him. Subaru's thunder then upgrades to level 5, which is S rank. On the other hand, Schneider and his men arrive at the door where they are supposed to find Ragnall's drawing, but find nothing there. Schneider stands there in confusion because he is trying to understand what is happening. Don Chow assumes that Schneider was the one who cleared the test. But Schneider replies that he didn't even take the test. This basically means that someone else who isn't them has come in to take the test. When Don Chow hears this, he immediately concludes that it was Subaru. However, it also begs the question of what Subaru could have done to make the dragon disappear. Poleman opens his stupid mouth to say he doesn't care about the dragon or the freaking painting. He suggests that they hurry through if it means that Subaru has already passed. He asks Schneider if he is fine with Subaru snatching up all the rewards before they get there. Schneider bows his head in silence while saying he came for the reward. Poleman assumes that he is sad or something, but Schneider suddenly smiles while saying there is finally some change because someone besides him has actually made it to the end of the Cave of Thunder. Schneider moves closer to Poleman, telling him that he is currently more hyped than ever, so he shouldn't even try to ruin his mood. Poleman consents the threat, and he backs off, telling Schneider that he gets it. Don Chow taps Poleman on his shoulder, telling him that he once got cut down with a single strike from Subaru. Poleman asks him why he is telling him this, and Don Chow says that what he is just trying to say is that even Subaru won't be able to make it through what lies ahead easily. Schneider then urges the team to stay sharp if they want to witness the historic first conquest of the Cave of Thunder. He lets them know that the bare minimum is surviving. Poleman is surprised to hear this, and this is when it dawns on him that Schneider didn't even have the intention of clearing the Cave of Thunder himself. At the same time, he wonders what is currently waiting for them ahead. Schneider tells them that beyond the door in front of them is the end of the Cave of Thunder, and he believes that Subaru is currently beyond the door. Schneider pushes the door open, and the system informs them that they have entered the second Gate of Thunder. At the other end of the room is a throne, and they are informed to take a seat on the throne. Schneider is surprised that Subaru is not in the room, and Poleman yells at him, asking him what their next plan is. Schneider reiterates what he said, that Subaru is not there, and Poleman yells at him, saying he has been raving about Subaru since the beginning, urging him to give it a rest. Poleman says Subaru has most likely sat on the chair and moved on. However, Schneider argues with him, saying it is not possible. Schneider then takes a step forward. The moment he does this, they are informed that they have trespassed upon the domain of the throne, and a huge wave of lightning hits the hallway. The players are informed that the Knight of Thunder has appeared, and Poleman freaks out when the knight clad in full armor appears right in front of them. The players start freaking out, and Schneider tells them that they cannot move forward unless they defeat the Knight of Thunder. Schneider reveals that this is exactly where he encountered a wall that no one can ever surpass, and this knight is Peleus. When Schneider told Subaru about this, he was surprised because he didn't think there would be two people with the same name. Since both are tied to thunder, it makes the most sense to assume that they are the same person. Subaru asks Schneider if something like that has ever come to light before because there are plenty of people who know about Peleus. Schneider mentions that he is the only one who knows the Knight of Thunder's name, and yet he didn't know who he was until then. Schneider believed that Subaru's thunder skill and the Knight of Thunder were definitely connected, which is basically why he was hoping that Subaru would have made it to the throne room before him. The Knight of Thunder has armor covering his entire body, and he even wears a helmet to cover his face. He walks up to Schneider, revealing his surprise that he is back again. Schneider quickly figures out that the knight was waiting for someone else, and Peleus commends his intuition. Schneider then asks him if he has met the person he is waiting for, and the knight says no. Schneider smiles when he hears this, and he grabs his weapon, but before he can do anything, Poleman orders his men to surround Peleus to block off his escape. Schneider panics, and he screams at the players to stop whatever it is that they are trying to do. Before Schneider can even finish shouting out his warning, the Knight of Thunder has wiped out the players who surrounded him with a single strike. Schneider watches in horror as the players are killed, and he lets them know that such cheap tricks don't work on the Knight of Thunder. Instead of listening to Schneider, Poleman decides to do things himself, and he whips out his blade. He dashes toward the knight and tries to cut him, but Peleus easily blocks his attack, thus breaking his sword in the process. This leaves Poleman completely open, and he watches in horror as Peleus's weapon makes its way to his throat. Elsewhere, Subaru finally wakes up, and he asks his viewers how long he was out for. They let him know that he has been out for 30 minutes, and one of them even teases him, saying passing out is basically his thing. One of the viewers then gives him a mission, telling him that the next time he passes out, he has to do a collab with Narukami Subaru. Some of the viewers believe that this is asking too much because Subaru is basically the king of destruction. Subaru figures out that the collab with Hawkeye turned into great publicity, so if it is a collab with Subaru, who has a huge audience, he believes that it would be much better. Subaru then accepts the mission, and the viewers are hyped that they are finally going to see Subaru through Subaru's stream. Subaru then pulls out his information and realizes that his fatigue is currently at 71 points, which is pretty worrying. Nonetheless, he is looking to shake it off and keep going. Back in the throne room, Poleman is about to lose his head, but Schneider comes in at the last second to block Peleus's weapon from cutting his head off. Schneider is able to push Peleus back with a single strike, and this leaves Poleman in complete shock. He finally sees the difference of 10 years playing out right in his very presence. Don Chao mocks him, asking if he seriously thinks the guild doesn't trust Schneider, which is why they sent him instead. Don Chao lets him know that he is nothing but a tool and bait to provoke Schneider's pride. Poleman watches as Schneider and Peleus go at each other like proper seasoned fighters. Seeing how powerful Schneider is, Poleman confirms from Don Chao that Subaru defeated Schneider during the tournament, which shows how insane our MC is. As the battle intensifies, Schneider loses his stand against Peleus, and Peleus cuts off his arm, telling Schneider that he is still not a threat to Peleus. Schneider starts calculating how many minutes he can hold out against Peleus as things stand. Seeing that he cannot last more than 1 minute, Schneider dashes toward Peleus with the intention of finishing the battle with one powerful strike. While Peleus is busy wiping out the other players, Schneider launches a surprise attack from behind, putting everything he has into the attack. Just as the attack is about to land, Peleus catches on to him and he turns around just in time to block the attack with his shield. This leaves Schneider completely open to Peleus's attack. Peleus commends him for having grown a bit, but it is still not enough, so it is time for him to die. Peleus is about to cut Schneider's head off when an overwhelming lightning attack hits Peleus, pushing him backwards, thus saving Schneider's life. Schneider's savior turns out to be Subaru, and the moment he enters the stage, Peleus recognizes him. Subaru walks past Schneider, and he notices that he wants to grab his dagger, but he urges him to stay back because he is only going to get in the way in his current condition. Peleus makes the first move, and he dashes toward Subaru, but Subaru blocks his attack, generating a huge shockwave that rocks the entire room. While the two remain in a standoff, Peleus calls Subaru what he usually calls him, which is his benefactor. The two push each other back, and while they are preparing to attack each other again, Subaru mentions that he's heard the story. Poleman is left in confusion, as they can't wrap their heads around what is currently happening in front of them. Peleus then takes off his helmet to properly greet Subaru, and the viewers almost vomit through the screen when they see what has become of Peleus. Half of his face is missing, and he doesn't even have eyes, since they have been replaced with lightning. Peleus mentions that he didn't know where Subaru went after he left the village, but he believed that he would meet him again if he came to the cave. Subaru asks him how long it's been since then, and Peleus mentions that he stopped counting after 100 years. Subaru takes a moment to think about this, as he knows that the Thunder Trial is a virtual test that can be repeated as many times as a player wants. This leaves him wondering how Peleus still remembers him. Peleus mentions that after learning about the existence of otherworlders, he starts coming to the conclusion that Subaru isn't from their world. Subaru then asks Peleus what happened to the villagers and why he looks the way he does now. Peleus mentions that after he left, the Titans' invasion continued, and in the end, the village was destroyed, leaving him as the only survivor. Thanks to this, Peleus swore to become as strong as Subaru. Because of this, Peleus started searching for the power that Subaru once wielded, and this was when he later found this cave. He found thunder, but the price for someone like him who lacked the qualifications to seek such great power was far more than he expected. Peleus mentions that he lost both of his eyes and could no longer see. As if this was not enough, he was cursed so that he could not leave the cave, and all he could do was to wait for the day that Subaru would return. Peleus raises his weapon in the air to pull in as much lightning as he can while making his final request. Peleus basically wants Subaru to kill him, so he can finally rest. Deep down, Subaru is worried because his fatigue is high, and with the way things are, he wouldn't want to drag the fight out. This means he would have to go all out from the start, and he starts to charge the Thunder's heart. As the lightning builds up in his body, Subaru tells Peleus that he is going to grant his wish. Meanwhile, Reina is on her way back to their hideout, and as she approaches the house, she is worried that Xiu is going to crash out on her. It wasn't that she wasn't able to get the shoes, but she intentionally didn't take them. The moment she arrives at the house, she finds it completely frozen over, and her fears come to life that Xiu is extremely pissed. She slowly walks to the door and slightly opens it. An ice spike falls from above that scares the hell out of her. She jumps as if she saw a cockroach while asking Xiu if he is trying to kill her. Xiu finally emerges from the darkness and he looks totally scary. Reina almost gets deleted in fear when she sees Xiu walking up to her. She quickly bows her head, telling Xiu that he is right because she deserves to pay with her life. Reina apologizes and Xiu asks her if she allowed Subaru to have the shoes on purpose. Reina comes clean, saying she did, and Xiu asks her why she did this. Reina says she might not have seen Subaru's face, but everything he did appeared like it was the real Subaru. Because of this, she figured that it might be okay if she let him have them, since it doesn't even look like Subaru would do anything bad with the shoes. Xiu then walks off, saying they are going to call it even because she made it back safely. Reina is surprised that Xiu is willing to forgive her, but Xiu lets her know that she has to put the house back in order. Reina screams in protest, telling Xiu that he was the one who ruined it, but she has to be the one to fix it. Back in the Cave of Thunder, Subaru and Peleus have been going at it for quite some time, and the players who are watching are left totally speechless. Even Poleman cannot believe that he is currently watching a fight that is happening on the third floor. The two appear to be evenly matched, and there is no opening whatsoever. Schneider then mentions something important, which is Peleus's weakness. He mentions that Peleus can't see, which is the only downside that he has. Subaru hears this, and he delivers a kick that pushes Peleus backwards. He figures out that if he can hide his presence, he can actually create an opening. However, things are not looking good for him because his fatigue is climbing up really fast. Suddenly, a dagger comes from behind, piercing Peleus's arm. Subaru turns around and realizes that Schneider was the one who threw the dagger. Subaru commends Schneider, telling him that he timed the attack perfectly. Peleus doesn't think it means anything because he still has his other arm. Peleus pulls out the dagger, but by the time he turns around, Subaru has vanished. It turns out that Subaru had activated Cloud Strike, and he has used this to leap into the air so he can get behind Peleus. Subaru descends down with a powerful lightning strike that cuts through Peleus's body vertically. The attack is powerful enough to kill Peleus, and as the attack cuts down every atom in his body, he apologizes to Subaru for troubling him till the very end, while thanking him. Before vanishing, Peleus is able to regain his previous handsome face, all thanks to Subaru. The strike generates a big explosion that overshadows the room, but when the explosion finally clears off, only Subaru remains. Subaru turns around to check out the throne, but Poleman hurls a dagger at him from behind. Subaru barely dodges the dagger, and Don Chao berates Poleman for being a coward who uses dirty tricks. Poleman yells at the team to attack Subaru because he is already worn out, and they can take him out. However, no one answers him, and he starts yelling at them, reminding them that Subaru is the same guy they have been chasing for a while. Poleman urges them to kill Subaru and get the beef over with. Even with all of his pleas, no one is ready to do what he wants. Poleman believes that Subaru is worn out, which is why he is not using thunder. He tries to exploit this, and he screams at Schneider, asking him why he is standing around without doing anything. Poleman tells Schneider that this is his chance to get revenge, and Schneider asks him what he wants him to do with one arm. Schneider urges Poleman not to drag him into his mess. Poleman then yells at Schneider, asking him what will happen to the reward. In addition, he is pretty sure that the guild is not going to stay quiet either. Schneider tells Poleman to stop spewing rubbish because the reward obviously belongs to Subaru. Schneider mentions that he only joined Blue Zone because he wanted to conquer the Cave of Thunder, so he doesn't really give a F about the guild's affairs. Hearing all of this, Poleman realizes that he is alone to face the consequences of his decision. He then walks up to Subaru and he puts on a friendly face while telling Subaru that he has an enticing offer for him. He tells Subaru to join Blue Zone while promising that he is going to hand over all the rewards from the Cave of Thunder. In addition to this, he assures Subaru that he's going to guarantee treatment that is on par with a semi-ranker. Deep down, Poleman just wanted to secure Thunder for himself. But with the way things are, he has figured out that it would be better if he reels Subaru in. Poleman confidently walks up to Subaru, saying there is no reason for them to be enemies anymore. Subaru simply asks him why he would think this, and he lets him know that his offer doesn't interest him. Before he can even hear Subaru's last statement, his head has fallen off his neck. Subaru then calls Schneider's name, asking him if he is interested in fighting him too. Schneider replies that he wants to know what is at the end of the trial, and Subaru asks him if he is coming with him. Schneider teases Subaru, asking him if he is scared. Schneider then tells his boys to withdraw, while letting them know that it is his final order as their captain. His men are shocked to hear this, and they start crying. Schneider then does something shocking. He picks up a dagger and pushes it into his own leg to show Subaru that he is no threat to him. With one arm gone and one leg injured, Schneider is able to prove to Subaru that he can follow him without having to watch his back. Subaru asks his viewers what he should do, and they tell him to allow Schneider to follow him because he is a real man and he passed the vibe check. Subaru follows his viewer's suggestion, and he walks to the throne while Schneider eagerly watches, waiting to see what will happen. The moment Subaru's butt touches the throne, an eerie sensation fills the atmosphere, and Subaru is informed that he just sat upon the unused Thunder Throne. Subaru finds himself in another cutscene, and the giant throne room door opens. A red-headed dude clad in golden armor steps into the room. The dude makes sure to aura farm, and he looks up to the throne with his golden eyes. He mentions that he currently cannot withstand the power of thunder, as he is, which is why he cannot take the seat. However, he vows that he will return one day as a vessel worthy of the thunder. He then says something surprising before leaving the room, which is calling whoever is on the throne his father. After the cutscene, the throne suddenly crashes to the ground, leaving a cloud of dust in the air. The viewers tease Subaru with this, saying he is pretty heavy, which is why the throne crashed the moment he sat on it. This is when it dawns on Subaru that the viewers didn't see the cutscene. Just then, a bluish item appears in front of Subaru and he grabs it. The system tells him that he has cleared the Cave of Thunder, and he has obtained the Hollow Heart of Thunder. Thanks to this, he levels thrice, and his other stats also receive additional increases. The system lets him know that he can receive achievement points from the Central Guild. As for the Hollow Heart of Thunder, there is no information on it, so Subaru doesn't even know the rank and category. Even the viewers are left wondering if it is a good item or not. Subaru is disappointed that he got a trash reward for a test that is pretty difficult. However, he wonders if it is the same type of item as the Thunder's Heart. Schneider walks up to him, asking him what just happened, and Subaru replies that the small orb in his hand is what turned up from the dust. Schneider asks him what it is, but when Subaru doesn't answer, he realizes that even Subaru himself doesn't know what it is. Schneider is disappointed because this only means he would have to watch Subaru's stream if he wants to see the fruits of his 10 years. Subaru replies that they are just getting started since they will both be leaving the floor soon. Subaru teases Schneider, telling him to at least send credits to him while watching the stream. Subaru then remembers that he has some missions that he has to clear, and Schneider cannot believe that the first thing Subaru wants to do after clearing the Cave of Thunder is missions, which just shows how weird Subaru really is. Thanks to clearing the cave, those who have promised him credits started donating their credits, and Subaru thanks his viewers for watching till the end. With this, he tells them that it is time for him to end the stream. His viewers want more, but Subaru is already exhausted, and he turns off the stream. Meanwhile, Shu and Reina are both watching, and they are not even surprised because they are already used to Subaru doing this every single time. Shu then asks Reina what she thinks about him after seeing him in person. Reina admits that Subaru resembles the OG Subaru, but she doesn't want to believe that it is him. Reina is pretty sure that this is what Shu wants to hear, and Shu admits this. Reina yells at him, telling him that she was also hopeful at first, but she urges Shu to think about the whole thing for a second. Reina explains that Subaru is someone who hates being the center of attention, so there is no way he would do live streams where he would basically sell himself. To make it worse, he is even wearing his own signature mask. Secondly, Reina mentions that with how the tower system works, a player can't restart the trials from the first floor unless one literally reincarnates as they do in manga. Reina says this would mean Subaru would have to meet these two impossible conditions if it really were their Subaru. The two nervously laugh this off, saying it is not possible. On the 5th floor, where the world of Burin resides, it is basically a world of martial artists. It is a massive force, second only to the Martial Alliance, and it is a symbolic domain of martial power, which is where Kiyoharu grew up. As he is being escorted into the manor, Kiyoharu scolds the guards for making it seem like he is some sort of criminal. Deep down, Kiyoharu is surprised that Wika forced herself to ask for a favor, and she is someone who doesn't ask for favors. This basically tells him that whatever it is must be pretty serious. However, Kiyoharu is worried that he might not be able to hold his ground in front of the big man himself. He is led into the inner room where the Lord of Godforging resides. He is one of the tower's top-ranked high rankers and number 2 of the martial world, Unten Kyoku. Kiyoharu offers his greetings to Unten, asking him if he's been well. Unten turns around, telling Kiyoharu to chill out and just call him uncle, just like he used to. Kiyoharu nervously replies, and he calls Unten uncle just like old times. Unten asks him if he is good, and he says yes. Unten then talks about Azure, saying it is a pretty impressive company. In fact, he knows about Subaru, who just emerged and has been making a name for himself. Kiyoharu is shocked, and he asks Unten how he knew that he was working for Azure Sky. Unten replies that this doesn't matter, but Kiyoharu wants to keep dragging it, and Unten suggests that they change the subject. Unten knows that Kiyoharu wouldn't have come back by himself without a reason, and he wants to know what it is. He wants to know if he is there to deliver Uika's answer, and Kiyoharu says yes, revealing that he heard it directly from her. Kiyoharu replies that Wika's answer remains no. The moment Unten hears this, he loses his cool, and a dark aura fills the air, and he asks Kiyoharu if he knows what question Wika's answer belongs to. But Kiyoharu says no. Unten is surprised that Kiyoharu came to deliver an answer without knowing what it was for, and Kiyoharu says Wika basically told him to say just one thing, and this to make her refusal clear. Kiyoharu says Wika is an irreplaceable friend, but Unten cuts in, saying Kiyoharu is merely her messenger. Kiyoharu tries to tell the man that he is there because he lost a bet, but Unten knocks him to the ground with his aura, while giving Kiyoharu his own message too. Unten tells Kiyoharu to let Wika know that if she continues acting on her own, she is going to pay for it. Unten says this includes the place she's working at and every single person that is connected to her. Elsewhere, Wika and John are having a meeting about the recent scandal about Subaru wiping out the team that wanted to leech off him. Wika heaves a sigh of relief because John has managed to clear everything out. Wika asks him how he was able to get it done, and he replies that he investigated it and went through all the chats one by one. John mentions that public opinion wasn't great at first because there were some who believed that the players had no intention of leeching off Subaru. However, John made sure to spread the fact that they weren't good players and that they were all trolls. John tells Uika that she doesn't even have to blame Subaru because he made the right call. Uika replies that she is not blaming him because she was a fan before she became his manager. John then urges her to stay that way because a manager has to be a streamer's biggest fan. John mentions that Uika has been way more alive ever since she got assigned to Subaru because she always looked gloomy when she first joined the company. However, she has now become proactive at work, and she even smiles more. John says streamers matter, but his subordinates also matter to him, so he wants them to keep up the good work so that they can work together for a long time. He pats Uika on the head, leaving her totally embarrassed. He sees her face totally red and asks her what is wrong, but Uika slaps his hand away, saying she is going to head out first. She rushes off in the rain and John urges her to take his umbrella. However, Uika refuses, asking John why he brought just one umbrella in the first place. Back in Subaru's room, he is staring at the hollow heart of thunder that he got after clearing the cave, but he still has no idea how to use it. He doesn't know if he should swallow it or not, but it clearly looks like something that can be swallowed. At the same time, he is concerned about the cutscene, and he believes that he would figure something out if he met the redhead. Just then, Uika shows up at his door, and Subaru tells her to come in. Uika sits beside him on the bed, and she finds it hard to even concentrate. She tells Subaru that they didn't have to meet in his room, and Subaru asks her if she would have preferred that they have the meeting outside in the rain. Unknown to Subaru, Uika is already fantasizing about him just by being beside him. Uika manages to get down to the business of the day, and she tells Subaru that once he makes his way to the 4th floor, he is going to be ranked. She tells Subaru that she is going to do a quick rundown of how the ranking system works. Unknown to Uika, Subaru knows this more than anyone else because he even used to research ranking mechanics back when he was in the guild. The moment a player reaches the 4th floor, the system ranks every single player, and even though the exact calculator method hasn't been revealed, there are some general criteria. The first criterion is that the player's performance in trials carries the most weight. The impact the player also has on the world where they belong is also a criterion. In addition, the player's reputation among other players is a criterion. A player's battle results against ranked players also play a role. Basically, it is a messy combination of a bunch of different factors, which is what they have come up with so far. Uika tells Subaru that she is curious about what rank he is going to end up at because his reputation has been skyrocketing as of late. She mentions that viewer reactions are part of the criteria too, and talking about players who have grown as fast as Subaru, only one player comes to mind, and this is Subaru. Uika then asks Subaru if he can reconsider the collab that he promised his viewers that he would do with Subaru. Subaru asks Uika why she wants him to reconsider, and Uika mentions that Subaru has a nickname, which is the Destroyer King. Subaru is surprised by this and says Subaru doesn't even look like someone who would have such an intense title. Uika assures him that Subaru is incredible in so many ways. She mentions that Subaru has collaborated with over 20 streamers so far. However, every single one of them has fallen off. Uika says the collab streams themselves did great, but for some unknown reasons the streamers just disappear. Subaru asks her what she thinks might be the issue, and she replies that it might be some kind of jinx or curse. Basically, anyone who collabs with Subaru ends up falling straight into hell. Subaru asks Uika if she is sure that Subaru is not the problem, and Uika says there is a possibility that this is true, but Subaru has been with the company for a long time. Instead of backing off in fear, Subaru tells Uika to organize a collab with Subaru. Later on, Subaru heads to the Central Guild of the 3rd floor to settle the trial rewards, and he makes sure his viewers are watching. The attendant tells Subaru to take out his mercenary license and proof of his quest completion. The attendant was initially talking to Subaru casually, but when he saw his rank, he freaked out. He doesn't want to believe that an E rank was able to clear the Cave of Thunder. The dude wastes no time confirming this, and he stamps the certificate that someone has cleared the Cave of Thunder. After the guild has confirmed this, the system informs him that he has completed the quest, and for this, he has been awarded 300,000 achievement points. In addition, he has cleared the Conrad Kingdom's trial, and his viewers are left in complete shock because the highest one can receive is slightly more than 10,000 achievement points. But Subaru just received 30 times the clear reward. The system then asks him if he wants to end the trial, and Subaru says yes. With this, he is transported to the 4th floor. Basically, the 4th floor, Elysium, is a world where dreams have stopped, and it is the place where most players get stuck. Elysium is a world straight out of a fairy tale that entrances people so deeply that players forget their dreams and just stay there forever. The moment he arrives on the 4th floor, Subaru tells his viewers that he is ending the stream for the day. While some are satisfied with this, there are some who want more. However, Subaru ends the stream either way, and he stands in front of the residential building, admiring how cool it is. Uika shows up, asking him why he is not entering, and Subaru replies that it kind of feels like it is out of his league. Uika then reminds him that he is already a solid mid-level streamer. She escorts him to his door, and she urges him to get some good rest. Subaru asks her what they are going to do about the streaming schedule, like the trial date and the upcoming content. Wika assures him that she is going to compile everything and let him know pretty soon. However, there is somewhere she has to stop by first. Moments later, she meets with Kiyoharu, who has been waiting for her. She apologizes for coming late, but he tells her to stop apologizing because it doesn't suit her, since it is not her style to apologize. Since they are beside a stream, he asks her if she remembers the stream in the forest behind Godforging. He talks about how being beside the stream reminds him of when they were kids. Basically, they would play around the stream till it was dusk, and Wika's bodyguards would show up out of nowhere to drag her home. Kiyoharu believed that they had grown up since then, but it recently dawned on him that nothing had changed since then. Kiyoharu then shocks her, telling her that Unten, her father, knows everything. He basically knows where she is, what she is doing, and those she is associated with. Hearing this strikes fear into Wika, and she freezes where she is. With fear in his voice, Kiyoharu tells Wika that they might have to quit their job. Meanwhile, on the 8th floor, the Vice Guild leader of Blue Zone, Ikari Genji, has just learned that Subaru has rejected their offer again. He then puts a call through to Itsuki to let him know that they are moving to the next phase concerning Subaru's recruitment. Later on, Subaru prepares for the next challenge, and he lets his viewers know that he plans to climb as fast as he can, even though the trial's progress is heavily affected by physical stats. With the way he is talking, one of the viewers mentions that he knows a lot for someone who is a newbie, but other players assume that he's done his research. After paying 3,000 credits, the 4th floor's trial begins, and Subaru is transported to the mission location, which is the Forest of War. On this map, 8 players are split into 2 teams to wage a small-scale war against each other. The map comprises 3 lanes, called Top, Mid, and Bot, that have a jungle spread between them. Each player must defend their assigned area from enemy attacks, and each player grows stronger by defeating enemies and minions. So, victory comes by destroying the enemy base. This is repeated until the player reaches the Challenger rank to end the 4th floor's trial. Subaru is informed that he has been assigned the Bronze 3 rank, and all stats have been adjusted to 50% based on his rank. The system lets him know that he can gain points by defeating the opposing team. With Subaru's experience, he knows that this takes at least 6 months, since ranks progress from Bronze, Silver, Platinum, Diamond, then Challenger. For some players, this 4th floor's trial is impossible to clear in a lifetime. Moments later, his team members show up. There is Victor Roman, Neil Toole, and Rowan, who are all Platinum-ranked players. The moment they spot Subaru, Niall is the first to complain about the system giving them a Bronze-ranked player. Rowan lets the team know that it is the streamer Subaru, but this doesn't really concern Niall, who believes that being a streamer doesn't give Subaru a free pass. He mentions that the team is screwed as long as there is a bronze on the team. Subaru walks up to him, telling him to leave if he is not satisfied. Niall is about to lose it when Rowan comes in, urging the two not to fight since they are all on the same team. Rowan mentions that it might be a bit handicapped, but she still wants them to give it their best. Rowan tells Subaru that they are going to handle the lanes, so his job is to maintain the jungle. Basically, one player is required to take the jungle role to influence all lanes. Usually it is the most strategic position, but it appears that the team is too scared to trust Subaru with an entire lane. Niall turns to Rowan, asking her if she seriously thinks Subaru will be able to handle the timing. The viewers are not surprised that Subaru is getting treated like a dead weight, since they are all Platinum players and he is the only Bronze among them. Not long after this, they are informed that minions will spawn in 30 seconds, and the system wishes them luck. Niall still can't get over the fact that they were assigned a Bronze, and he keeps complaining instead of focusing on his lane. Suddenly, he spots the enemy in the distance, and since the enemy is an archer, he is confident that he has the advantage. Little does he know that he has been baited in, and before he knows it, another enemy player appears from behind. Niall is about to lose his head when a lightning-fast strike hits the dude, clearing him out of the way. Even the archer can't keep up, and before he knows it, he loses an arm too. Niall smiles as he sees the enemies get decimated while commending the insane player on their team. By the time the attacker shows his face, Niall cannot believe his eyes that it was Subaru, whom he was looking down on. The archer wants to retreat to a safe space, but Subaru finishes him off with thunder. In no time, Subaru defeats 2 members of the enemy team, and the viewers are completely blown away. Subaru turns to Niall and disgustingly asks him what he's been doing, since he has been useless. Niall finds it hard to even speak as he is still trying to understand what just went down in his presence. Subaru orders the dude to clear out the minions and secure the turret. He trashes him, telling him to stop moving slower than a Bronze. Niall can't even argue as he acknowledges Subaru's orders. Just then, Mission Villain gives Subaru a bounty to clear the 4th floor trial in a month for 20,000 credits. The other viewers are shocked when they see this, since 1 month is pretty short, and the fastest clear that has been recorded is 3 months. Just then, another viewer uploads the same mission for 20,000 credits, leaving the viewers in awe. One viewer mentions that Blue Zone wants Subaru in their guild, but another viewer replies saying Subaru has turned them down already. Before he knows it, the missions keep flowing in with a huge amount of credits tied to it. While Subaru is busy clearing out the enemy ranks, the viewers are spamming him with missions. Suddenly, a viewer, Safe Assets, uploads a mission telling Subaru to clear the trial in 2 weeks for 50,000 credits. The viewers start going after Safe Assets, telling him to screw off since this is basically impossible. Not long after this, Subaru's team clears out the enemies, and they win the match. After the match, Subaru had accumulated 147 points, and he also got a promotion from Bronze 3 to 2. The viewers are speechless, just as usual, since the most points they have seen someone get is 20 to 30 points. Safe Assets makes a 100 credit donation, suggesting that Subaru add an extra mission in the bonus round. Safe Assets then tells Subaru that the mission is for him to clear the trial without losing once. If he does, Subaru is going to return all the credits he's sent so far. However, if he doesn't, Subaru is going to get 50,000 credits. Without hesitation, Subaru accepts the mission, while most of the viewers are urging him not to because money isn't everything in life. Safe Assets is glad that Subaru took the mission, and he even donates 100 credits for free. Meanwhile, there is a player named Daddle, but she streams with another name, Mizumega. She is basically what one would call a dead channel streamer because her view count doesn't even go past 50. Her viewers don't even rate her, as they always talk down on her for being trash. Daddle is broken on the inside because she knows that if she weren't streaming, she would currently be a challenger. However, she has no choice, since this is the only way she can make money, so she is stuck playing with her cruel viewers. She is on her usual role when Subaru and 3 other players join her team. Daddle is surprised when she spots Subaru on her stream, and she jumps up in excitement. However, her excitement reduces when she realizes that Subaru is still a silver player. Suddenly, Safe Assets shows up in Daddle's stream, telling her that they are going to give her 30,000 credits if she makes her team lose. Daddle is blown away when she sees this, and the viewers on her stream are left astounded. Daddle wastes no time accepting the mission while promising her viewers that she is not going to make it obvious. Just as the match begins, Daddle is the first to be defeated on the team, automatically leaving her team at a disadvantage. Subaru's viewers are frustrated about Daddle's death because she is basically exposing the team. Subaru then decides to go investigate, and when he finally runs into Daddle, he finds her acting all clumsy in front of the enemy. As she is defeated, she lets off a cold smile, which Subaru's viewers see. Subaru tells her viewers that Daddle is trolling, and it is not even easy to do, while sacrificing oneself. This makes him want to know who she is, and one of the viewers mentions that she is a streamer. They let Subaru know that Safe Assets gave her a mission to lose. The other viewers rush over to check, and they come back to tell Subaru the same thing. Subaru finally understands what is happening, and he decides to get really serious. Soon afterward, Subaru runs into the Jacked Diamond player who defeated Daddle over and over again, Gorimak. He is confident that there is no way a Diamond player is going to lose to a Silver player. He explains that Silver players are stuck at 75% stat cap, but Subaru reminds him that if everything were decided by stats alone, they wouldn't have bothered calling it a trial. This pisses the dude off because he can't believe that a low-ranked player has the guts to talk back to him. The dude then unleashes his power, summoning golem arms from the ground. Subaru is actually impressed that the dude's power is body transformation, which is not something one sees quite often on the 4th floor. Subaru considers this the perfect timing because there is something he's been looking to test too. Subaru wonders if the dude can actually handle the new heart that he just got. Subaru then activates the thunder, generating an overwhelming amount of lightning that even darkens the surroundings. The air becomes thinner, making it harder to breathe, and Subaru confidently walks up to the enemy player. However, the player is confident that Subaru's tricks can't work on him, and he hurls golem arms at Subaru. Even though his skills are currently reacting to each other, Subaru still doesn't think it is going to be a hindrance. He dashes past the projectiles coming for him and then leaps toward the enemy player. The dude watches in shock as Subaru descends upon him with an overwhelming amount of lightning. The enemy player puts up his arms to block the attack and he gets sent into the distance. The dude manages to regain his footing by using his several golem arms to grab onto the ground. Since he was able to block the attack, he trash-talks Subaru, telling him that the attack was quite underwhelming. He then amplifies his stats to 200%, while telling Subaru that with the buffs from the Forest of War, his arm's durability surpasses Diamond rank. Unknown to him, Subaru is also cooking up something for him, and everything has just been completed. Subaru runs through him with an incredible force of lightning, with a skill called Thunderflash, before he even knows what is happening. Lightning runs through his body insanely, and before he gets taken out, he expresses his disbelief that he was taken down by a mere silver player. Subaru then reminds him that stats are not everything in the trial. The lightning takes full effect and he gets cut in half, leaving a bright explosion at the point of impact. The viewers are impressed as usual because Subaru basically rewrites history every damn day. When Didal learns that Subaru has killed the enemy player who has the best chance of winning the game for his side, she almost loses her mind. She basically let herself be killed by Goromak over and over again just to raise his stats, but he ended up losing to Subaru. Before she knows it, Subaru wipes out the enemy players, and her viewers urge her to take the L and rest. They even suggest that she quit streaming because it is not for her, and this is the point where she loses it. She yells at her annoying viewers, telling them to shut the hell up because they were also egging her on. She lets them know that they would have done the same if someone offered them 30,000 credits. Seeing her crash out instead of the usual sweet self, the viewers lose it too. They believe that she is finally showing her true colors, and they tell her that there is no one who would care if her stream actually dies. Didal continues yelling at her viewers, saying she is always the one getting the back end of the stick after everything else. Just then, Didal gets a private DM from Subaru, telling her that he wouldn't have taken the mission if he struggled against weaklings like her. Just then, the enemy players surrender, and Didal realizes that it is all over. Subaru then informs his viewers that he would be going off for the day, and the viewers are impressed that he actually hit Platinum 3 in a single day. With the rate at which he is going, they believe he is going to clear the trial in days, not even half a month. Subaru assures them that he will be streaming the next day, and he wants to continue this for a while. After he is done with the stream, he meets up with Wika, who has been waiting for him. He is surprised that she is still around, and she reminds him that she promised to give him a schedule summary. Wika says she wanted to hand it over to him personally because there is something she needs to ask too. Subaru asks her what it is, and she points out the fact that Subaru's streams have been going well as of late. In fact, he even reached 13,000 viewers that very day, and even though everything is going very smoothly, she feels uneasy. Subaru notices something weird about her, and he asks her if she is drunk, but she replies that this doesn't matter. Wika walks up to Subaru, telling him that she feels as if he is being chased by something. She changes it around, saying it feels more like he is the one chasing something. Wika tells Subaru that she's been thinking about it for a while, and it is as if he is carrying a burden that she doesn't know about. Subaru then answers with a stern voice, telling her that he can't answer this for now. Wika is not surprised, and she ends up placing her hand on his shoulder while drawing closer to him. She suddenly mentions something embarrassing, causing her file to fall from her hand. She turns around in shame while telling Subaru to just pick up the document and go. Later on, it appears that Genji has sent one of his trusted subordinates, Joe Yuji, to the 4th floor to try and convince Subaru or drag him over by force if the diplomatic approach doesn't work. Zhao can't believe that he was about to reach the 8th floor, but he was sent to the 4th floor just to recruit someone. He believes that it is going to be a waste of time, but the moment he steps into the floor's waiting area and spots Wika sitting in the distance, he immediately becomes interested in her. Wika is busy watching Subaru's stream when Joe approaches her, asking her if she is alone. He sits with her, and Wika asks him if they have met somewhere before, but he lets her know that this is their first time meeting. He asks her for her name, but Wika stands up to leave, replying that she has no reason to tell him this. Wika is about to step away when he suddenly appears before her, shocking Wika because he is just too fast. Joe urges Wika to be cool because he only saw a beautiful flower and couldn't resist the urge to pluck it. He assures Wika that he is not some shady dude, and he proceeds to give Wika his contact card. Wika checks it out and realizes that the dude is a 7th floor player who is affiliated with Blue Zone. Joe notices the shock in her eyes, and he assumes that it is a sign that she is drawn to a talented dude like him. Wika then asks him why a talented Blue Zone sub-ranker is on the 7th floor, but Joe suggests that she leave the boring questions and ask things that would help them get closer instead. Wika then walks off, saying there is no need for them to continue talking. Joe grabs her arm and Wika turns around, telling him to stop casually touching because he has to know his limits. Joe then asks Wika if she was watching Subaru's stream earlier because he could see that she was staring at the screen obsessively. Joe mentions that Subaru is just a fake dude who is stuck on the 4th floor. Joe says Subaru is just cosplaying the outdated Narukami Subaru, and Wika asks him why someone from Blue Zone is trash-talking Subaru. Joe then tells Wika that not everyone from Blue Zone worships Subaru. Wika corrects this, saying she is not asking Joe to respect Subaru, but talking trash about him is kinda messed up, since Blue Zone is the successor to Blue Eyes. Joe lets Wika know that there is no need to stay stuck in something from 20 years ago, because in their current era, there are loads of players way better than Narukami Subaru or Blue Eyes. In fact, he is convinced that he is one of those players. Wika tells the dude to stop saying trash, but before she can continue talking, he cuts her off, telling her that there is classified information that only a handful of people in Blue Zone know. He mentions that there is a rumor that one of the Blue Eyes members teamed up with demons and is still clinging to life. Later that night, Subaru ends his stream as usual, and as he walks home, he reflects on his stable stream and the fact that it has gotten over 15,000 viewers. Just then, he walks past Joe, who calls him back as a junior, asking him if he has a minute. Subaru turns around, asking him who the hell he is to call him a junior. Joe boastfully introduces himself and then urges Subaru to join Blue Zone. Subaru then realizes that the dude is basically another recruiter, and Joe tells Subaru that he understands that he's been turning down the others because he is trying his best to raise his value, which is pretty standard. Joe then tells him that he has to do everything in moderation, and even though he is not telling him to join them right at that second, he only wants him to show his face. He says that after this, he can leave the rest to the Vice Guild Master, and he assures him that he won't regret it. Subaru then asks him who their guild vice master is, and Joe mentions that it is Ikari Genji, a floor 9 high ranker. Subaru is surprised that Genji, the lapdog who used to follow Itsuki around, has managed to make it all the way to floor 9 while becoming the vice guild master. Joe tries to get closer, but Subaru slaps his hand off, telling him that he is not interested in whatever offer he has. He also tells Joe to make sure he passes it along to his boss that they are just wasting their time. Subaru is about to leave when the dude holds a sword to his neck, and Subaru asks him if this is how a recruiter does their thing. Joe tells Subaru that he has never recruited anyone, but he lets Subaru know that if he doesn't follow him, he is dead. He takes a swing at Subaru, but Subaru dashes backwards and unleashes thunder in preparation for a battle against Joe.
Subaru then reminds Joe that Blue Zone cares more about its public image than anything else, so he is not sure if Joe would want to cause a scene in the middle of the city. Joe smiles while telling Subaru that he is right, but he should think about why he came there personally. Joe then decides to show Subaru, and he activates his skill, Cyrus. Subaru is informed that he is being pulled into the space of Cyrus. This is a space that decreases the external stimuli by 70%, the sense of balance by 40%, and reaction speeds go down by 30%. Subaru is not entirely shocked because he knows what Cyrus is. It is a field-type silence skill that blocks sound and vision, which basically means he can't even stream inside the field. Subaru analyzes the situation and figures out that Joe has already cleared 3 trials above him. In addition, he is already tired from the non-stop trials during the day. Subaru figures out that he has to end the fight pretty fast. He starts charging up his thunder while imbuing it into the demon blade. Subaru dashes toward Joe, but Joe lets him know that this isn't a smart move for him. Suddenly, Subaru is hit with a hallucination curse, which further diminishes his stats. Subaru suddenly finds himself surrounded by multiple jaws, and Joe lets him know that the moment he steps into his domain, there is no escape. Subaru realizes that focusing his power into a single point is not enough. Before he knows it, he is boxed in by multiple jaws who are acting just the same. Meanwhile, Wika is waiting for Subaru by the guild seating area. She wonders why he is not back yet since the stream is already over. She wants to apologize for what happened the night before, and at the same time, she can't stop thinking about Joe, whom she met that morning. She is surprised that Blue Zone is willing to move this aggressively, and at the same time she believes that Subaru would actually learn a lot if he joined Blue Zone. To top it all off, she has no idea what is going to happen to her, thanks to the family she comes from. She starts thinking of letting Subaru go for the sake of his bright future. Suddenly, she spots a lightning effect in the distance, and she immediately figures out that it is Subaru. Meanwhile, she was already reading all there is to know about Joe because she had been uneasy since she met him in the morning. Talking about Joe's skill, Cyrus. It is a space that completely shuts out any outside interference, which basically means a player's chances of survival in there are 0. This is also a space where the player's physical abilities drop and the pain is amplified to the max. Joe believes that he is invincible inside the field, and Subaru's thunder is going to be useless inside. While cutting down the other jaws in his way, Subaru's fatigue keeps climbing like crazy, and he realizes that Blue Zone has analyzed him down to the last detail. He knows that any attempt to use thunder at that point will cause him to collapse afterward. He realizes that his only option is to hold back on thunder while relying on his instinct and items. Subaru activates Cloud Strike, and he takes the fight into the air, cutting down obstacles while dodging the ones he can. Jaw is surprised that Subaru has been able to hold out this long while he is inside Cyrus. However, he believes that this is just an act to buy time. Moments later, Subaru exceeds his expectations by clearing out most of the obstacles without even applying thunder. Subaru is able to find the real Joe among the other fake ones, and he hurls the Thunder Spear at him. Joe manages to block the attack while expressing his surprise that Subaru is able to move the way he is. Subaru mentions that thanks to the handicap that Thunder gives him, he is used to fighting under pressure. Subaru then generates the Mark of Thunder and he hits Joe with it. Joe is informed that he has been struck with the Mark of Thunder and his movements are being read. Joe is pissed at the fact that Subaru just learned Thunder, but he is already acting all high and mighty. Joe tries to get rid of the mark, but it won't even come off. Nonetheless, he is not worried, since Subaru is already under the curse of hallucination. Joe then starts pulling the rest of his fakes in an attempt to do something even more drastic. The curse of hallucination takes further effect, and Joe starts to transform into a bigger presence.
Basically, dulling Subaru's senses was just the beginning of it all because the real horror of the curse of hallucination is making the target believe that they are fighting what they fear the most. No matter the enemy standing in front of the player, they would believe that they are fighting an enemy that they are going to lose to. Without surprise, the enemy that appears before Subaru is Itsuki. Joe stretches his giant hand at Subaru, grabbing him and urging him to surrender. However, seeing Itsuki's face only reminded Subaru of why he would never join Blue Zone because this would mean he is betraying his former teammates. It then dawns on Subaru that he actually has a reason why he has to survive. His fatigue level is currently at 90, but he believes that if he can push his fatigue above the normal limit, he would be able to endure the Lord of Thunder skill for about 10 seconds. Even though it is a gamble, Subaru decides to go ahead with it because at this point he actually has no choice. He plans to stay afloat with the Lord of Thunder with the remaining time that he has. Just as the countdown reaches 10 seconds, the output of the skill cuts off. Joe is surprised that Subaru is not pushing for a last-minute struggle, but just as he is about to finish off the job, he gets struck by a surprise attack. He turns around to see Uika inside the Cyrus, shocking him at how she managed to get in there. Uika is armed with a katana, and she tells Joe to unhand Subaru at that very moment. Joe immediately realizes that Uika is the girl he met earlier that day. Since she is able to perceive Cyrus, which is something no normal player can, it is safe to tell him that Uika is not her random rookie that can be messed with. Joe tries to change the target of hallucination to Uika, but the system tells him that he no longer has sufficient mana to pull this. Since he has run out of mana, the effect of hallucination also wears off and he slams Subaru to the ground. Joe then turns to Uika, asking her why she is there and how she even managed to find him. Uika replies that she is Subaru's manager, and Joe is shocked to hear this. He berates Uika for tricking him, but Uika reminds him that he didn't ask, so she didn't bother to say. Joe then tells Uika that this doesn't matter because as long as they have stepped into his domain, they are trapped like rats. However, Uika lets him know that the little trap that he's relying on has been broken. She points behind her, and sitting behind her is a giant hole in the field. Joe freaks out when he hears this because he was warned by Genji not to let the incident leak out. Joe tries to go with the diplomatic route, and he suggests that they talk things out. He even offers to give Uika whatever it is that she wants, but Uika tells him that she wants nothing. She helps Subaru up and tells Joe to get lost while telling him to also warn Blue Zone to stay away from Subaru. As they walk away, Joe realizes that he's screwed up because if he lets Subaru go, he is just going to start streaming again. He is pretty sure that Subaru is going to tell everyone what just transpired, and Blue Zone is going to put all the blame on him. If this happens, it is pretty obvious that he is getting kicked out of the guild. Joe loses his mind at the mere thought of this because he struggled to get to his current position, and he is not about to let a fourth-floor brat ruin that for him. Joe dashes toward the two, aiming to cut Subaru up, but Uika reacts to this pretty fast. She unleashes her sword in under a second, and she cuts Joe in half, shocking Subaru. Joe's field is dispelled, and the two sit down to talk about what just happened. Uika explains that she is a former ranker who dropped the exam on the 8th floor. Subaru finally realizes why Joe, who is a 7th floor player, didn't stand a chance against her. Uika mentions that she has no choice but to step in since she saw that Subaru was in trouble. She urges Subaru not to look at her like she is some kind of monster, and Subaru assures her that he is only blown away by her strength. He asks her where she learned how to draw her sword so fast, because it was so fast that he even assumed she was using thunder. Uika manages to switch the conversation, and Subaru asks her how she knows Joe. Joe's split half is lying down in the pool of his own blood while the two talk about him. Uika mentions that Joe suddenly came up to her that morning, and he was acting overly familiar that she almost punched him, but she held back because she didn't want to cause trouble. Subaru asks her what she means by this, and she reveals that Blue Zone is trying to poach him again. She tells Subaru that she doesn't want to be a hindrance to him not to join Blue Zone, since they are going to offer more delicious benefits. Uika soon changes her mind, saying she is going to oppose Subaru even if he wanted to join Blue Zone, and Subaru lets her know that at this point in time, he doesn't even think he would be able to join even if he wants to. Uika then asks Subaru what they should do since things are already messed up. However, for now she lets Subaru know that she is going to report it to the agency, but Subaru lets her know that he has an idea.